Preface. Strenuous labor for more than a year again told heavily upon my weak health, resulting in a physical prostration from which I have not yet completely recovered. This accounts for the delay in bringing out Vol V of my book. I am still very despondent about the future of Ayurveda. The so-called Ayurvedic colleges established in many parts of India have arranged for such a low standard of Ayurvedic education that many of the past students of these colleges are found to be unable even to understand the contents of my books. The Indian National Congress, which is now the dominant political force in the country, appears to be indifferent to the revival of ancient Indian culture and civilization. Nay, it appears to be bent upon destroying them. Many of the leaders of the Congress have been so much westernized that they look up to the West for their social, moral, and religious ideals. Mahatma Gandhi, the universally adored leader of the Congress, is reported to have declared that Ayurveda has not a better medicine for fever than quinine. To us, the statement appears to be not only ridiculous but childish as well. For his information, let me state here that out of about 2,000 medicines for fever prescribed in the Ayurvedic books, I have only included about 200 in Vol. E4. The majority of these medicines are incomparably better for the cure of malaria and other fevers than quinine, which in certain cases stops fever, but destroys in every case red corpuscles of the blood. Another leader of the Indian National Congress is reported to have said that he has more faith in allopathy than in Ayurveda. It is immaterial whether this lay gentleman has any faith in Ayurveda or not. It is the opinion of renowned physicians that really counts. Dr. B.C. Roy, the leading allopathic physician of India, in his address as president of the Indian Medical Conference held at Lahore, declared in no uncertain terms that after so many years of his experience as physician, he came to realize that Ayurveda was the best of all systems of medical treatment known to the world. The allopathic savants all over the world frankly admit that allopathy is not yet a science at all, but is still in the making. It will not be out of place here to quote the opinions of some of the pillars of allopathy. Prof. Evans, Fellow of the Royal College, London, the medical practice of our day is, at the best, a most uncertain and unsatisfactory system. It has neither philosophy nor common sense to commend it to confidence. Benjamin Rush, M.D., professor in the First Medical College, Philadelphia, dissections daily convince us of our ignorance of disease and cause us to blush at our prescriptions. What mischiefs have we not done under the belief of false facts and false theories? We have assisted in multiplying disease, we have done more, we have increased their fatality. Prof. Gregory of Edinburgh, Scotland. Gentlemen, 99 out of 100 medical facts are medical lies, and medical doctrines are for the most part stark, staring nonsense. Dr. Ramage of Royal College, London. It cannot be denied that the present system of medicine is a burning shame to its professors, if indeed a series of vague and uncertain incongruities deserves to be entitled by that name. How rarely do our medicines do good? How often do they make our patients really worse? I fearlessly assert that in most cases the sufferer would be safer without a physician than with one. I have seen enough of the malpractice of my professional brethren to warrant the strong language I employ. Dublin Medical Journal. Assuredly, the uncertain and most unsatisfactory art that we call medical science is no science at all, but a jumble of inconsistent opinions, of conclusions hastily and often incorrectly drawn, of facts misunderstood or perverted, of comparisons without analogy, of hypotheses without reason, and theories not only useless but dangerous. John Mason Good, MD-FRS, author of Book of Nature, Study of Medicine, etc. The science of medicine is a barbarous jargon, and the effects of our medicines on the human system in the highest degree uncertain, except indeed that they have destroyed more lives than war, pestilence, and famine combined. Such remarks can by no means be applied to Ayurveda, which has infallible remedy for every disease. Unfortunately, a majority of the modern Ayurvedic physicians are not well acquainted with the Ayurvedic treatment of fever, which is simply marvelous. The action in fever and cholera of such medicines as Mrita Sanjibana Suchikabharana Rasa, Suchikabharana Rasa, Suchikakshapana Rasa are more miraculous than can be described and conceived of. They are to be prepared and used by adepts only. For the guidance of beginners, I should advise them to use in ordinary fevers only these two medicines, viz. Rasa Talaka, page 115, Vol I. Does 1 rakti to be given thrice a day and Tripurari Rasa, subject to the directions given in Vol. Fourth, they will find that any one of these two medicines would yield wonderful results. If they fail, medicines of higher potencies such as Saubhagya Rasa, Kasturibhairava Rasa, etc. may be made use of. The preparation of Rasa Talaka is somewhat difficult. Any Ayurvedic physician who intends to learn its preparation may come to me. He may learn it from me in a single day. I think I shall be lacking in my duty if I do not refer here to the Honorable Pandit Madan Mohan Malavia, the founder of the Banaras Hindu University. Pandit Malavia is a sincere patriot, an orator of unparalleled ability, a real Indian in thought, Indian in culture, Indian in habit, and Indian in outlook. He has opened an Ayurvedic department in his university, and has been doing all he can to revive Ayurveda, but let me tell the Panditji that his attempts have not yet been even partially successful. Whatever that may be, he is really to be admired for what he has already done. In compliance with the request made to me by several Western scholars, I shall deal with in the introduction of this volume, a brief history of Indian chemistry and medicine. Budeb Mukherjee, Calcutta, the February 10, 1938. Introduction. A brief history of Indian chemistry and medicine. Mr. H. E. Stapleton, M.A. B.Sc., retired Director of Public Instruction, Bengal, had been taking mock interest in ancient chemistry. His illuminating paper on the chemistry in Iraq and Persia in the 10th century A.D., which he wrote in collaboration with the late R. F. Azzo and Shamsul Ulama H. Hidayat Hossain, has been devoted to a critical study of the works of the celebrated Persian chemist and physician Ar-Razi, who died late in the first quarter of the 10th century. In making a very able and careful survey of the work of Ar-Razi, Mr. Stapleton has been forced to conclude from a comparison of the facts that have been brought to light in his paper with those given in the History of Hindu Chemistry by Sir P. C. Roy, that the earlier and possibly autochthonous system of Indian alchemy based almost entirely on the use of vegetable juices was superseded sometime between 500 and 1000 AD by a system of external origin which was primarily based on the use of mercury, and that most of the knowledge regarding metallic and inorganic chemistry found in Indian treatises on alchemy actually originated from on-site India. Mr. Stapleton has based his conclusion mainly on the ground that Ar-Razi and some of his Persian predecessors were acquainted with a good deal of metallic chemistry before the composition of what he considers, on the authority of Sir P. C. Roy, to be the earliest treatise on the metallic chemistry of the Hindus, viz. Rasa Ratnakara, which Dr. Sir P. C. Roy wrongly considers to have been compiled in the 10th century A.D. Mr. Stapleton, however, admits that Ar-Razi was acquainted with Charaka and Sushruta, the two well-known treatises on the science of vegetable chemistry and medicine of the Hindus, and even made use of them in his medical works. It is therefore only in the field of mineral chemistry and alchemy, and not in the field of vegetable chemistry and medicine, that Mr. Stapleton claims priority for Ar-Razi and a few of his more ancient countrymen. This is a view taken by Mr. Stapleton prior to the publication of my Rasa Jala Nidhi. In the preface of Vol. 1 of my book, I have maintained that chemistry and alchemy began to be cultivated by the ancient Indians even from the dawn of Indian civilization, which, according to the Puranas, took place sometime after the commencement of the present Kalpa, i.e. about 0.00000 years ago. This will appear to be incredible to many people. Whatever that may be, Mr. Stapleton has, however, made the following remarks. In respect of my claim to the antiquity of Indian chemistry, what everybody is anxious to obtain is some historical proof that there was a metallic Ayurveda before the time of the Mohammedans, or whether mercury preparation, for example, came to be known in India only after the time of the celebrated Persian physician and chemist Ar-Razi. In order to satisfy Mr. Stapleton, I propose to deal here with only a few of the points justifying my conclusion that metallic chemistry and alchemy, based on the use of mercury, was known to the Indians long before the time of Ar-Razi, who died late in the first quarter of the 10th century AD, Charaka, Sushruta, and their predecessors. There have been, from time out of memory, 4 different schools of medical treatment flourishing side by side in India, viz. Treatments with mercury and metals, vegetable drugs, spells and incantations, and surgical instruments. Both Charaka and Sushruta belong to the second and the fourth classes of physicians, and have all along been the most popular and widely known, though by no means the best and the earliest, of Indian authors of medical treatises. The cheapness of vegetable drugs and the facility of preparing such drugs are some of the reasons which account for the popularity of Charaka and Sushruta. Belonging as they did to the organic school of Ayurvedic chemistry, both Charaka and Sushruta paid more attention to herbal than to metallic drugs, and did not encroach much upon the domain of the metallic chemists. Yet, the medicinal use of metals and minerals was not quite unknown to these compilers. Both of them were acquainted with the medicinal use of many of the metals and ores. There is a distinct reference to the use of mercury in Sushruta, although Charaka is silent about it. The diction and style of Charaka approaches more closely to the Vedic language than to the language used in such books as the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. It appears therefore that Charaka, the author, flourished in the prehistoric age and is not to be identified with Charaka, the court physician of Kaniska. The same remark also applies to Sushruta. There is a clear reference in the Mahabharata to Sushruta, son of the sage Viswamitra, who learnt the science of medicine from Devotasa, king of Kashi, and complied a medical treatise in his own name. There is a sufficient evidence to show that Sushruta, referred to in the Mahabharata, and Sushruta, the author of the famous medical compilation, are one and the same person. This leads us to an inquiry into the age of the Mahabharata, which was undoubtedly composed long after the Sushruta Sanhita had been composed and widely known. There is a well-known passage in the Mahabharata which furnishes some clue to the probable date of the composition or recasting the great epic, the age of the Mahabharata war. The Mahabharata definitely says that the war began with Bhishma as the commander-in-chief of the Kauravas and Drishtadyumna, the king of Panchala, as the commander-in-chief of the Pandavas. Bhishma, the field marshal or commander-in-chief of the Kauravas, received a mortal wound on the evening of the 10th day of the battle, and retired from the battlefield. He was placed on a bed of arrows, in which condition he lived for 58 nights afterwards, waiting for the arrival of Uttarayana or winter solstice to cast off his mortal body. Yudhisthira, finding out that the sun had ceased his journey towards the south and that he had commenced his northward journey, went to Bhishma, followed by his brothers, his mother Kunti, Sri Krishna, Vidura, and other relations and priests with all the necessary preparations. Bhishma, beholding Yudhisthira surrounded by his people, welcomed him thus: "By good luck, O son of Kunti, thou hast come here with all thy counselors, O Yudhisthira. The 1,000-rayed maker of day, the holy sun, has begun his northward course. I have been lying on my bed for 58 nights. O Yudhisthira, the lunar month of Magha has come. This is again the lighted fortnight, and a fourth part of it ought by this be over." From this it is clear that Bhishma spent 58 nights after his fall, and that on the 59th day he cast off his body. We know he had fallen in the battlefield on the 10th day of the Great War. It is said he died in the lunar month of Magha, and in the bright fortnight Sukla Pakshma, when according to his calculations 3/4 of the said month still remained unexpired. This shows that a fourth part of the month, i.e. Tithis, was over by the time of his death. This statement clearly makes us understand that by the time of Bhishma's death the first 7 Tithis and half of the 8th Tithi, in the bright half of the lunar month of Magha, expired. That is, Magha Sukla Ashtami was passing and that half of Ashtami still remained. It is also distinctly said in the Mahabharata that Bhishma breathed his last on Magha Sukla Ashtami in Rohini Nakshatram when the sun reached the meridian, i.e. at midday. It is clear from the statements we find in Shanti Parva and Anusasana Parva that Bhishma had waited for 58 nights after his fall for the commencement of Uttarayana, and that on Magha Sukla Ashtami in the constellation of Rohini just at midday cast off his body. Here we are thus definitely and distinctly given the date on which Uttarayana commenced immediately after the Mahabharata war, and that Uttarayana in that year commenced on Magha Sukla Saptami. Magha Sukla Saptami is noted as an important day by the Hindus and is called Ratha Saptami, i.e., the 7th day on which the chariot of the sun turned so as to move northwards, and the next day after that is called Bhishma Astami, the day on which Bhishma died, and they are so used even to this day. It is already shown that Bhishma died on the noon of the 68th day after the commencement of the war, and we learn that he died on Magha Sukla Astami. So the 68th day after the beginning of the war is Magha Sukla Astami. Pausha and Margasirsha, the 2 lunar months prior to Magha, cannot in any year contain more than 59 days. 8th day in Magha was passing. Hence it is clear that this great war commenced on the last date of the lunar month Kartika Asti on the Amavasya day of Kartika. Further, as it is said, the nakshatram of this 68th day was Rohini, and the 68th nakshatra prior to that happens to be Jesta, presided over by Sakra. These exactly tally with the day and nakshatra as stated to be the day on which this great war commenced. Now from this internal astronomical evidence, as detailed in this great epic, relating to the death of Bhishma and the commencement of Uttarayana or winter solastiko immediately after the war, let us try to find out what the exact date of this event is. We have learnt that after the sun commenced his northwards journey, Bhishma died at noon on Magha Sukla Astami when the moon was in the constellation of Rohini. The day and night on that day were of equal duration, so the time when Bhishma breathed his last was 15 Gatikas, after sunrise on Astami. Mr. Narayana Sastri, who has thoroughly examined this question in his Age of Sankara, proves that according to calculations Rohini on that day should have ended at about 32 Gatikas after sunrise. So the moon was in Rohini for 17 Gatikas after Bhishma's death, or in other words the moon entered into Rohini 43 Gatikas before Bhishma's death. This shows that the moon was in the latter portion of the 3rd quarter of Rohini at the time when Bhishma passed away, and that even in this 3rd quarter, which consists of 15 Gatikas, 13 Gatikas passed away. The 3rd quarter of Rohini commences at 46°-40 in the ecliptic and ends with 50°, so the moon must have been at 49°-33-20°. As 7.5 Tithis in that month passed away before Bhishma's death, the distance between the moon and the sun was 90°, as 1 Tithi makes a distance of 12° in the ecliptic. So the sun must have been at the time of Bhishma's death, at 319°-33-20. The winter solstice or Uttarayana must have commenced with Ratha Saptami at about the midnight of the previous day. There will be a difference of 1 degree between the actual commencement of the Uttarayana or winter solstice and the time of Bhishma's death. This gives us the position of the sun in the ecliptic at the commencement of Uttarayana at the time of Bhishma's death, which took place immediately after or 63 days after the commencement of the Mahabharata war, as 318:3:20. In the ecliptic, or in other words, in the 4th quarter of Satabhisha, which commences with 306:40 and ends with 320°0 in the ecliptic. Now, during our time in January 30, 1929, AD Uttarayana, or winter solstice, has occurred when the sun reached 247 degrees and 18 minutes in the ecliptic, or in when the sun was in the third pada of Mula. Other words, thus we find a 5,020 years, or difference of 70-45-20, between the positions of the sun at the commencement of Uttarayana, or winter solstice at the time of Bhishma's death, and that of ours in January 30, 1929, AD. This difference is caused by the precession of the equinoxes. The rate of this precession is given as 50 to 26 per year. So the distance of time at this rate between the position of the sun at the time of Bhishma's death and the position of the sun in our time in January 30, 1929. AD is 70-45-20 divided by 50 to 26 70, minus 45 minus 20, 5,069 years in round figures. This clearly shows that Bhishma breathed his last in 3139 BC, which is exactly 37 years before the commencement of this present Kali Yuga, as the Hindu traditions and literature maintain. We know that Bhishma lived for 68 days after the beginning of the Mahabharata War, and that he died on Magha Sukla Astami. So the Mahabharata War must have commenced on the Amavasya day of Kartika and lasted for 18 days from that day to Margasirsa Krishna Pratipad. Mahabharata says that the Pakshma at the end of which Mahabharata War commenced contained only 13 tithas. In all such cases the following Pakshma would contain 16 tithas. Thus the total period from Kartika Amavasya to Margasira Krishna Pratipad is 18 full days, and the Mahabharata War must have taken place about 2 months and 8 days prior to Bhishma's death, i.e. in 3139 BC. Thus the epic Mahabharata itself gives us incontrovertible proof from internal astronomical evidence that the Mahabharata War took place in 3139 BC. It is this date of the Mahabharata War that is taken as the starting point by the Puranas and the other Indian literature for all chronological calculations of historical events of ancient India. If attempts are made to know the dates of several dynasties as given in the Puranas by calculating from this date, 3139 BC, we do certainly arrive at the true chronology and know the real history of ancient India, and they agree completely with all the traditional records of the Hindus, Buddhists, and Jains, and show us clearly that the chronological calculations given in the ancient Indian literature are absolutely correct and systematic. The true date of the Mahabharata War completely disproves the so-called identification of Maurya and Chandragupta with the Sandrakatas or Sandrasiptas of the Greek writers and the chronology and history of ancient India, constructed on such misconception. It need hardly be said that the various theories and dates given by several Orientalists as to the date of this Mahabharata War are manifestly wrong, and cannot be relied on as having any value in constructing the chronology and history of ancient India. Taking this year 3139 BC as the date of the Mahabharata War and a starting point for the construction of the chronology and history of India after the Mahabharata War, the chronology of various dynasties that ruled at Magadha from the said war, till the end of the great Gupta dynasty, of course, based on the Puranic and the other ancient Indian literature, would be as follows. The date of the Mahabharata War 3139 BC. Rasa Jala Nidhi, Vol. 5th Introduction. I bow down to that one and eternal being who is conceived of by his devotees as half male and half female, who is the only abode of eternal and uninterrupted bliss, who brings into being, maintains and destroys the universe, whose real existence is nothing but consciousness itself and not any corporal frame, who always makes his presence felt in the hearts of his devotes, who is incapable of being properly described by words and can never be realized in his true nature, even by those who have been able to form a spiritual union with him. Alas, my unsteady mind is knewable to concentrate itself upon his feet, much more radiant than the accumulated brilliance of hundreds of suns. Chapter 1. Raktapitam. Causes and nature. An excessive indulgence in exposure to the sun's rays, physical exercise, grief, walking, sexual intercourse, and eating in excess of food, acrid in taste or hot, alkalis, salt, sours and pungents cause an abnormal excess of pitam, which by its nature causes an immediate heating and putrefaction of blood, which forces its way upwards through the nostrils, eyes, ears and the mouth, or downwards, through the penis, vagina and the rectum, or even through the pores in the skin, if the causes are excessively strong. The upward tendency of hemiptosis is due to the blood being mixed with an excess of kapha. The downward tendency is due to the blood being mixed with an excess of vayu, whereas combination of an excess of kapha and vayu is followed by blood flowing upwards and downwards. Treatment of hemiptosis. Some herbal remedies. Leaves of basaka are to be put inside 2 earthen basins and heated for a few minutes by mild heat. Juice extracted from those leaves is to be cooled and drunk with a little of honey and sugar. This puts a stop to hemiptosis, however severe. Juice of dumbara fruits, drunk with a little of honey, puts a stop to hemiptosis. Amalki fruits, fried with clarified butter and finely pestled with water, put a stop to hemorrhage through the nostrils. If applied on the crown of the head, Hemorrhage, through the nostrils, is stopped if sugar, dissolved with water or milk, is sniffed, or if grape juice is drunk, mixed with clarified butter derived from fresh milk, or if juice of sugarcane is drunk, mixed with sugar. The external application to stop hemorrhage through the nostrils is also efficacious in stopping hemorrhage through the ears. The internal medicine is the same in hemorrhage in general. Hemorrhage is stopped by the eating of fried patty, divested of husks and mixed with batter and sugar, and by the rubbing of clarified butter upon the crown of the head. Thirst, sensation of heat and fever in hemorrhage are stopped by drinking of the decoction of grapes and basaka mixed with sugar, or the juice of basaka mixed with sugar and honey, or by the eating of fried patty, divested of husks, and mixed with an equal quantity of sugar. Hemorrhage is stopped by the eating of powdered amalaki fruits mixed with an equal quantity of sugar. Iatro-medical treatment of hemoptosis. Cinnabar, mixed with the juice of patola and honey, cures hemoptosis. Minerals and gems forming ingredients of a medicine should always be purified or incinerated after purification, as the case may be, in accordance with the procedures laid down in the first 3 volumes. Ayasa di rasa, 4 tolas, each, of iron and incinerated mercury, rubbed together with the juice, decoction or solution of those articles which possess the property of stopping hemorrhage, roots of Meganada.
Isalyakarani, Udumbara cures Raktapitam.
Basukendra rasa, 1 rakti of incinerated mercury, mixed with 1 tola of the juice of basaka, a few drops of honey and a little of sugar taken once a day cures Raktapitam. Rakta pitum kusha, rasa, equal quantities of mercury, extracted by upward sublimation from cinnabar. The liquid portion of cock's egg, borax and sulfur are to be rubbed together and made into pills, 6 raktas each. 1 such pill is to be taken every day with a few drops of honey and a little of jira water. This medicine cures, in 3 days, chronic diarrhea with blood, fever, sensation of heat and hemoptosis. Chandrakala, rasa, 1 tola each of incinerated mercury and incinerated copper are to be rubbed with water for 3 days, and then subjected carefully to a mild heat. When dried, it is to be rubbed with an equal quantity of sulfur to form a black powder, which is next to be rubbed and subjected to pavana, for 1 day each in succession, with the juices of the following: musta, pomegranates, durba, sprouts of kataki, sahadevi, kumari, parpata, ramashitala, and chatabari roots. The substance thus prepared is to be mixed with an equal quantity of the following: roots of kutaja, essence of guruchi, parpata, ushira, pipali, shringata, and sariba. The compound is next to be subjected to bhavana for 7 times with the decoction of the draksadi. They are as follows: grapes haritaki musta, kataki, kirata tikta, and parpati, or grapes, red sandal, padmatri musta, kataki guruchi, amalaki balaka, ushira lodra, indrajava, parpata, parushaka, priyangu, duralaba, basaka, jastimadu, patola leaves, kirata tikta, and danya. It is then to be rubbed with water and made into pills, 2 raktas in weight each. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases due to an abnormal excess of pitam or pitam and vaya combined, and especially sensation of heat, internal or external, exhaustion, loss of consciousness, menorrhagia, rakta pitam, and stricture. Arkeshwara, rasa. Equal quantities of copper, tin, mica, and copper pyrites are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana for 21 times with the juice of guruchi, and made into pills, 4 raktas in weight each, to be taken with a little of honey and juice of basaka and bidari. This medicine cures Raktapitan very quickly. Raktapittantaka rasa. Equal quantities of mica, iron, copper, pyrites, rasa talaka, and sulfur are to be rubbed together for 1 day each in succession, with the juices of jastimadu grapes and guruchi, and made into pills, 6 raktas in weight, each to be taken with sugar and honey. This medicine cures Raktapitam, fever, sensation of heat, thirst, waste, and aversion to food. Rasamrita, rasa. 1 part of mercury and 2 parts of sulfur are to be rubbed together to form a kajali or black powder, with which are to be mixed 2 parts each of copper, pyrites, bitumen, sandal, guruchi, grapes, maduka flower, danya, bark of kutaja, seeds of kutaja, dataki flower, leaves of nimba, and justi madhu. These are then to be rubbed together with honey and sugar. Dose 1 tola a day, to be taken in the morning with fresh milk. This medicine cures pitam, amla pitam, and fever. Sudha Nidhi rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, copper pyrites, and iron are to be rubbed together with the decoction of triphala, dried, confined in a crucible, and then subjected to heat by means of a budhara jantram. Dose 1 rakti each, to be taken with decoction of triphala. Milk boiled in an iron pot is to be given to the patient at night. Kapardaka rasa. Mercury, incinerated, or in a state of swoon, is to be rubbed for 1 day with the juice of leaves of cotton plant. With this mercury are to be filled up the vacant spaces in as many as necessary of cowrie shells, which are to be put inside a blind crucible and heated by putum. When cooled of itself, these cowries are to be taken out, powdered, and mixed with double their weight of powdered marisha. Dose 1 rakti, to be taken in the morning with a few drops of clarified butter and juice of udambara fruits. This medicine cures hemoptosis, sarkara diam lauham, 1 part each of sugar, sesamum seeds, tricatu, triphala and trimata, and 5 parts of iron are to be mixed together, and taken in suitable doses. This medicine cures ractopedum and amlopedum, sama, sharkuru lauham. 4 parts of iron, 16 parts of milk, 8 parts of clarified butter, and 4 parts of sugar are to be mixed together and heated in a copper pot, till the compound turns semi-solid. The heat is then to be removed, and 1 part of powdered biranga is to be mixed with the compound. When perfectly cooled, 4 parts of honey are to be mixed with it. The medicine thus prepared is to be kept in an earthen pot in which clarified butter used to be kept previously. Dose, 6 ractus a day, to be gradually increased. This medicine is to be taken with cocoa nut water, or with sugar dissolved with water. It cures hemoptosis, amlopedum, and weakness due to blood shed from wounds. It increases beauty and nutrition. Shatamulyadi lauham, 1 part each of shatabari roots, sugar, dhanya, nagakashara flour, red sandal, tricatu, triphala, trimata, and black sesamum seeds, and 9 parts of iron are to be rubbed together, and this medicine cures thirst, sensation of heat, fever, vomiting, and hemoptosis. Kandaka diam tauham, 20 tolas each of roots of shatabari, guruchi, bark of basaka, mundiri, bala, musali, kadira bark, triphala, parji, and puskara mulam are to be boiled by mild heat with 1 drona of water, which is to be reduced to 128 tolas by such boiling. The decoction thus prepared is to be mixed with 48 tolas of lodestone, incinerated with real jur or sea copper pyrite 64 tolas each of sugar and clarified butter, and boiled in a pot made of iron or copper. When the whole thing turns semi-solid, the following materials finely powdered are to be mixed with it: 4 tolas each of bansha, lokanam, shila, jatu, gura, twak, karkada, shringi, biranga, pipali, shunthi, and black jira, triphala, dhanya, patra, maricha, and nagakashara. Heat is then to be discontinued. When the substance gets cooled, 32 tolas of honey is to be mixed with it. Dose, 1 tola a day, to be taken with cow's milk. Diet, heavy and nutritious food, and coconut water, such pot herbs as sunisanika, bastuka, dried radish, jira, patola, brihati fruit, green brinjals, ripe and sweet mango, dates and sweet pomegranates, juice of such meat as goat, parabata, titiri, chakora, shashaka, and deer. All articles of foodstuff commencing with K see page 204, 205 vol 1, and meat of such animals as buffalo, rhinoceros, hog, cow, elephant, all sorts of waterfowl, oyster, conch shell, crabs, and other sea shells are to be avoided while taking this medicine. Diet and actions salutary in ractopedum, vomiting in downward hemoptosis, purgation in upward hemoptosis, fasting in both, rice derived from paddy of 2 to 3 years standing, named Sastika, Shali, Kodrava, Priyangu, Nibara, and Prasatika, the grams named Mudga, Masura, Chanaka, Tuhari, and Mukustaka, fishes named Chingata and Barmi, meat of hare, kapota, deer, laba, shatari, parabata, bartaka, baka, snake, kalapucha, and kapinjala, vegetables astringent in taste, milk of cow and goat, and clarified butter derived from such milk, clarified butter derived from milk of buffalo, panasa, piala, banana, kanchata, tandanlia, patola, tender leaves of the cane plant, mahar draka, kusmanda, fruit of long-standing, ripe palm fruit, juice of basaka, fruits of gopalakarkati, sweet pomegranates, dates, amalaki, madurika, green coconut, its water, kasheru, shringatam, pulp of ripe balataka fruit, kapita, shaluka, parasaka fruit, leaves of kiratatikta and nimba, alabu, kalinga fruit, paddy fried, devoid of husk and then reduced to powder, grapes, sugar, honey, juice of sugar cane, cold, anointing the body with sandal paste, etc., taking baths by plunging down in cold water, anointing the body with clarified butter, rubbed with cold water for 100 times and reduced thereby to a semi-liquid state, rubbing the body, anointing the body with cold unguents, exposure to cold wind and moonlight, sandal paste, words pleasing to the mind, dwelling in a house cooled by sprays of water falling in showers through a fountain, cold house, dwelling in a room underneath the ground, wearing of cat's eye and pearls, lying in beds covered with the leaves of banana, water lily, and lotus, putting on silk clothes, residing in cold gardens or garden houses, embrace of delightful young girls with their bodies anointed with paste of priyangu and water, spring water, sandal, hearing of graphic descriptions of rivers and lakes where lotus flowers grow in abundance, of moonlit and cool mountain valleys, and waterfalls, drinking of excellent water and lying on cold sands. Food and actions injurious in ractopedum, physical exercise, traveling on foot, exposure to the sun, actions having heating effect on the system, grief and repentance, suppression of calls of nature, restlessness, riding on the back of horses, elephants, etc. Fomentation, shedding of blood, smoking, sexual intercourse, anger, kulathagram, molasses, brinjals, sesamum, mashagrams, mustard seeds, curd, alkalis, water of wells, betel leaves, lemon fruits, liquors, garlics, beans. Food incongenial by combination, pungents, sours, salt, and beta high food. Things to be avoided at the time of taking incinerated mercury are also to be prohibited at the time of taking medicines containing mercury. Chapter 2. Phthisis or consumption. Causes. This disease is due to waste caused by an excess of loss of semen, grief, senility, physical exercise, diseases affecting the belly, carbuncles or boils, suppression of calls of nature, rap tear or wound in the lungs, and foolhardiness. In this disease, the passages through which the child passes are blocked by the three dosas, dominated by phlegm, with the result that the datus or the constituent parts of the body undergo waste. Causes and indications of wounds or ruptures in the lungs. These are due to much exertion caused by some of the following: excessive use of bow and arrow, heavy weight lifting, wrestling with strong men, falling down from a high place, exertion to break or restrain ox, horse, or some other unbroken or running animal, slinging or hurling of stones, woods or stone balls, exertion for killing a man, reading very loudly, running a long distance, crossing big rivers by swimming, running with a horse, long jump taken, suddenly dancing very quickly and incessantly, taking by a consumptive patient of such medicines and diet as have the effect of increasing pittum, exertion due to some other daring movements, and excessive indulgence in sexual intercourse on the part of those who take a small quantity of food or food devoid of fatty substance. Wounds or ruptures caused by one or more of the causes mentioned above are followed by the commencement or augmentation of the strong disease. What happened next are pain in both sides of the lungs, emaciation and shivering of the limbs, leading gradually to loss of sinin, strength, color, appetite, and power of digestion, fever, pain all over the body, mental depression and uneasiness, diarrhea and even total loss of digestive power. Constant expectoration of malignant phlegm, blackish, stinky, yellow and full of knots, accompanied with blood, with the result that the patient sinks rapidly. This is the outcome of loss of blood due to wounds or ruptures in the lungs. Similar is the effect of waste commencing with the semen and vital essence of the body. General symptoms of phthisis. These are pain in the shoulder and the sides, inflammation in the palm of the hands and feet, dullness of the digesting heat, fever, aversion to food, vomiting of blood and pus, loss of weight and weakness. Preponderance of vayu over kapha and pittum causes hoarseness, pain in and contraction of the shoulder and the sides. Preponderance of pittum over vayu and kapha causes fever, sensation of heat, diarrhea, and spitting or vomiting of blood. Preponderance of kapha over vayu and pittum gives rise to heaviness of the head, aversion to food, cough and tickling sensation in the throat. A combination of 2 or 3 of the doses is followed by a combination of the symptoms accordingly. Asthala and pratyastila are also indications of the disease. Treatment of phthisis. A phthisic patient, strong but affected with much of the dosas, should be subjected to the panchakarma. But such actions are much injurious to weak patients. The strength of a man depends upon the quantity of semen he has been able to accumulate in his system, and his life depends upon his ability to retain mala. It is therefore necessary for a phthisic patient to retain carefully his stool and semen. In other words, a phthisic patient rapidly sinks from weakness due to loss of semen and looseness of the bowels, both of which should be carefully guarded against. Specifics for stopping vomiting of blood. Vomiting of blood may be stopped by any one of the following: pure lac dye mixed with a few drops of honey, decoction of the leaves of Bishalia karani, juice of the leaves of Kukuradrujasti madu and red sandal pestled with milk and dissolved with the same. Juice of the leaves of Kinkirata, taken, at suitable intervals. Lac dye mixed with milk. Diet: milk with sugar after the medicine is digested. Specifics for stopping vomiting. Vomiting is stopped by swallowing roots of matalunga, fried paddy devoid of husk and powdered, rock salt, powdered pipala, all of these pestled together with water and mixed with honey, or 1/4 tola of the compound made of powdered turmeric, burnt conch shell and powdered betel nut, or 1/8 tola of borax mixed with the juice of kakamachi or juice of leaves of sugandha. Iatro, medical treatment of phthisis. Jaksmari lauham, equal quantities of honey, copper pyrites, biranga, bitumen, iron, clarified butter, and haritaki, licked in suitable doses. Cures wasting disease. Jaksma antaka lauham, 1 part each of rasna, ashwagandha, camphor, mandukaparni, railger, trikatu, triphala, trimata, and 8 parts of iron, mixed together, cure cough, hoarseness, phthisis with cough, and waste due to some wound, if taken in suitable doses. Shila jatwadi lanam, equal quantities of bitumen, justimadu, trikatu, copper pyrites and iron, are to be mixed together and taken with milk, cures wasting disease. Sarvamaya haralauham, 1 part each of trikatu, shatabari, triphala, 2 kinds of bala and 5 parts of iron are to be mixed together, and taken with a little of honey, in suitable doses. This medicine cures wound or rupture in the lungs, diseases affecting the throat, wasting disease, paralysis of the hands and facial paralysis. Kanaka shekara rasa, 1 part of gold and 4 parts each of mercury, realger, sulfur, copper sulfate, copper pyrites, orpiment, aconite and borax are to be rubbed together with the juice of each of the following, in succession, drying the compound each time it is so rubbed, Jayanti, Bringaraja, Patha, Basaka, Agasti, Langali, and Chitraka. The compound is next to be rubbed for 7 times with the juice of ginger, drying. The general principle in regard to phthisis is that no pungents and poisons are to be allowed to be taken by a phtisic patient. The present medicine as well as some other contain such prohibited ingredients. These are therefore to be cautiously used. I have not yet experimented such doubtful medicines. At each time it is so rubbed. Dose 2 or 3 ractus each to be taken with honey and powdered pipali, or with clarified butter and powdered maricha. This medicine cures sanapatika fever. If taken with honey and ginger juice, it cures gulma and colic, if taken with honey and powdered croton seed. Diet should be nutritions, and beta high food is to be avoided. Bubanamohana rasa, 1 tola each of mercury and sulfur, 2 tolas of mica, 1/4 tola of camphor, 1 tola of gold, 1 tola of copper, 1 tola of iron, and 1/4 tola, each, of seeds of brita, daraka, jira, bidari, shatabari, seeds of kokiluksa, roots of bala, seeds of banari, atibala, jatikosha, jatifala, lavanga, seeds of banga, and white sarjarasa are to be rubbed together with honey till the whole thing mixed together. Pills are then to be made, 4 ractus in weight each to be taken with powdered pipali and honey. Sayakeshuri rasu, 1 part each of shunthi, maricha, pipali, amalaki, haritaki, bibpitaki, ella, jatifalan, and lavanga. 4½ tolas of iron and 4½ tolas of rasa sindaram are to be rubbed together with goat's milk and made into pills, 3 ractus in weight each, to be taken with honey. This medicine cures phthisis. Biadi barana kashari rasa, equal quantities of mica, incinerated mercury, iron, copper, lead, bell metal, mandarum, bimala, tin, calamine, orpiment, incinerated concha, shell, borax, pyrites, lodestone, garnet, gold, coral, pearls, cowrie shells, rubies, lapis lazuli, and sulfur are to be rubbed together with the juices of chitraka and arka and subjected to heat by lakuputam. This act of rubbing and heating is to be performed 3 times. The compound is then to be rubbed with the juice of each of the following in succession, separately for 3 times, and heated by lagoputam. Each time it is rubbed, matulunga, triphala, chitraka, amlabetasa, bringaraja, karabira, and ginger. To be taken with sugar and powdered pipali, or honey and ginger juice, or any accompaniment considered suitable in the disease in which it is applied. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases and especially malignant fever due to the abnormal excess of the 3 doses, rheumatism and paralysis affecting some or all of the limbs, 11 different kinds of phthisis, waste, anemia, worms, cough, 5 kinds of asthma, spermatoria, obesity, mahodara, Bright's DAEs, sugar in urine, colic, enlargement of spleen, gulma, and jaundice. It increases strength, nutrition, power of retention, and does away with senile decay. Shosanala rasa. Half a tola of rasa sindaram, 1/4 tola of gold, and half a tola of sulfur are to be rubbed together with the juice or decoction of chitraka and juice of kanya for 3 hours, and with goat's milk for 9 hours. The compound is next to be mixed with 1/4 tola, each, of pearls, corals, and tin, and made into a lump which is to be put inside an earthen vessel, the mouth of which is to be closed, as enzual, and then heated by gajaputam. When cooled of itself by radiatlon of heat, the medicine is to be taken out, and taken in doses of 2 ractus each, with a few drops of honey. This medicine cures phthisis due to an abnormal excess of vaya and pittam. Clarified butter prepared from goat's milk, mixed with sugar and honey, is to be drunk just after taking the medicine. Mriganka rasa. 1 part each of mercury and gold, 2 parts each of pearls and sulfur, and 1/4 part of borax are to be rubbed together and made into a lump which is to be dried, put inside a vessel filled with salt, and then heated for 12 hours. This medicine cures phthisis, if taken in doses of 4 ractus each, with honey and powdered maricha, or 10 in number of pipali. Diet is to be given with light meat, curd prepared from goat's milk, buttermilk prepared from cow's milk, goat's meat, curries prepared with clarified butter, with a very little of alkali, with ela, jatifalam, maricha, and absolutely devoid of hingu and beta-high articles. The following also are to be avoided: brinjals, oil, bilva fruit, carabella, etc. Women should be absolutely shunned, and anger is not to be indulged in. Mahamrigainka rasa, 1 part of gold, incinerated in such a way as makes it incapable of being restored to its original condition, 2 parts, each, of incinerated mercury and pearls, 4 parts of sulfur, 5 parts of copper pyrites, 4 parts of silver, 7 parts of corals, and 2 parts of borax are to be rubbed together for 3 days. With the juice of matulunga, and made into a lump which is to be dried by an intense heat of the sun. This lump is then to be pnt inside a vessel filled with salt, the mouth of the vessel being closed by means of an earthen basin, mud and rags as usual. Heat is then to be applied to the vessel for 12 hours. When the vessel is cooled after removal of heat, the medicine is to be taken out, powdered, and mixed with either 1/64 its quantity of diamond, or 1/16 its quantity of vikrantam, if diamond is not available. Dose, 3 ractus each, to be taken with honey and a little of powdered maricha or pipli. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases, especially phthisis, fevers, goma, bidrati, indigestion, hoarseness, cough, aversion to food, vomiting, hysteria, giddiness, 8 great diseases, diseases due to artificial poisons, anemia, jaundice, and all other diseases due to an abnormal excess of pitam. Diet, strengthening and nutritious as prescribed in phthisis. Rajamriganku rasa, 3 parts of incinerated mercury, 1 part, each, of gold and copper, and 2 parts each, of realger, orpiment, and sulfur are to be rubbed together, and put inside the vacant spaces of cowrie shells, the mouths of which are to be closed by means of a paste prepared from borax pestled with goat's milk. These cowrie shells are then to be put in an earthen vessel. When dried, the vessel is to be subjected to heat by gajaputam, the shells being taken out when cooled by radiation of heat, and reduced to powder. Dose, 4 ractus a day, in phthisis due to an abnormal excess of vayu and kapha. This medicine is to be taken with a few drops of clarified butter and 19 in number of maricha, or with a few drops of honey and 10 in number of pipali. Mahabra rasa, 4 tolas, each of mica sufficiently incinerated, copper, iron, sulfur, mercury, realger, borax and triphala, and 1/4 tola of aconite, are to be mixed together, and subjected to bhavana with 4 tolas of the juice of each. Of the following, in section, banga, Kisharaja, Somaraja, Bringaraja, leaves of bilva, paribhadra, agnimantha, brihadara, tum, buru, mandokaparni, nirgundi, pudikaranja, dutura, whiteaparajita, jayanti, ginger, grisma sundara, basaka and betel leaves. 4 tolas of powdered maricha is to be mixed with the compound before it is completely dried. Pills are then to be made. This medicine cures almost all the diseases, especially asthma, consumption, cough and sanapatika fever. Kanchanadi rasa, equal quantities of gold, rasa sindaram, pearls, iron, mica, coral, haritaki, silver, musk and realger, are to be rubbed together and made into pills 2 ractus IU weight each, to be taken with suitable accompaniment. This medicine cures phthisis, cough due to kapha and pitam, all sorts of spermatorea, and diseases due to an abnormal excess of vayu. It increases semen, strength and nutrition. Kanchaneshwara rasa, equal quantities of gold, rasa sindaram, pearls, iron, mica, coral, vikranta, silver, copper, tin, musk, lavanga, jatikosa and ila balukari to be rubbed together with the juices of kanya, and then subjected to bhavana for 3 days each with the juice of kanya and goat's milk. Pills are then to be made, 4 ractus in weight, each, to be taken with suitable accompaniment. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases, and especially phthisis, cough, asthma and spermatorea. Kalyana, Sundara Brahm, 4 tolas of mica, well incinerated by a large number of heating by putam, are to be rubbed with 4 tolas of the juice of each of the following separately, in succession. Amalaki, musta, brihati, shatabari, sugarcane, bilva, agnimantha, balaka, basaka leaves, kantakari, shonaka, patali and bala. Pills are then to be made, 1 rakti in weight each. This medicine cures phthisis and many other diseases. Sureshwara rasa, 1 tola of purified mercury is to be rubbed with the juices of banga and ginger till the mercury becomes condensed. It is then to be subjected to bhavana with the juices of Jala karua and kakamachi, and mixed with 4 tolas of powdered sulfur, well purified with the juice of bringaraja. The compound is then to be rubbed with 8 tolas of goat's milk, and made into pills, 2 ractus in weight each. This medicine cures phthisis, hemiptosis, cough and aversion to food. Diet, milk and soup of goat's meat. Bamadeva rasa, 2 tolas of mercury are to be purified as usual, by being rubbed with the juice of kanya, powdered triphala, juice or decoction of chitraka, mustard, carbon deposited by smoke arising out of burning wood, turmeric, powder of burnt brick, juice of the leaves of bona or baruna tree, and ginger juice, washed each time with kanji, and sifted by means of a thick piece of cloth. Thus purified, the mercury is to be subjected to bhavana with the juice of bijaya, and rubbed in a stone mortar with the same juice till it is condensed. It is next to be subjected to bhavana with the juice of each of the following, in succession, jalakarna, karnachi, or kanchira, or a kuparni, and kakamachi, and mixed and rubbed, together with 4 tolas of sulfur and 2 tolas each of maricha, borax, copper pyrites, copper sulfate, orpiment, and mica. The compound is next to be subjected to bhavana with ginger juice, and made into pills, 2 ractus in weight each. Diet, milk and meat juice. This medicina cures cough, consumption, asthma, hemiptosis, aversion to food, anemia, worms and fever. It is nutritions. Lokeshwara patali rasa, 4 parts of incinerated mercury, 1 part of gold and 8 parts of sulfur are to be rubbed together with the janice or decoction of roots of chitraka. The paste, thus prepared, is to be put inside the vacant spaces in cowrie shells, the gaps being filled with a paste made of borax and goat's milk. These shells are then to be put inside an earthen vessel, the inner surface of which has previously been smeared with powdered lime, the mouth being duly closed and dried. The vessel is to be subjected to heat the next day, by means of a putam in a pit, 1 arotny cube. When cooled of itself by radiation of heat, the vessel is to be broken open, and the medicine taken out and powdered. Dose: 4 ractus to be taken with honey, powdered pipali, and milk. In emaciation, dullness of the digesting heat, cough, and excess of pitum, this medicine is to be taken with powdered maricha and clarified butter, for 3 days. Curd with clarified butter is to be taken, and salt is to be avoided these 3 days. Thereafter, the patient is to take, for 21 days only, powdered marcha with clarified butter only. Diet: the same as in Mriganka Rasa. The patient is to lie down with his feet stretched. This medicine cures emaciation due to irregularity of the digesting heat, consumption, ostilla, anemia. Waste due to wrong treatment by unworthy physicians, fever of all sorts, insanity, etc. Hemagarba patali rasa. 3 parts of incinerated mercury, 1 part of gold, 1 part of copper, and 1 part of sulfur are to be rubbed with the decoction of roots of chitraka for 6 hours. Chasms of cowrie shells are to be filled up with this paste, covered with a paste made of borax and goat's milk. These cowric shells are then to be put inside an earthen vessel, the mouth of which is to be duly closed. It is next to be subjected to heat by gajaputam. Dose: 4 ractus as in Mriganka Rasa. Ratnagarba palali rasa. Equal quantities of incinerated mercury, diamond, gold, silver, lead, iron, copper, pearls, copper pyrites, corals, conch shells, and copper sulfate are to be rubbed together for 7 days with the juice or decoction of roots of chitraka dried, and then powdered. Chasms and cowrie shells are to be filled in with this powder, covered with a paste made of borax pestled with the milk of arca. These cowrie shells are then to be put inside an earthen vessel, the mouth of which is to be duly closed, and the vessel is to be heated by gajapatam. The medicine is then to be taken out, powdered, and subjected to bhavana, for 7 times with the juice of nirgundi, for 7 times with the juice of ginger, and for 21 times with the juice or decoction of chitraka. Dose: 4 ractus a day. This medicine cures phthisis, invata biyati, stone disease, leprosy, spermatorrhea, udara roga piles, fistula, grahani, cough, fever, asthma, and diarrhea. This medicine is to be given with honey mixed with powdered pipali or clarified butter mixed with powdered maricha. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases. Sarvanga Sundara Rasa, 1 part each of mercury, sulfur, pearls, coral, and burnt conch shell, 2 parts of borax, and half a part of gold are to be rubbed together with lemon juice and made into a lump which is to be heated by means of gajapatam. When cooled, the compound is to be taken out, powdered, and mixed with half a part of steel and 1/4 part of cinnabar, all being rubbed into a fine powder. This medicine cures phthisis, fever due to an abnormal excess of the 3 doses, piles, chronic diarrhea, spermatorrhea, goma, fistula, and all sorts of diseases due to an abnormal excess of vayu and pitum. The medicine is to be kept on a piece of betel leaf and mixed with honey and powdered pipali, or with clarified butter only, or with sugar, or with honey and ginger juice, and licked by the patient. Hema Manohara Rasa, equal quantities of gold, orpiment, sulfur, copper sulfate, copper pyrites, calamine, and realgar are to be rubbed together, for 1 day each in succession with the following: milk of arca, juices of jayanti, bringaraja, basaka, patha, chitraka roots, agasti, and langali. The lump, thus prepared, is to be dried and heated by gajaputam. When cooled, the compound is to be taken out, powdered, and subjected to bhavana for 7 times each, with the juices of ginger and tricadu. Dose: 2 or 3 ractus each, to be taken in phthisis with honey and powdered pipali, or clarified butter and powdered maricha. In colic or goma, this medicine is to be taken with powdered croton seeds, or with powdered shunthi, mixed with clarified butter. In sanapada, this medicine is to be applied with ginger genice. Diet: wholesome and agreeable. All articles of food stuff beginning with K are to be avoided. Shankadisha rasa, 1/4 of a tola of shankanabi, 1 tola of cowrie shells, 1/8 tola of copper sulfate and sulfur, equal to all the above named combined and leaded in. Incinerated mercury and borax, each equal to sulfur, are to be rubbed together into a very fine powder with which are to be filled up the hollows of as many cowrie shells as necessary. The hollows are then to be covered with a paste made of borax, pestled with goat's milk. When dried, these cowrie shells are to be put inside an earthen vessel, the mouth of which is to be duly covered with an earthen basin. The vessel is then to be dried and heated by means of gajaputam. When cooled, the medicine is to be taken out, powdered, and taken in doses of 4 ractus a day. This medicine cures phthisis, mriganka potali rasa. 4 tolas of shankanabi are to be pestled with cow's anilk, and made into a crucible into which is to be put 3/4 of a tola of sulfur and 1/8 tola of incinerated mercury, the mouth of the crucible being duly closed. It is then to be wrapped up in a piece of cloth and coated all over with mud. When dried, it is to be burnt by gajaputan. When cooled, the crucible as well as its contents are to be powdered. 1 rakti of this medicine taken daily in the same way as mriganka rasa cures phthisis, Swarnagarbha Potali Rasa, half a tola of incinerated mercury, 1/4 tola of gold, and half a tola of sulfur are to be rubbed for 6 hours with the juice or decoction of chitraka roots and dried. With this powder are to be filled up the hollows in as many cowrie shells as necessary. When dried, these shells are to be put inside an earthen vessel, the mouth of which is to be duly closed and dried. The vessel is then to be heated by Gajanutam. When cool, the contents of the vessel are to be taken out and powdered. This medicine cures phthisis, if taken in doses of 4 ractus a day.
Panchasuda Rasa.
Equal quantities of incinerated mercury, mica, iron, bitumen, aconite, gugulu, and copper are to be rubbed together and made into pills, 2 ractus in weight each. This medicine cures phthisis, if taken with honey and powdered pippile, or with clarified butter and powdered maricha, or with milk mixed with the juices of leaves of barbari, tulasi, and jayanti. Shamendra Rasa. 1 part each of mercury and sulfur, 2 parts of tricatu, 4 parts of incinerated conch shells, 8 parts of incinerated tea-cowrie shells, 1/4 part of borax, and powdered marica, equal in quantity to all the above named combined, are to be mixed together. This medicine cures phthisis, if licked with clarified butter, in suitable doses rising gradually to 1/4 of a tola a day. Lokshvara rust, 1 part of incinerated mercury, 1/4 part of gold, and 2 parts of sulfur, are to be rubbed together with the decoction of roots of chitraka and dried. This powder is to fill up the hollows of some cowrie shells, the openings of which are to be covered with a paste made of borax. These shells are then to be put inside an earthen vessel, the inner surface of which has previously been smeared with lime, the mouth being duly closed and dried. The vessel is then to be heated the next day by means of putam in a pit, 1 aratni cube. When cooled, the cowries are to be taken out and powdered. This medicine increases strength and nutrition. Dose 4 ractus a day, to be taken with powdered maricha and clarified butter. In thinness, indigestion, cough, and hiccough, this medicine is to be given, with maricha and clarified butter, for 3 days only. Salt is to be avoided altogether. Diet to be taken with curd and clarified butter. Maricha with clarified butter is to be taken for 21 days. Diet, as in Mriganka Rasa. The patient is to lie down on his bed with his feet stretched. If vomiting occurs, the patient is to drink decoction or juice of guruchi, mixed with honey, and to take roasted brinjals. He is also to bathe in cold water, which may also be poured over his head in torrents. If there is an excess of phlegm, green banana fruit, fried with clarified butter, and mixed with powdered maricha, or ginger mixed with honey or molasses, may be taken by the patient. Powdered ela mixed with powdered maricha may also be taken by the patient, so long as vomiting is not stopped. In case of aversion to food, dhanya and masa grams bereft of husks, fried, powdered, and mixed with sugar and clarified butter, may be taken by the patient. In case of troubles caused by worms, ajamoda and biranga are to be pestled with buttermilk and drunk by the patient. He may also drink the decoction of roots of aranda and musta. In case of diarrhea, the patient may take the juice of dogdika after heating it a little, or he may take, at night, banga fried a little with clarified butter and mixed with honey. In case of pricking sensation on the skin, the patient is to take a bath in hot water after his body is anointed with clarified butter. Prananatha Rasa. 5 tolas of iron, subjected to bhavana with 4 prastas of the juice of Bringaraja. 5 tolas of copper pyrites, reduced to ashes by being burnt by putamaf best. Being rubbed with the juices of datura, parji, and triphala. 1/4 of a tola of mercury, 1/4 of a tola of copper sulfate, half a tola of sulfur, 1 tola of cowrie shell. All of these are to be mixed together, rubbed with the juices mentioned above, and reduced to ashes by being burnt by putam. When cooled, the product is to be taken out, powdered, and mixed with 1 tola of powdered maricha, and 2 tolas, each of copper sulfate and borax. Dose, 12 ractus a day. This medicine is to be applied only in phthisis attended with waste, diseases affecting the belly, piles, chronic diarrhea, fever, and gulma. Vaidya Raja Rasa. 1/4 tola of conch shell, 1 tola, each of cowrie shell, copper sulfate, orpiment, sulfur, and borax, and 1/8 tola, each of silver, lead, and mercury are to be confined in a putam, as in the preceding case. These cowries are then to be put inside an earthen vessel, the inner surface of which has been coated with a paste made of powdered cowrie shells and mandura, the mouth of the vessel being duly closed. The vessel is then to be heated by means of lagu putam. 3 ractus of this medicine mixed with 3 ractus of powdered maricha, subjected to bhavana with the juice of betel leaves, is to be taken every morning with a few drops of honey or fresh clarified butter, kept on a piece of betel leaf. This medicine cures phthisis. Salutary diet as prescribed elsewhere in this chapter should be taken in small quantities at an interval of every 3 hours, after the medicine is digested. These directions are to be observed for 48 days. Lokapala Rasa. 2 tola, each of mercury and copper sulfate, 1 tola, each of sulfur, borax, and conch shell, 2 tolas of copper, and 9 tolas of cowrie shells are to be rubbed together and burnt by putam. When cooled, the compound is to be rubbed with the juice of the leaves of arka plant, and again heated by half a para of cow dung cakes. 1/8 tola of this medicine, mixed with 6 ractus of powdered maricha and 1/4 tola of powdered sulfur, taken once a day for 21 days only, cures phthisis. Diet as in the medicine just preceding. Bajra rasa. Each of the following 7 things is to be rubbed for 9 hours with the juice of chungari, and reduced to ashes separately by being burnt by putam. 1 tola of essence of calamine melted and thrown upon tola of molten gold, both being thus mixed together. 1/2 tola of mercury mixed with 2 tolas of sulfur, both being rabbed together. Tola of powdered coral, 1/8 tola of powdered pearl, 1/2 tola of incinerated iron, tola of incinerated lead, and 1 tola of incinerated copper. These 7 different materials are to be mixed with 1/2 tola of condensed indigo, 1/2 tola of incinerated mica, 1/2 tola of incinerated lodestone, 1/2 tola of purified orpiment, 1 tola of seeds of ancola, 1 tola of seeds of kanguni, 1 tola of copper sulfate, 2 tolas of borax, and 5 tolas of incinerated cowrie shell. All these 16 materials are then to be rubbed together with 128 tolas of the juice of the big lime fruit. When dried, the compound is to be put inside 8 earthen basins. The putam, thus prepared, is to be put inside a deep pit filled with tolas of husk of paddy and 8,000 tolas of cow dung cakes, and the whole thing is to be set fire to. The putam, thus burnt, is to be taken out only when the fire is completely extinguished and the ashes are perfectly cooled by a natural radiation of heat. 12 ractus of this medicine is to be mixed with the same quantity of purified sulfur, previously subjected to bhavana, with a decoction of 1/4 its weight of marica. This compound is then to be kept on a piece of betel leaf, smeared with honey, and then licked by the patient. Diet is to be given every 3 hours commencing from the expiry of 1 hour after taking the medicine, otherwise enkindled hunger may at once consume the deities or constituent parts of the body. The patient is to avoid all injurious deeds and articles of foodstuff for 48 days after taking 1 dose of the medicine, after which he may have his own way as regards deeds and diet. If he takes 1 dose of this medicine at the commencement of every year, he may protect himself from senile decay for 12 years. This is a very good medicine for consumption. Mahabira potali rasa. 1/2 tola of copper sulfate, 1 tola of mercury, 1/4 tola of aconite, 1/2 tola of steel, and 1 tola each of sulfur and pearls are to be rabbed together with the juices of agniparni, harilata, bringaraja, ginger, and tulasi, made into a lump and dried. This is then to be put inside 2 earthen basins, the inner surface of which has been smeared with a paste made of the tuber of langali, and heated as usual by putam. When cooled by a natural radiation of heat, the contents of the putam are to be taken out and powdered. 12 ractus of this medicine, mixed with 2 ractus of purified and powdered aconite, 12 ractus of powdered maricha, are to be taken every day, with a little of honey. This medicine cures phthisis, diarrhea, both acute and chronic, indigestion, cough, anemia, gulma. Both milk and meat juice are not to be given to the patient on the same day, on the ground of their being incongenial by combination. Bhubaneswara parpati, 1 tola of gold, 2 tolas of silver, 3 tolas of copper, 4 tolas of essence of mica, 5 tolas of lodotone, and 1/4 tola, each of lead and tin are to be melted together, cooled, and then reduced to fine powder by filing. This powder is to be mixed with 4 tolas each of sulfur, manashila, and haritala, and rubbed together with the amlabargas. This compound is to be reduced to ashes by being heated by putam for 20 times, after having been mixed, each time, with a little of the powder of each of the following: copper pyrites, blue anjanam, orpiment, realger, and sulfur. In a separate stone mortar are to be kept purified mercury, double in weight of the ashes referred to above, and sulfur, double in weight of the mercury. These 2 things, viz., sulfur and mercury, are to be rubbed together and made into a fine kajali or black powder, with which is to be mixed the ashes of gold, etc., referred to above. The whole of the powder is then to be reduced to parpati, as usual, by being put on an iron pot and heated by a mild heat of fire made of charcoal prepared from badara wood. The parpati, thus prepared, is to be powdered very fine, and mixed with an equal quantity of a powder made of orpiment, realger, and sulfur, taken in equal quantities, and 2 tolas of purified aconite. The powder thus prepared is to be melted, in small quantities on a palika, subjected to a mild heat of fire made of charcoal, prepared from badara wood. In the act of melting in this case, care should be taken to see that the heat applied for melting should not be so strong as to burn the powder, which is to be cooled by being thrown upon a piece of plantain leaf, as soon as it is melted. The product thus prepared is to be again powdered very fine. It is then to be dissolved with a decoction prepared from 5 tolas each of pati karanja, satkala, kantikari, and roots of shobhanjana, to be boiled in 320 tolas of water, reducible by heating to 20 tolas only. The product, thus dissolved, is to be dried by a mild heat. The process of dissolving the powder with the decoction, and then drying it by mild heat, is to be performed for 7 times only. The product is then to be subjected to bhavana separately, with the decoctions of each of the following: fruits of Nux vomica and Nirgundi. It is then to be put, in small quantities, on a palika, and heated a little by a mild heat of fire made of charcoal prepared from badara wood. Dose, 1 rakti, to be taken once a day with a little of honey and powdered tricatu. This medicine cures phthisis with all its symptoms: asthma, cough, cholera, spermatoria, diseases of the belly, aversion to food, discharge of phlegm through the nostrils, vomiting, heart disease, diseases affecting the rectum, colic, leprosy, fever due to vaya, constipation, grahani, diseases due to the drinking of liquor in excess and indicating an abnormal excess of phlegm, and especially dullness of the digesting heat. While taking the medicine, the patient should avoid, as usual, the following: oil prepared from sesamum and mustard seeds, bilva fruit, sours, carabella, kusumba seeds and flour, meat of pigeon and fowl, and brinjals. Diet indeed beneficial in phthisis. In the case of the patient being strong and the doses being excessively abnormal, mild, purification of the body may be resorted to: wheat, mugga, chanaka, rice prepared from rakta shalipati, meat, butter, milk and clarified butter of goat, meat of those animals which live mainly on meat, and those which are termed jangala, ripe and sweet, papita, sita or atripia, and mango, amalaki, dates, seeds and roots of lotus, parosaka, water and tender kernel of coconut, shobanjanam, patola, tender palm fruit, grapes, madurika, rock salt, leaves of basaka, clarified butter prepared from the milk of cow and buffalo, association with healthy goat, smearing the body with the urine and stool of goats, matyandika, shikharini, sugar candy, camphor, musk, white sandal, rubbing the body with oil and scented unguents, baths, putting on clear clothes, taking dips in good water, living in houses built of bricks or stones, wearing garlands, hearing of sweet and agreeable words, soft wind, hearing of songs, seeing of dances, exposure to the rays of the moon, hearing of playing on harps, wearing of pearls, rubies and other ornaments, offering of clarified butter on fire, gifts made to the deserving, worship of gods and the twice-born, and articles of foodstuff, both salutary and agreeable. Articles of foodstuff and deeds considered. Injurious is phthisis, purgation, suppression of calls of nature, mental and physical labor, association with wife, fomenting the body, using collyrium, keeping late hours at night, performance of daring acts, exposure to the rays of the sun, taking of food or drink not mixed with clarified butter or animal fat, taking meals at irregular times and in excessive quantities, betel leaves, watermelon, kulathograms, masagrams, garlics, sprouts of bamboos, hingu, sours, bitters, astringents, pungents, all sorts of pot herbs, alkalis, articles of food stuffing congenial by combination, beans, carcota, all beta high articles, betel nuts, pipali, brinjals, taking of oil, sleeping in daytime, bilva fruit, anger, sexual intercourse, grief, vexation, envy, and jealousy. Cough. Its causes. The pranavayu, or the air which works the respiratory system, may be deranged by one or more of the following: entrance of smoke into the mouth and the nostrils, the rasa or chyle moving upwards by the pressure of gas formed in the stomach, excess of physical or mental exercise, eating of food devoid of animal fat, entrance of food into wrong places by hasty swallowing, and suppression of calls of nature including sneezing. Thus deranged, pranavayu follows the udanavayan, is vitiated by kapha and pittam, causes sounds resembling those caused by broken bell metal, and comes out abruptly through the mouth mixed with phlegm. This is what is meant by kasa. There are 5 different kinds of kongbi, viz., that caused by each of the following: an abnormal excess of vayu, pittam and kapha, ulcers and consumption. Cough, if neglected, becomes gradually malignant. AUD leads ultimately to consumption. This disease is preceded by a sensation felt in the throat and mouth of being pricked with the ears, as it were, of barley and difficulty in swallowing food. Treatment of cough. Some simple herbal remedies. Juice of ginger mixed with a little of honey is to be drunk for the cure of asthma, cough, catarrh, and excess of phlegm. Juice of basaka leaves, extracted after heating them by putam by a mild heat, cooled and mixed with powdered pipali and a few drops of honey, if taken daily for some time, can cure cough, however malignant. A ball, made of powdered leaves of bringaraja, mixed with honey, and put into the mouth, can put a stop to cough and flatulence. Cough is cured by the drinking of a few drops of the leaves of arka and aranda, combined. Smoking of the dried roots of danti or nirgandi may also serve the same purpose. Smoking for the cure of cough. Equal quantities of rilger, orpiment, justimadu, jatamansi, musta, and fruits of ingudi are to be rubbed together. A little of this powder is to be set fire to and smoked, as enisnol, milk, mixed with molasses should be drunk after smoking. Smoking in this way for 3 days cures even such a malignant cough as cannot be cured by other remedies. Leaves of badari, smeared with rilger, pestled with water, and then dried, are to be set fire to and smoked, as usual. Milk is to be drunk after smoking in this way. Smoking in this way cures all sorts of cough. 1 part each of bark of arka, rilger and tricatu are to be mixed together. A little of this powder is to be set fire to and smoked as usual. Milk or water is to be drunk and betel leaves to be chewed after smoking. This cures all sorts of cough. Powdered bark of brinjals is to be subjected to bhavana with Marisha relger and milk of arka and dried. A little of this powder is to be set fire to and smoked. This cures asthma and cough. Lutro chemical remedies in cough. Kasa kala nula rasa. 1 part of purified mercury, 2 parts each of sulfur and copper, 10 parts of maricha, 4 parts of mica, and 1 part of aconite are to be rubbed with some sour vegetable juice. Dose 6 ractus each, to be taken with a little of honey and skin of bibitaka fruit. This medicine cures cough due to an abnormal excess of vayu only. Purandara rasu. 1 part of mercury and 2 parts of sulfur are to be rubbed together to form a kajali or black powder with which is to be mixed 1 part each of trikatu and triphala. The compound thus prepared is to be subjected to bhavana with goat's milk and made into pills, 2 ractus in weight each, to be taken with a few drops of honey and a little of ginger juice. Cold water is to be drunk just after taking this pill. This medicine cures cough, asthma, and loss of power of digestion. If it is taken for a long time, it acts as a very good aphrodisiac. Chandramrita rasa, ohe tola, each of mercury, sulfur, and iron, 4 tolas of borax, 2 tolas of maricha, and 1 tola, each of trikatu, triphala, chavya, dhanya, jira, and rock salt are to be rubbed together with goat's milk and made into pills, 9 ractus in weight each, to be taken with the juice of any one of the following red or blue enti palam, kulatha grams milk of goat,
Munditika, and Kesharaja.
This medicine cures all sorts of cough, spitting of blood, fever with asthma, thirst, heating sensation, giddiness, loss of appetite, enlargement of spleen, gulma, diseases affecting the belly, anaha, worms, anemia, and jirna fever. A decoction of the following is to be drunk after taking the medicine: basaka, guruchi, parji, musta, and kantakari. Kasantaka rasa. 1 part each of mercury, sulfur, aconite, shalaparni, and dhanya, and 5 parts of marisha are to be rubbed together and made into pills, 4 ractus in weight each, to be taken with honey. This medicine cures kong, kasa kuthara rasa. Equal quantities of cinnabar, maricha, trikatu, sulfur, and borax are to be rubbed together and made into pills, 2 ractus in weight each. This medicine enrays cough and head diseases. Kasa sanhara bhairava rasa. 1 tola each of mercury, sulfur, copper, mica, conch shell, borax, iron, maricha, kusta, talisha, jatifala, and lavanga are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana with 1 tola, in weight, of the juice of the leaves of each of the following, in succession: mandukaparni, kesharaja, nirgundi, kakamachi, dronapuspi, shalaparni, grisma sundara, parji, haritaki, and basaka. Pills are then to be made, 5 ractus in weight each, to be taken with a few drops of honey in the decoction of the following: basaka, shunthi, and kantakari. This medicine cures cough, asthma, and aversion to food. It increases strength, beauty, and power of digestion. Cough. Pitaka santaka rasa. Equal quantities of copper, mica, and lodestone are to be rubbed together for 1 day with the juice of the bark of kasamarta and amla batasa, and made into pills, 12 ractus in weight each. This medicine cures, in 3 days, cough due to an excess of pittam only. It also cures asthma, dullness of the digesting heat, and consumption. Amrityakara rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, iron, borax, rasna, biranga, triphala, divadara, chitraka roots, garachi, padma wood, honey, and aconite are to be rubbed together with water and made into pills, 2 ractus in weight each. This medicine cures cough due to an excess of vayu. Mahakaleshwara rasa. 1 part each of iron, tin, copper, mica, mercury, sulfur, copper pyrites, cinnabar, aconite, jatifala, lavanga, guratwak, ela, nagakashara, seeds of dutura, and croton seeds, and 3 parts of maricha are to be rubbed together in a mortar by means of an iron rod. The compound is then to be subjected to bhavana for 21 times with the juice of the leaves of banga and made into pills, 1 rakti in weight each, to be taken with honey and juice of ginger. This medicine cures 5 kinds of cough, consumption, asthma, sanapatika fever, loss of consciousness, and throat diseases. Kalapriya rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, iron, aconite, biranga, nagakashara, musta, ela, roots of pipali, renuka, trikatu, triphala, chitraka roots, purified croton seeds, and double their quantity of molasses are to be rubbed together and taken in the morning in a dose equal in size to a croton seed. This medicine cures cough, asthma, consumption, gulma, prameha, chronic fever, indigestion, chronic diarrhea, colic, anemia, pain in the heart, diseases due to the abnormal excess of vayu, diseases affecting the neck, aversion to food, diarrhea, and ailments following closely upon childbirth. Pashupata rasa. 1 tola each of mercury, sulfur, mica, iron, copper, orpiment, aconite, realger, the 3 kasaras, seeds of dustura, and maricha are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana with 1 tola of the juice of each of the following: Jayanti, Chitraka, Mana, Gantakarna, Manduki, Banga, Bringa, Raja, Kasharaja, Ginger, and Nirgundi. Pills are then to be made, 2 ractus in weight each. This medicine cures 5 different kinds of cough, asthma, diseases due to an abnormal excess of kapha and vayu, anaha, constipation, slowness of the digesting heat, aversion to food, swelling due to anemia, diseases affecting the belly, anemia and jaundice. It is nutritive and cures senile decay. Diet should be fish, jangala meat, and those items of food stuff which are sweet, nutritive and prepared with clarified butter. It should on no account be acrid in taste. Bagadara rasa, 1 part of mercury, 2 parts of sulfur, 3 parts of pipali, 4 parts of haritaki, 5 parts of bibitaki, 6 parts of basaka, and 7 parts of barji are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana for 21 times with the decoction of the bark of babula. The compound is then to be rubbed with honey and made into pills, 1 tola in weight each, to be taken with a few drops of honey and a little of powdered pipali in the morning once a day. Decoction of kantakari is to be drunk after taking the medicine. This medicine cures asthma and cough. Shringarabhra rasa, 8 tolas of incinerated mica, 1/4 tola each of camphor, jatikosa balaka gajak pipali tejapatra lavanga, jatamanshi talishpatra, guratwak, pollens of nagakeshara flower, dataki flower, 1/8 tola each of haritaki, amalaki, bibitaki and trikatu, 1/2 tola each of ela, jatifala and sulfur, and 1/4 of a tola of mercury are to be mixed in the usual way, rubbed together with water, and made into pills of the size, each, of a fully developed and boiled chanaka gram. 4 such pills are to be taken together every morning with a little of ginger and betel leaf, and a little of water is to be drunk there, after. This medicine cures the following: basmakagni, fever, diseases affecting the belly, consumption, cough, asthma, swelling of the body due to anemia, eye diseases, spermatorrhea, obesity, vomiting, colic, amlapita, thirst, gulma, anemia, hemoptosis, diseases due to toxin and poison, pinyasa chronic, catarrh, enlargement of spleen, etc. It is nutritive, strengthening, and aphrodisiac. Pot herbs and sours are to be given up for some time after commencement of taking this medicine, but no such restrictions in diet are to be followed afterwards. Sarvabhauma rasa. If gold or iron is mixed with Shringarabhra, it is called Sarvabhauma rasa. Brihat Shringarabhra rasa, 1 tola each of mercury, sulfur, borax, nagakeshara, camphor, jatikosha, lavanga, tejapatra and gold, 4 tolas of incinerated mercury, 2 tolas each of talishapatra, musta, kustam, jatamansi, guratwak, dataki flower, ela, trikatu, trifala and gaja pipali are to be rubbed together with the decoction of pipali and made into pills, 12 ractus in weight each, to be taken in the morning with honey and gurawak. This medicine cures slowness of the digesting heat, aversion to food, anemia, jaundice, udararogas, swelling of the body due to anemia, anaha, fever, grahani, asthma, cough, consumption, etc. It increases strength, beauty and power of digestion. Prolonged use of this medicine makes a man free from all diseases. Damara Nanda Brahm. 4 tolas of mica, incinerated with the juice or decoction of a malaki, are to be rubbed with 4 tolas of the juice of each of the following, in succession: kantakari, roots of basaka, shalaparni, roots of bilva, shionaka, patali, prishniparni, parji, ginger, roots of chitraka, roots of pipali, gokshura, chabya, apamaraga, and banari. Dose, 1/2 rakti a day. This medicine cures all sorts of cough, diseases affecting the voice, hemorrhage from the lungs, hiccough, fever, asthma, and almost all the other diseases. Vijaya Bhairava rasa, 1 part each of mercury, sulfur, iron, aconite, mica, orpiment, biranga, renuka, mustala, roots of pipali, nagakeshara, trikatu, trifala, roots of chitraka, purified croton. Cough, seeds, and 32 parts of molasses are to be rubbed together and made into pills, 6 ractus in weight each, to be taken in the morning with a few drops of honey. This medicine cures cough, asthma, consumption, gulma, spermatorrhea, chronic fever, indigestion, chronic diarrhea, anemia, pain in the heart and in the abdomen due to a derangement of the wind, all the diseases due to an abnormal excess of vaya and weakening the nervous system, and galagraha. Lakshmi Binoda rasa, 2 tolas of calamine, and 4 tolas each of mercury, orpiment, tin, copper, mica, lodestone, and bell metal, are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana for 3 times. With the juice of kasharaja, and for several times with the juice of kulatha grams. With this compound is to be mixed 1 tola each of the following: ela, jatifala, tejapatra, lavanga, jamani, jira, trikatu, trifala, tagarapadika, guratwak, and banshalochana. The whole thing is then to be again subjected to bhavana with the juices of kasharaja and kulatha. Pills are then to be made, 2 ractus in weight each, to be taken with cold water. This medicine cures cough with spitting of blood and ulcers in the lungs, asthma, fever, jaundice, anemia, swelling due to anemia, colic, spermatorrhea, piles, thirst, and aversion to food. This medicine increases strength and beauty. Diet, fish, meat, or milk. The following are to be avoided for some time after commencement of the medicine: pot herbs, sours, fried articles, and exposure to heat of fire. Nirjara Rasa, 1 part each of mercury, sulfur, iron, aconite, gurutwak, copper, tin and mica, and 2 parts each of Bhadramusta, Trikatu, Biranga, Naga, Kashara, Renuka, Amalaka and roots of Pipali, are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana with the juice or decoction of Gajapipali. Pills are then to be made, 2 raktis in weight, each. This medicine cures cough, asthma, piles, fistula, pain in the heart and the sides, diseases affecting the ear, kapalika, chronic diarrhea, udararoga, spermatorrhea, and stone disease. No restriction is to be observed in regard of diet, etc. Lavang di Lauham, 1 part each of lavanga, katfala, kusta, jamani, trikatu, roots of chitraka, roots of pipali, bark of roots of basaka, kantakari, chavya, karkata, shringi, chaturjata, haritaki, shathi, kakola, musta, iron, mica, and javakshara, and 19 parts of sugar are to be mixed together and kept in a pot smeared with clarified butter. This medicine cures all sorts of cough due to vayu and kapha, hemiptosis, cough due to consumption, and asthma. It increases nutrition, strength, beauty, and power of digestion. Basanta tilaka rasa, 1 tola of gold, 2 tolas of mica, 3 tolas of iron, 4 tolas of mercury incinerated, 2 tolas of tin, 2 tolas of pearls, and 2 tolas of corals are to be rubbed together with the juices of gokshura, basaka, and ikshu. The compound is then to be dried, put inside 2 earthen basins, and heated by the 3rd kind of baluka jantram for 21 hours. When cooled, the compound is to be taken out and rubbed with musk and camphor. This medicine cures cough, asthma, an abnormal excess of 1 or more of the 3 doses, anemia, consumption, heart disease and fever. This is nutritive and destroyer of senile decay. Those who are unable to incinerate meruri may, in its place, make use of rasa sindaram which, to some intent, serves the purpose of the former.
Tuju pulu tuju. Chatustaya rasa.
Equal quantities of copper, steel, iron and mica are to be rubbed together with the juices or decoctions of leaves of basaka, kasamarda, triphala, and amla betasa, and made into pills, 1 rakti in weight, each. This medicine cures cough. Pistatara rasa. 2 parts of silver, rubbed with an equal quantity of realgar, and mixed with 1 part of orpiment are to be rubbed together for 6 hours with the juice of leaves of basaka and decoction of gokshura. The compound is then to be dried, put inside a crucible, the mouth of which is to be duly closed. The crucible is then to be heated by means of the baluka jantram. When cooled, the medicine is to be taken out and made into pills, 2 raktis in weight each, to be taken with a few drops of honey and a little of powdered trikatu and roots of nirgandhi. Ratnakarandaka rasa, 6 raktis in weight each, of the essence of earthworms, essence of mica, lodestone, gold, copper, silver, pearls, gems, copper pyrites, and Vikranta are to be rubbed together with 1/4 of a tola of lapis lazuli, and with the juice of amla betasa. The compound is then to be confined in a crucible, and burnt in a kosti yantram by means of a bellows for 12 hours. This act of rubbing with amla hedasa, and heating by means of a bellows, is to be performed for 100 times. The product is then to be powdered and mixed with half a tola of incinerated pearls and 1 1/4 tola of maricha, to be taken with a little of honey and clarified butter. This medicine cures asthma, fever, grabani, cough, hiccough, colic, waste, mahodara, and leprosy. This is nutritive and increaser of power of digestion. Bhutan kusha rasa, 1 part of mercury, 1 part of sulfur, 3 parts of copper, 5 parts of maricha, 4 parts of mica, 1 part of aconite, and 1 part of Bhutan kusha are to be rubbed together with some sour vegetable juice for 3 hours. Pills are then to be made, 6 raktis in weight each, to be taken with honey and powdered bibitaki. This medicine cures cough due to an abnormal excess of vayu only. Bolabada rasa, 1 part each of incinerated mercury and aconite, 2 parts of sulfur, and 1 part each of bola, orpiment, saffron, devadali, copper pyrites, haridra, kantakari, javakshara, alkali prepared from langali, rock salt and manatuka sarara to be rubbed together for 7 days with the juice of ginger, and made into pills, 6 raktis in weight each. This medicine cures cough due to abnormal excess of phlegm. Agni rasa, 1 part of mercury, 2 parts of sulfur, 3 parts of pipali, 4 parts of haritaki, 5 parts of bibitaki, and 6 parts of roots of basaka are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana for 21 times with the decoction of the bark of babula. Dose, 1/4 of a tola to be taken with a few drops of honey. This medicine cures cough. Swayamani rasa, 1 part each of trikatu, triphala, ella, jatifhala, lavanga and 5 parts of agni rasa are to be mixed together and taken every morning in doses of half a tola a day with honey. Surya rasa, equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, copper, mica, pipali, shunthi, maricha, katranam and aconite are to be mixed together. This medicine cures cough, etc. Deeds and diet salutary in cough, fomentation, purgation, vomiting, smoking herbal preparations specially prescribed, snuff, spitting, taking of pungents, bitters and astringents, eating in moderate quantities, shali rice, sastika rice, wheat, rice prepared from the seeds of shyama and kodrava grass, barley, banari seeds, soup of masa, muga, and kulatha grams, meat juice, liquor, clarified butter of long standing, goat's milk, clarified butter prepared from goat's milk, bastuka, leaves of kakamachi, brinjals, green radish, kantakari, kasamarda, jivanti, sunisana, grapes, bimbi, matulunga fruit, roots of lotus, basaka leaves, small ela, cow's urine, garlic, strikatu, warm water and honey. Deeds and diet injurious in cough, application of douche, snuff, letting out of blood, physical exercise, cleaning of the teeth by rubbing, exposure to the sun's rays, impure air, dust, walking. Articles of food, stuff not easily digestible, those which are termed beta high, and all sorts of coarse food, not softened with butter or clarified butter. Suppression of calls of nature and of belching, yawning, coughing and vomiting, fish, tubers in general, mustard seeds, gourds, apotheca, impure food, water, and other drinks, articles of foodstuff incongenial by combination, and those which are heavy and cold. Asthma and hiccough, causes and symptoms. Eating of articles of food, stuff of the following description: those which are called beta high, those which are not easily digested, those which cause flatulence and inactivity of the stomach, those which are coarse and devoid of animal fat, and those which increase phlegm, eating and drinking in excess of cold substance, dwelling in cold places, inhaling of dust and smoke, exposure to drafts of wind, physical exercise, lifting or carrying of heavy material, suppression of calls of nature, and actions tending to irritate the body such as fasting. Wind arising out of the stomach, and already much vitiated by phlegm and pittum, and sometimes obstructed in its upward movement by accumulated phlegm, comes to a stand, still, and is confined in the lungs. This wind vitiates those passages which carry food and fluids, and tries to move in wrong directions, giving rise to difficulty in breathing or asthma. Treatment of cough and asthma. Some simple remedies. Any medicine, food or drink having the property of destroying phlegm, wind, and producing heat when digested, is salutary in hiccough and asthma. The belly and chest of a patient suffering from hiccough and asthma should first of all be rubbed with oil, and then fomented with a substance having the property of pacifying vayu, and mixed with salt and some kind of oil or fat and mildly heated. He may also be required to purge and vomit, if he is sufficiently strong, otherwise he is to take internal medicines only, for the cure of his ailments. Hiccough may be stopped by licking with honey any one of the following 6, the kernel contained inside the stone of a jujube fruit, mixed with sovira anjanam and fried patty, devoid of husks, katuki and red ochre, pipali, amalaki, sugar and shunti, kernel of a kapitha fruit and kasisa, flower and fruit of patali and pipali, and the soft pulp at the head of a date tree. Any one of the following 3, taken as a snuff, cures hiccough: powdered jastimadu mixed with honey, powdered pipali mixed with sugar, and powdered shunti mixed with molasses. Hiccough is cured by taking the juice of bijapura mixed with honey and savarchala, or goat's milk boiled with an equal quantity of water and 1/8 its weight of shunti. The boiling being stopped after the combined liquid is reduced to half its quantity. Hiccough and cough are stopped by the repeated taking of the powders, taken in equal quantities, of pipali, amlaki and shunti, mixed with honey and sugar. Hiccough and asthma are cured by taking an equal quantity of the bark of barji and shunti, mixed with hot water, or an equal quantity of shunti, sugar, barji and savarchala. Hiccough may be stopped by any one of the follow: inga, temporary suppression of respiration, threatening the patient, causing his surprise, sprinkling of cold water on him, using pleasing words to him, or wounding his feeling. Hiccough is stopped by taking the juice of the leaves of kasamarda, or by taking them, prepared as a pot herb. The licking of the following may put a stop to hiccough: equal quantities of incinerated corals incinerated, conch shells, trifala, pipali and powdered red ochre, mixed with clarified butter and honey. Equal quantities of coconut flour and white sandal, pestled together with water and kept inside the mouth, puts a stop to hiccough, however violent. Licking of honey puts a stop to hiccough. Hiccough, however obstinate, is put a stop to by the repeated licking, at small intervals, of sugar and powdered maricha mixed with honey. Hiccough and asthma, however violent, may be stopped by licking peacock's feather, reduced to ashes by being heated confined in 2 earthen basins, mixed with powdered pipali and honey. Hiccough stopped by the drinking of the juice of the tuber of banana mixed with sugar. Hiccough and asthma are stopped quickly by licking 1 tola of powdered bibataki mixed with honey. Hiccough and cough are cured by drinking with hot water haritaki and shunti, or tuber of lotus, javakshara, and powdered maricha. Molasses preferably of more than 1 year standing, mixed with mustard oil taken every day for 3 weeks, cures asthma radically. Cough and asthma are cured by taking in doses of 1/4 of a tola a day powdered roots of kusmanda mixed with hot water. Asthma is cured in a week by licking every night just before going to bed, powdered pipali and rock salt mixed with ginger juice. Sulfur mixed with powdered maricha puts an end to asthma, cough, and waste if taken with clarified butter. Powdered ela mixed with sugar puts a stop to hiccough, however malignant. Smoking in hiccough and asthma. Smoking of any one of the following may pacify hiccough: realger, cow's horn, kustam, resin, and kusha. Grass. Hiccough is pacified by inhaling the smoke of hingu and powdered masa gram, thrown upon smokeless charcoal. Fire. Hiccough is pacified by inhaling the smoke of masa grams only. Asthma is cured by inhaling the smoke of the fruits, branches, and leaves of black datura, previously cut into pieces and dried. Iatro-chemical treatment of hiccough and asthma. Birendra rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, iron, aconite, mica, biranga, renuka, musta, ila, roots of pipali, negakeshara, trikatu, triphala, copper. Croton seeds and roots of chitraka are to be rubbed with molasses. This medicine cures cough, asthma, excessive phlegm, gulma, spermatoria, chronic fever, chronic diarrhea in a woman after childbirth, colic, anemia, and sensation of heat in the palms of the hands and feet. Chanchalati laham. 1 part each of pipali, amalaki, grapes, kernel of the stone of jujube fruits, justimadu, sugar, biranga, and puskara mulam are to be rubbed with 8 parts of iron and made into pills, 6 ractus each. This medicine cures, in 3 dias, hiccough, vomiting, and asthma. Shwasari lauhum. 2 tolas of iron, half a tola of mica, 2 tolas of sugar, 2 tolas of honey, and half a tola, each, of triphala, justimadu, grapes, pipali, kernel of the stone of jujube fruits, banshalochana, talishapatra. Biranga, ela, roots of lotus or of puskara, and nagakeshara, are to be rubbed together in an iron mortar by means of an iron rod for 6 hours. To be taken with honey. This medicine cures asthma, cough, and hemoptysis. Shwasa kuthara rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, aconite, borax, realger, maricha, and trikatu are to be rubbed together and made into pills. This medicine cures cough, asthma, and hoarseness of voice due to vaya and kapha. Mahashwasa kuthara rasa. 1 part each of mercury, sulfur, aconite, borax, and realger, 8 parts of maricha, and 3 parts, each, of pipali and shunthi are to be rubbed together and made into pills, to be taken with the juice of betel leaves and ginger. This medicine cures asthma, cough, catarrh, weakness due to ulcers, waste, heart disease, pain in the sides, hoarseness of sound, abnormal excess of vayu, pittam, and kapha, drowsiness, spermatoria, and all sorts of headache. In case the patient is in a state of unconsciousness, this medicine is to be used as a snuff to restore his consciousness. Shwasa, Bhairava rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, aconite, trikatu, maricha, chavya, and chitraka roots are to be rubbed with ginger juice and made into pills, 2 ractus in weight, each to be taken with water. This medicine cures asthma, cough, and hoarseness of voice. Suryavarta rasa. 1 part each of mercury and sulfur are to be rubbed together for 3 hours with the juice of kanya and made into a paste, with which are to be mixed 2 parts of copper wire. The substance is then to be put into a putam and heated in a baluka jantram for 1 day. Dose, 2 ractus a day. This medicine cures asthma and cough. Shwasa chintamani rasa. 2 tolas of iron, 1 tola of sulfur, 1 tola of mica, half a tola each of mercury and copper pyrites, and 1/4 tola each of pearls and gold are to be rubbed together with the juices of kantakari, ginger, goat's milk, and jastimadu, and made into pills, 4 ractus in weight each, to be taken with powdered bibitaki. This medicine cures asthma, cough, and consumption. Shwasantaka rasa. 16 parts each of mercury and copper, 8 parts each of sulfur and rock salt, and 6 parts of powdered pipali are to be rubbed with lime juice. The compound is then to be dried, put into a putam, and heated by lakupan tam. This medicine cures cough, asthma, gulma, colic, indira roga, and anemia. Shiva Sahara rasa. 4 tolas each of mercury and sulfur, 12 tolas of trikatu, and 4 tolas of tin are to be rubbed together for 3 days, and again for 3 days with cow's urine. Pills are then to be made, 6 ractus in weight, each to be dried in a shady place. 1 of such pills is to be taken every day for 30 days. This medicine cures asthma, cough, fever, slowness of the digesting heat, and aversion to food. Tamarasa. Mercury, rubbed with incinerated copper and sulfur, pacifies hiccough.
Saptamrita rasa.
1 part of mercury, 2 parts of sulfur, 3 parts of pipali, 4 parts of haritaki, 5 parts of bibitaki, 6 parts of basaka, and 7 parts of barji are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana for 21 times with the decoction of babula. The compound is then to be rubbed with honey and made into pills, 1 tola in weight each, to be taken in the morning, only 1 pill a day. This medicine cures asthena and cough. Nilakantha rasa. 1 part each of mercury, copper, iron, sulfur, aconite, trikatu, triphala, trigataka, renuka, musta, gandhira, nagakeshara, and roots of chitraka, and 26 parts of molasses are to be mixed together and made into pills, 6 ractus in weight, each to be taken early in the morning. This medicine cures all sorts of disease, rubbed together with the juices of basaka, tulasi and ginger, and made into a lump which is to be dried, confined in a crucible which is to be coated all over with mud and dried. This crucible is to be heated by Buddharajantram for 6 hours. When cooled, the product is to be taken out, powdered, mixed with an equal quantity of sulfur, and subjected to bhavana with the juices of basaka and trikatu. Dose, 3 ractus a day. This medicine cures asthma and cough. Hikanashana rasa, 1 part of mercury, 2 parts of sulfur, 3 parts of mica, 4 parts of orpiment, 5 parts of sea copper pyrites, 6 parts of opal, and 1 part each of bacha, kustum, haridra, javakshara, roots of chitraka, patha, langali, trikatu, sandava, bibitaki, and aconite are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana with the juice of bringaraja. This medicine cures hiccough, and hoarseness of voice and cough. Shilaputa rasa. Take 1 part of powdered patha and the same quantity of powdered indra baruni and mix them together. Take 4 parts of purified manas, shila, and 8 parts of purified mercury. Put in an earthen vessel the mixed powders of patha and indra baruni, upon which is to be put a little of the realger. Upon the latter put the whole of the mercury referred to above. Upon this mercury, put the remaining quantity of the realger. Cover the vessel with an earthen pot and close the joint by mud and rags as usual. Then place the vessel NP on mild heat for 24 hours. This medicine cures asthma. Dose 3 ractus a day. Manthana Bhairava rasa. Equal quantities of incinerated mercury, copper, hingu, puskara mulam, rock salt, sulfur, peppermint, and maricha are to be rubbed steadily 1 day each, with the juice of the following in succession: Devadali, Punarnaba, Nirgundi, Meghanada, and bitter koshataki. Dose 6 ractus a day to be taken with honey.
Parpati rasa.
1 part of mercury and 2 parts of sulfur are to be rubbed together with the juice of bringaraja and made into a parpati in the same way as rasa parpati. In preparing this parpati, the ladle to be used may be made of copper as well as of iron. Mix with this parpati 1/4 its weight of aconite, for use in those cases only where aconite is considered salutary. The medicine is then to be subjected to bhavana for 1 time each, with the juice or decoction of surasa, jayanti, kanya, basaka, triphala, baka, barji, mundiri, trikato, roots of chitraka, bringaraja, and balataka, and for 7 times with the juice of ginger. The parpati is then to be heated a little by means of a charcoal fire. Dose, half a rakti each, to be taken with a piece of betel leaf and 10 in number of pipali. Decoction of nirgandi being drunk after taking the medicine. This medicine may always be applied in hoarseness, cough, and asthma. Goat's milk, mixed with an equal quantity of water, is to be boiled with the roots of gokshura and shunthi, and reduced to half of the original quantity of the milk. This boiled milk is to be cooled, mixed with a little of powdered pipali, and drunk at night. Powdered pipali should also be mixed with food taken at other times. The following are to be avoided while taking the medicine: kusmanda, chincha, brintaka, karkati, adaranala, oil, and sexual intercourse. This medicine cures grahani, if taken with honey, hinga, jira, and trikatu. It cures fever due to vaya, if taken with the decoction of dashamala, and an excess of kapha, if taken with honey and trikatu. It cures fever in general, if taken with honey and the essence of the flowers of maduka and panchakola pipali, roots of pipali, chavya, roots of chitraka, and shunthi. Taken in equal quantities, it cures phthisis, if taken with honey and a little of pipalai, and lumps of flesh grown in the rectum due to piles, if taken with cow's urine. It cures colic if taken with castor oil, anemia and swelling due to anemia, if taken with honey and gugulu. It cures leprosy if taken with bringaraja, balataka, bakuchi, and 5 different parts of nimba. This medicine cures spermatorrhea and insanity, if taken with honey and the seeds of datura. It cures epilepsy, if taken with honey, trikatu, and leaves of nimba. It cures many other serious diseases, if taken with honey, harataki, and bibitaki. In indigestion due to an excess of pittam, this medicine should be taken with jatifala and cold water, the head of the patient being wetted with cold water. All sorts of parpati are especially efficacious to infants fed on milk only, but a parpati, mixed with aconite or any other poison, should on no account be given to an infant. Panchabhaktra rasa, 1 tola of purified sulfur mixed with clarified butter, and hot water cures an excess of phlegm. Panchabhaktra rasa rubbed with honey may also be used for the same purpose. Diet and action salutary and hiccough. Fomentation, vomiting, snuff, smoking, purgation, sleeping, food mixed with clarified butter or any other animal fat, mild salt, kalathograms, wheat, shali rice, sasti rice, and barley of 1 to 3 years standing, meat of ina, titiri, laba, and other wild birds and animals, ripe kapita, garlic, patola, tender radish, roots of lotus, leaves of black tulsi, wine, lemons, hot water, citrus, honey, cow's urine, all sorts of food and drink having the property of pacifying vayu and kapha, Bath in cold water, sudden fear and surprise, anger, amusement, anxiety for those who are dear, pranayama. Smell of earth burnt and soaked with water, pouring of water in showers upon those parts of the body known by the name of kircha, rubbing the upper part of the navel, burning the skin, by means of a piece of turmeric burnt by the wicker of an earthen lamp lit with vegetable oil, at 2 angles above the feet and a little above the navel. Diet and actions injurious in hiccough, suppression of calls of nature in respect of wind, urination, belching, coughing and passing of stools, exposure to dust, draughts of air, and rays of the sun, actions causing exertion, articles of food, stuff incongenial by combination, food which is not easily digested and is kept in the stomach, unchanged for a long time, food known as beta high, food which is coarse and not mixed with clarified butter, food which increases phlegm, all sorts of beans, pistaka, mashagram, pestled seeds of mustard or sesamum, meat of animals called anups, ram's milk, cleansing the teeth by means of brush application. Of douche, fish, mustard seeds, sours, alabu, tubers, food fried with oil, upodika, and food and drinks difficult to be digested. Diet and actions salutary in asthma. Purgation, fomentation, smoking, vomiting, sleeping in daytime, rice of sastika and shalipati, kulathagram barley, wheat of 1 to 2 years standing, meat of hare, peacock, titiri, laba, cock, shuka and other wild animals and birds, clarified butter of many years standing, goat's milk, clarified butter prepared from the same. Wine, honey, kantakari, bastuka, tandulia, jivanti, mulaka, upodika, patola, bartaku, garlic, haritaki, lime juice, bimbi, matalunga, ila. Roots of lotus, hot water, trikatu, cow's urine, and all sorts of food, drinks, and medicines having the property of pacifying vayu and kapha. Food and actions infurious in asthma. Suppression of urine, belching, vomiting, thirst and cough, use of snuff, douche, toothbrush, physical exertion, walking, carrying loads, inhaling of dust, exposure to the rays of the sun, food which lies in the stomach undigested for a long time, sexual intercourse, beta high food, meat of animals called anupa, food fried with oil, beans of all kinds, food and actions tending to increase phlegm, inasa, grams, bloodshed, wind blowing towards the east, drinking water after completion of meals, ram's milk and butter, and clarified butter prepared from the same. Impure water, fish, tubers, mustard seeds, food and drinks which are coarse and not seasoned with butter or clarified butter, and cold food and drinks. Fish is not coarse. It should not therefore be seasoned with butter or clarified butter which make it unfit for eating. It may however be prepared with a little of vegetable oil. Hoarseness, its causes, it is due to the sound-carrying passages being choked with the abnormal excess of vaya, etc. owing to any one or some of these cancers, speaking loudly, taking of poison, reading loudly and physical shock received at the throat. Hoarseness is of 6 different kinds, according as it may be due to vaya, pittam kapha, a combination of the 3, excess of fat and consumption. Treatment of hoarseness. Pestled leaves of badari, mixed with rock salt and fried with clarified butter, is to be licked in cough and hoarseness. Hoarseness due to consumption should be treated by medicines applicable in the latter. Mrigana biadi abaleha. Equal quantities of musk, small ila, lavanga and bansha lokana are to be mixed together and taken with a little of clarified butter and honey. It cures hoarseness and stoppage of voice. Bhairava rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, aconite, borax, maricha, chavya, and roots of chitraka are to be rubbed together with the juice of ginger and made into pills, 3 raktis in weight each to be taken with water. This medicine cures hoarseness, asthma, and cough. Diet and actions salutary in hoarseness. Fomentation, application of douche, smoking as in asthma, purgation, keeping constantly in mouth of such drugs as hingu, bacha, pipali, and kadira, all mixed with clarified butter, snuffs, letting out of blood in the forehead, taking of such foods as barley, red shali rice, soup prepared from the meat of ganders, ducks, wild cocks, peacocks, wine, such pot herbs as gokshura, kakamachi, jivanti, green reddish grapes, haritaki, matalunga, garlics, rock salt with ginger, betel leaves, maricha, and clarified butter. Articles of food stuff and deeds injurious in hoarseness. Unripe kapitha, bacula fruit, tuber of water lily, jambu fruit, tinduka fruit, astringents, vomiting, sleeping, speaking in excess, and drinking of water after completion of meals. Heart diseases, diseases affecting the heart. These are due to eating or drinking in excess of articles which are very hot, or heavy or bitter, or astringent in taste, hard labor. Physical shock, especially received in the region of the heart, taking a fresh meal before the preceding one is digested, worries and mental strain, and suppression of calls of nature. These diseases may be due to any one of the following causes and are therefore of 5 different kinds. A. Abnormal excess of vaya, ditto of pittam, ditto of kapha, ditto of the 3 combined, and worms. In all of these diseases, the chyle is vitiated by any one or all of the 3 doses, and give rise to troubles in the heart. Symptoms of heart disease due to vayu. The heart appears occasionally or constantly to be dragged along or hammered, or churned, or cut asunder, or pricked, or torn asunder as it were by some other thing. Symptoms of heart disease due to pittam. thirst, heating sensation, inflammation, sensation of being licked by some other thing and of depression felt in the heart. Appearance of smoke rising out of the throat, occasional loss of consciousness, perspiration, and dryness of the month. Symptoms of heart disease due to phlegm. Heaviness of the heart, expectoration of phlegm, aversion to food, physical numbness, dullness of the digesting heat, and taste of sweetness felt in the mouth. Symptoms of heart diseases due to the combination of the 3 doses or the combination of all the symptoms enumerated above. Causes and symptoms of heart disease due to worms. If a patient who is already suffering from heart disease, DNE, to an abnormal excess of the 3 doses, takes such unwholesome food as sesamum seeds, milk mixed with molasses, etc. Heart diseases, a kind of knot or tumor grows somewhere in his heart, which lets out putrefied chyle in which grow worms. Vomiting, spitting, pricking sensation, pain, hiccough, occasional feeling of darkness even in daylight, aversion to food, blackish red color of the eyes, and swelling of some parts of the body are the symptoms of this disease. General symptoms of heart diseases: disagreeable sensation in that part of the body where thirst is felt, i.e. in the region between the spleen and the liver. Vertigo and dryness of the mouth. Symptoms which occur in worms due to phlegm may also occur in heart diseases due to worms. Treatment of heart disease. Some simple remedies for heart disease. Powdered bark of Arjuna, taken with an adequate quantity of clarified butter, or milk, or water dissolved with molasses, cures heart disease, remittent fever, and Raktapita. If taken for a long time, it increases longevity. Deer's horn, reduced to ashes by being burnt by putum, taken with clarified butter prepared from cow's milk, puts an end to pain in the heart and the back. In heart diseases due to an abnormal excess of pitum, it is necessary to purge the patient and apply on his breast cold unguents and to wet his body repeatedly with such juices, solutions or decoctions as have the property of pacifying pitum. Decoction, prepared from boiling, in milk, bark of Arjuna and panchamuli or bala, or madhuka, and mixed with sugar, pacifies heart diseases. Decoction of barley, mixed with hingu bacha, bira salt, shunthi pipali kustam, haritaki, chitraka roots, javaksara, savarchala salt or saltpetre, and puskara roots, cures shulam and heart diseases. Iatro, chemical treatment of heart disease. Partha rasa, equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, and mica are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana for tea 21 times, with the juice or decoction of the bark of Arjuna. This medicine cures all sorts of heart diseases, if taken with honey, in doses of 6 raktas each. Arjuna Brahm. Mica, incinerated by Putam for 1,000 times, is to be rubbed for 7 days with the juice or decoction of bark of Arjuna, and made into pills to be dried in a shady place, and taken with a few drops of honey. This medicine cures heart diseases, all sorts of shulam, piles, hiccough, vomiting, aversion to food, diarrhea, slowness of the digesting heat, raktapitam, waste due to ulcers, swelling due to anemia, udara rogas, amlapitam, and chronic fever. It increases strength and removes senile decay. Kalyana Sundara Rasa. Equal quantities of rasa, sindaram, mica, silver, gold, and cinnabar are to be rubbed together with the decoction of the roots of chitraka, and then subjected to bhavana with the juice of hasti shundi for 7 times and made into pills, 1 rakti in weight each, to be taken with a little of tepid water. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases affecting the heart and the lungs, including accumulation of water in the pleura, rheumatism in the heart and lungs, and hemorrhage from them. Chintahara rasa. 4 parts each of mercury, sulfur, mica, iron, tin, and bitumen, 1 part of gold, and 2 parts of silver are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana for 7 times each with the juices or decoction of the following, in succession: roots of chitraka, bringaraja, and bark of Arjuna. Pills are then to be made, 1 rakti in weight each, to be dried in the shade and taken with the decoction of wheat. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases affecting the heart and the lungs, spermatoria, asthma, and cough. This is a good tonic. Bishwadhara rasa. 1 tola each of gold, mica, iron, tin, mercury, sulfur, and vikra anta are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana with a solution of camphor and made into pills, 1 rakti in weight each. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases affecting the heart and the lungs. Hridayarnava rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, copper, and sulfur are to be rubbed for 1 day with the decoction of triphala, and then rubbed with the juice of kakamachi and made into pills of the size of a chanaka gram. This medicine cures heart diseases. Birupaksa rasa. Equal quantities of mercury and sulfur are to be rubbed together to form a black powder. This is then to be rubbed for 1 day each with the juice or decoction of amalaki, grapes, justimadu, and dates. Dose: 1 rakti each, to be taken with sugar and powdered amalaki. Prabhakarabhati. Equal quantities of copper pyrites, iron, mica, panchalokanam, and bitumen are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana with the juice or decoction of the bark of Arjuna. Pills are then to be made, 6 raktas in weight each, to be dried in the shade. This medicine cures all sorts of heart diseases. Shankara rasa. 4 parts of mercury, 8 parts of sulfur, 3 parts of iron, and 2 parts of lead are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana, with the juice or decoction of each of the following, in succession. Kakamachi, roots of chitraka, ginger, jayanti, basaka, bilva, and arjuna. Pills are then to be made, 2 rectus in weight, each to be taken with tepid water. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases affecting the heart and the lungs, remittent fever, spermatoria, cough, asthma, rheumatism, and grahani. It is a good tonic. Deeds and diet salutary in heart disease: fomentation, purgation, vomiting, fasting, application of douche, bilepi, red shali rice of 1 to 3 years standing, meat and soup of birds and animals termed jangala, juice of muga and kulatha grams, raga saraba, khala saraba, kambalika saraba, bahubara fruit patola, banana, old kusmanda, mango, pomegranates, leaves of aragbada, green carrots or radishes, castor oil, rainwater, rock salt, grapes, buttermilk, old molasses, shunthi, jamani, garlics, haritaki, kusta, danya, maricha, ginger, sovira, shuktam, honey, baruni, musk, red sandal, panaka, and betel leaves. Articles of foodstuff and deeds injurious in heart diseases: suppression of calls of nature in respect of thirst, vomiting, discharge of urine, wind formed in the stomach, semen, cough, belching, respiration, stool, and tears, drinking of water of rivers issuing out of the Saya and the Vindhyas mountains, milk of rams, impure water, taking of astringents, food incongenial by combination, hot food, heavy food, bitters, sours, constant taking of potherbs, alkali, maduka fruits, cleansing of teeth by means of sticks, and letting out of blood, urograha, or enlargement of the region between the spleen and the liver. Causes and symptoms of urograha: the flesh and the intestine in the region situate between the spleen and the liver are enlarged owing to the eating of articles of food, stuff in arising an excess of phlegm and dirt, heavy food, and dry or stale meat. This disease is due to abnormal excess of phlegm and wind. It has sometimes the appearance of a bifurcated mass and sometimes that of a tortoise. Symptoms of this disease: weakness, dullness of the digesting heat, emaciation, lust for meat, and blackness or yellowishness of the skin. At advanced stages of this disease, there are fever, aversion to food, thirst and swelling. Treatment of urograha: simple remedy: equal quantities of chavya, amlabetasa, javakshara, hingu, and roots of chitraka taken with oil and aranala cures nograha. Iatro-chemical treatment: such parpatis as bajra, bijaya, mahesha, jibendra, etc., taken with hingu and pestle jira cure urograha.
Triambaka Brahm.
4 tolas of mika, incinerated with the juice of the bark of shobhanjana, are to be subjected to bhabana, with 4 tolas of juice of each of the following, separately and in succession: kantakari, bala, gokshura, kanya, roots of pipali, bringaraja, basaka, leaves of badari, amalaki, haridra, and guruchi. This medicine cures all sorts of hoarseness, cough, asthma, urograha, enlargement of spleen, hiccough, thirst, jaundice, piles, grahani, fever, swelling due to anemia, waste, and tumor. It is a good tonic and it increases power of digestion. Dietary: at the time of taking triambaka bra and such other medicines in urograha, a patient should observe the same dietary as prescribed for heart diseases. At the time of taking parpati, the directions relating to the same should be strictly observed. Amla pitam, or acidity and biliousness. Its causes and symptoms: the pitam or bile is sometimes putrefied by taking of food or drinks incongenial by combination, impure or dirty food, food classed as beta high, and those items of food stuff which naturally increase pitam such as wine and other fermented materials, sours, pungents. The term pitam is generally used to mean animal heat, and that part of the blood which is vitiated by an excess of animal heat and is called bile. Some part of this bile accumulates itself in a bladder in the belly, but much of it remains mixed with the blood, mutton, etc. This putrefaction of the bile gives rise to acidity and biliousness. The following are the indications of amlapitam: indigestion, fatigue, nausea, belching with bitter and sour taste, heaviness of the body, burning sensation in the heart and throat, and aversion to food. Downward amlapitam: this disease is sometimes indicated by the following symptoms: occasional discharge of stool of different kinds combined with thirst, heating sensation, loss of consciousness, giddiness, nausea, bilious patches on the skin called kotha, loss of digesting power, standing of hairs on ends, perspiration and yellowishness of the skin. Upward amlapitam: it is also sometimes indicated by the following symptoms: vomiting, intensely sour in taste, colored gray, yellow, blue, black, reddish, or red, or vomiting of substance as slippery and transparent as water in which raw meat has been kept immersed for some time combined with mucus, and having all sorts of taste. Occasionally the disease is indicated by some of the following symptoms: just after the food is putrefied or even before taking any food, vomiting of sour and bitter taste combined, belching of a similar taste, heating sensation felt in the throat, heart and sides of the belly, pain in the head, heating sensation in the hands and feet, much aversion to food, fever, accumulation of phlegm vitiated with pitam, and all sorts of skin diseases. Treatment of amlitum. A few herbal remedies. At first the patient may drink the juice or decoction of leaves of patola and nimba, mixed with asafoetida, honey and rock salt. The upward amlopidem should be treated first of all by vomiting caused by the janus or decoction of the leaves of patola and nimba, which, in case of excess of phlegm, may be mixed with madana fruit, honey and rock salt. The downward amlopitum may be treated by purgation, caused by powdered roots of tribrid and honey, mixed with the juice or decoction of amalaki. Amlopidem, cough, asthma and vomiting may be cured by the cooled decoction of basaka, guruchi and kantakari mixed with honey. Amlopidem may be pacified by taking powdered pipali mixed with honey. It may also be cured by drinking in the afternoon of the juice of jambira, kusmina clandum, 400 tolas each of the juice of kusmanda and cow's milk. Add 32 tolas of powdered amalaki are to be boiled together by mild heat till the whole thing is condensed. This compound is then to be mixed with 32 tolas of sugar and 2 tolas of aconite. This medicine cures amlopitum. Iatro-chemical treatment of amlopitum. Amlopitlantaka-rasu. 1 part each of incinerated mercury, copper and iron and 3 parts of powdered haritaki are to be mixed together and made into pills, 6 raktas in weight each to be taken with honey. Sarvatopadra, lauha rasa. 4 tolas, each of iron, copper and mica, 1 tola purified mercury, 2 tolas of sulfur, 1 tola of copper pyrites, the same quantity of realgar, 1½ tola of purified shilajatu, 1 tola of purified gugulu and 1/4 tola, each of biranga, balataka, roots of chitraka, roots of white arka, bark of the roots of Hastikarna palasha, talamodi, Punarnava musta, Guruchi nagabala, Chakra marta, Mundiri, Bringa raja, Kesha raja, Shatabari, Brithadara, Trifala and Trikatu are to be rubbed together with clarified butter and honey, and kept in an earthen pot in which clarified butter has already been kept for some time. Dose, 6 raktas a day to commence with, which may gradually be increased to 1/4 of a tola a day. Amlopita. Kushuddha pabathana rasa, 1 tola, each of mercury, sulfur, mica, jamani, trikatu, trifala, shatapuspa, chavya, jira, black jira, punarnava, bhaja, danti, roots of trivrit, gantakarna, dandopala, shyamalata, and anantamala, and 2 tolas of mandura are to be rubbed together with ginger juice and made into pills to be taken with honey every morning. A little of bhaktalari or jali is to be drunk after taking the medicine. This medicine cures amlopitum, enlargement of spleen, colic felt at the time of digestion of food, asthma, intestinal obstruction, rheumatism, and cough. Panchaduna rasa. 4 tolas of pure copper foil or copper wire are to be smeared with 4 tolas of kajali for black powder formed by rubbing together 2 tolas each of sulfur and mercury dissolved with a little of water or juice of betel leaves or of ginger. When dried, the copper is to be put inside a crucible or pudam in such a way as to be completely surrounded with a mixture of the 5 different kinds of salt. The crucible, or pudam as the case may be, is then to be heated by gajapudam. 4 tolas of this copper is then to be powdered finely and mixed with 4 tolas, each, of mercury, sulfur, iron, mica, jamani, shatapuspa, trikatu, trifala, tribrita, chavya, roots of danti, roots of apamarga, jira, and black jira, and 2 tolas, each, of gantakarna, mana, ruis of pipali, roots of chittaka and astisanhara. These are then to be rubbed together with the juice of ginger and made into pills, 6 raktas in weight each. This medicine cures amlopitum, indigestion, colic felt at the time of digestion of food, swelling due to anemia, anaha, enlargement of spleen, gulma and udara, diet, nutritious and heavy food, milk, and soup of meat. Lila bila sharasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, mica, copper and iron are to be rubbed together for 3 days with the juices or decoctions of amalaki and bibitaki, and then with a little of the juice of bringaraja, and made into pills, 6 raktas in weight each to be taken with honey. This medicine cures amlopitum, vomiting, colic and heating sensation in the heart. Diet, milk mixed with the uis of kusmanda, amalaki and snar, lila promota rasa. 1 part each of mercury, sulfur, copper, mica and silver are to be rubbed together for 3 hours and heated by laku putam. A decoction is to be made by boiling 1 part of bibitaki, 2 parts of amalaki, and 3 parts of haritaki with 48 parts of water, reduced to 6 parts by boiling. The compound consisting of mercury etc. is to be subjected to bhabana for 25 times with the decoction prepared, every time in the above-mentioned way. The compound is next to be subjected to bhavana for 25 times with the juice of bringaraja. This medicine cures amlopitum if taken in doses of 5 raktas each with honey. Kushuddha rasa. 4 tolas each of mercury, iron, sulfur, trikatu, trifalabacha, jamani, shatapushpa, chavya, jira, and black jira, and 2 tolas each of gantakarna, punarnava, mana, roots of pipali, indrajava, kasharaja, padma guruchi, dandopala, trivrit, danti, jamatri, red sandal, bringaraja, apamarga, leaves of patola and mandukaparni, are to be rubbed together with the juice of ginger, and made into pills, 6 raktas in weight each, to be taken early in the morning. A little of bhaktabari or jali is to be taken just after taking this medicine. This medicine cures all sorts of indigestion, amlapitam, basmukagni and colic felt at the time of digestion of food. All sorts of food, sweet in taste, especially milk and sugar, are to be avoided at the time of taking this medicine. Bharyana rasa, 1 tola each, of mika, mandura, biranga, chavya, trikatu, triphala, kasharaja, roots of danti, musta, roots of pipali, roots of chitruka, roots of gantakarna, mana, shurana, roots of brihati, roots of tribrit, roots of suryavarta, and roots of punarnava, and 4½ tola, each, of mercury and sulfur are to be rubbed together with ginger juice, and made into pills, 6 raktas each. This medicine cures amlapidam, aversion to food, grahani, piles, jaundice, fistula, swelling due to anemia, gulma, colic at the time of digestion of food, slowness of digesting heat, leprosy, senile decay, asthma, cough, and jaundice. Diet: boiled rice mixed with water, meat, curd, congee, buttermilk, fish, tamarind, and food prepared with oil. The following are to be avoided at the time of taking this medicine: shringata, bilva, molasses, conchta, coconut, milk, and all sorts of peas and beans. Shuddhabadi badika, 8 tolas of mica, 4 tolas of iron, and 2 tolas of mandura are to be mixed together, and subjected to heat by stalipaka for 3 times, viz. with the juices or decoctions of mandukaparni, bashira, and talamuli, with the juices or decoctions of shatabari, bringaraja, kesharaja, and thorny tanduliyaka, and with the juices or decoctions of triphala and badramusta. These are then to be powdered very fine and mixed with a kajali or black powder made of 1 tola, cash, of mercury and sulfur, and 2 tolas each, of the following finely powdered and sifted by means of a piece of cloth: bacha, sabavia, jamani, jira, black jira, shatapuspa, trikatu, musta, biranga, roots of pipali, roots of apamarga, roots of trivrit, roots of chitraka, roots of danti, white suryavarta, bringaraja, mana, gantakarna, dandotpala, kasharaja, and kalikankara, and 6 tolas of triphala. All these are to be rubbed together in an iron pot for 3 hours in the sun with ginger juice, and subjected to bhavana with the same juice. This process is to be performed for 3 days. The compound is then to be rubbed again with ginger juice and made into pills, 3 raktas in weight each. 3 such pills are to be taken in the morning with jali. Diet: boiled rice with jali or congee and other articles of foodstuff desired, except sweets, milk, and coconut. This medicine cures amlapidam, colic felt at the time of digestion of food, jaundice, gulma, swelling due to anemia, dara roga, diseases affecting the rectum, cough, dullness of the digesting heat, aversion to food, enlargement of the spleen, asthma, anaha, rheumatism, and hoarseness. Tamra druti, a kajali or black powder, is to be prepared by rubbing together 1 tola of mercury and 2 tolas of sulfur in a stone mortar. This powder is to be rubbed with lime juice and turned semi-liquid, with which is to be mixed 4 tolas of a very fine foil or wire made of absolutely pure copper, cut into pieces. The mortar containing these materials is then to be exposed to the intense heat of the sun for 3 hours, with the result that the copper will be liquefied. Dose: 1 rakti to commence with, and increased gradually to 6 raktas, to be taken with a few drops of honey and clarified butter. Buttermilk or danyamla is to be drunk after taking this medicine. Diet: to be taken with boiled shali rice of more than 1 year's standing, after the medicine is digested. This medicine cures amlapidam, kong, waste, piles, jaundice, anemia, leprosy, hemiptosis, baldness, shulam, and many other diseases. One who takes this medicine every day keeps a good health, and lives at least for 100 years. Diet and action salutary in amlapidam. In case of upward amlapidam, vomiting should be resorted to at first, and in case of downward amlapidam, purgation is considered useful, before commencement of treatment. In case of amlapidam with upward and downward tendencies, it is desirable, first of all, to let the patient take a light diet for a few days, and then to have recourse to a special kind of douche called niruha. The following are salutary at all stages of the disease: shali rice, barley, wheat, and mugger of 1 to 3 years standing, soup of meat of animals called jangala, water boiled and cooled, sugar, honey, and shaktu, karkota, karabella, patola, hilamochica, tender leaves of the cane plant, kusmanda of long standing, flour of banana, bastuka, kapitha, pomegranates, amlaki, and other bitters, all sorts of food and drinks having the property of pacifying kapha and pitta. Food and deeds considered injurious in amlapitlam: rice, wheat, barley, and mugga gram, of recent growth, articles of foodstuff incongenial by combination, food having the property of increasing pitta, suppression of calls of nature in respect of stools, urine, vomiting, and sneezing, eating of sesamum seeds, danyamla, salt in excess, sours, pungents, heavy food, curd, and wine.
Treatment of an abnormal excess of pittam. Drinking of decoction of dhanya and madhurika, mixed with sugar, pacifies pittam. Kshar pavada nyushti stanavati jil. Pavadu wo patishnatyarthi shatyan chandanam hai.
Pitagnaka rasa, equal quantities of incinerated mercury, mica, munda iron, copper, tixna iron, copper pyrites, orpiment and sulfur, are to be rubbed together, and subjected to bhavana for 1 day each, with the juice or decoction of each of the following, Jastimadu. Grapes, guruchi, jalamandapika, basaka and bhumikuzmanda. Pills are then to be made 1/4 of a tola, each, to be taken with sugar and honey. This medicine cures pittam, fever due to the same, waist sensation of heat and vertigo. Da tri laham, 32 tolas of powdered amalaki, 16 tolas of iron and 8 tolas of jastimadu are to be rubbed together 7 days with the decoction of amalaki, and dried in the intense heat of the sun. The compound is then to be rubbed again and kept in a suitable pot. This medicine is to be taken with clarified butter and honey thrice a day, viz., at the commencement, middle and end of a meal. Taken at the commencement of a meal, it cures all the ailments caused by an abnormal excess of pittam. Taken at the middle of a meal, it cures intestinal obstruction and flatulence. Taken at the end of a meal, it cures slowness of digesting heat and hemoptysis. Piltantaka rasa, 1 part each of Jatikosa, Jatifala, Jatamanshi, Kusta, Talishapatra, Swarnamaksika, iron, mica, and realger, and 9 parts of silver are to be rubbed together with water and made into pills, 2 raktas in weight each. This medicine cures an abnormal excess of pittam, shulam, amlapittam, anemia, jaundice, piles, vertigo, and vomiting. Mahapitantaku rusu. If in the composition of pitantaka rasa gold is substituted for silver, the medicine is called mahapitantaka rasa. Excess of pittam, pacifiers of pittam, bitters, sweets, astringents, coldness, exposure to cold wind, shades, night, mild wind raised by fan, moonlight, underground rooms, water sprinkled through artificial fountains, touching of water plants in women's bodies, drinking of clarified butter and milk, purgation, smearing the body with cold water, milk, etc., letting out of blood and smearing the body with sandal paste, usharapaste and other cooling unguents, increasers of pilum, pungents, sours, hot things, beta high, acrid foods, salt, anger, fasting, exposure to the sun, sexual intercourse, thirst, hunger, physical exercise, drinking of liquor, eating of masagram, sesamum, kulatha, fish, mutton and curd and buttermilk prepared from cow's milk. Pittam naturally increases at the time of taking and digestion of meal, in the hot weather, and at midday and midnight. Shulam, all sorts of pain in the belly, including colic. These are of 8 different kinds, and are due to the following 8 different causes: vaya, pittam, kapha, vayu combined with pittam, vayu combined with kapha, pittam combined with kapha, combination of vayu, pittam and kapha and ama, or undigested part of the chyle. In all these pains, an abnormed excess of vayu plays the predominant part. Of these 8 different kinds of pain in the belly, there is one which is felt at the time of food being digested in the stomach. Such a pain is called parinma shulam. There is a kind of shulam or pain in the belly which is felt irrespective of whether the patient takes good or bad diet, whether he is in full or empty stomach. No restrictions about food only can pacify this pain. This is called anadrava shulam, treatment of shulam. The following may be adopted as so many methods of treatment of shulam: vomiting, fasting, fomenting, decoctions of prescribed herbs, phalabardi and pills referred to later on. Some simple remedies. Pakti shulam is pacified at once, if ashes of snail shell, dissolved with water, are drunk. A ripe coconut fruit containing its water is to be filled in with salt. The opening is to be closed by its own shell. It is then to be coated all round with mud and dried. It is next to be burnt by fire made of cow dung cakes. The ashes thus prepared, mixed with powdered pipali and taken with honey, cures pakti shultam. 1/16 tola of incinerated iron with an equal quantity of powdered triphala, mixed with honey and clarified butter, is to be licked daily. This cures all sorts of paktan, shulam. Incinerated manduram may be used in place of iron in the present case. 1/16 tola cash of pipali, haritaki, and incinerated iron are to be mixed together with molasses and taken in the morning. This medicine cures pakti shulam. Udara roga, slowness of digesting heat, rheumatism and obesity. 1/16 tola, each of powdered haritaki, incinerated iron and shunti, mixed together and taken with honey and clarified butter, cures parinama shulam. One is freed from all sorts of shulam, if one gives up taking salt and any other food than curd with a thin layer of cream formed upon it, mixed with fried and powdered kalai grams or barley. 1/16 tola of haritaki, boiled with cow's urine and then dried and powdered, mixed with an equal quantity of incinerated iron, and a suitable quantity of molasses are to be taken in the morning for the cure of all sorts of shulam. All that are to be done for the pacification of jarat, pittam or bidagdajirna may also be done for the pacification of anadrava shulam, which disappears as soon as the whole of the stomach is purified. For the cure of anadrava shulam, one should take every morning 1/16 tola of powdered amalaki, mixed with an equal quantity of incinerated iron or powdered jastimadu, and a suitable quantity of honey. Diet: rice prepared from the seeds of shyama, kodrava or priyangu boiled with milk mixed with water, and sweetened when boiled by the mixture of sugar. Juice of matulunga or decoction of shigru, mixed with an alkali and a little of honey, may be drunk for the care of pain in the sides of the chest, the heart and the belly. Deer's horns reduced to ashes by being burnt by putam by means of a mild heat, and mixed with clarified butter, prepared from cow's milk, may be licked for the cure of pain in the heart and the waist. Sesamum seeds, pestled with water, heated a little and made into a lump, is to be rolled upon the heli. This puts an end to shulam. Roots of bilva, sesamum seeds and castor seeds, pestled together with sour tusambu and heated and made into a lump, is to be rolled upon the belly. This cures shulam due to an abnormal excess of vayu only. Madana fruit pestled with kanji and applied upon the naval passages shulam. Shulam is pacified very quickly if the patient drinks the decoction of shunthi and roots of aranda, mixed with hingu and salt petre. 1/16 tola of conch shell reduced to ashes, mixed with 1 rakti, each, of salt, hingu and trikatu, and, these 3 are grasses yielding rice-like seeds. Basaka, haritaki, raktashakini, brihati, maharashtra, datira, leaves of lotus, betal leaves, leaves of shami, and leaves of jambu. The compound is then to be mixed with an equal quantity of the 5 salts, and rubbed for 1 day with the juice of ginger. Pills are then to be made, 3 raktas in weight each. This medicine cures shulam due to vayu. Trinetru rasa. Powdered horn of deer, gold, copper and incinerated mercury are to be rubbed for 1 day with the juice of ginger. The compound is then to be dried and heated by putam. Dosi aractus, to be taken with honey and clarified butter. Rock salt, jira and hingu mixed with honey and clarified butter are to be licked after taking this medicine. This medicine cures pakti shulam in a month. Shula, kashari rusa. 1 part of purified mercury, 2 parts of purified sulfur and 3 parts of purified copper wire are to be rubbed together for 3 hours, and confined in a closed crucible which is to be put inside an earthen putam with salt placed on all sides of the crucible. The putam is then to be burnt by gajaputam. When cooled, the medicine is to be taken out and powdered. This medicine cures all sorts of shulam, if taken in doses of 2 raktas a day with a piece of betel leaf. 1 tola of hingu, shanthi, bacha and maricha, combined, mixed with hot water, is to be drunk after taking the medicine. Gagana suryadi rasa. 4 tolas, each of mica, copper and iron, are to be rubbed together and heated in an iron cauldron with 48 tolas of clarified butter and 12 tolas of milk. When the whole thing turns semi-solid, 4 tolas, each, of the fine powder of the following are to be mixed with it: biranga, triphala, roots of chitraka and trikatu. The compound thus prepared is to be rubbed well, turned solid, and kept in a jar made of glass, wood, stone or earth. Dose, 6 raktas to commence with, to be increased gradually to half a tola, to be taken with clarified butter, honey or liquor. Milk or coconut water is to be drunk after taking the medicine. Diet, sugar, shali rice and mugga, of more than 1 year's standing, soup of meat and other diet, not forbidden at the time of taking mercury. This medicine cures pain in the heart, sides of the chest and the head, rheumatism, lumbago, pain due to gulma, enlargement of spleen and liver, dullness of the digesting heat, wasting, leprosy, cough, asthma, cholera, Bright's disease and stricture. Shulantaka rasa. 4 tolas, each of incinerated mercury and mica, 8 tolas of copper, 12 tolas of sulfur, 1 tola each of orpiment, bimala and swarna makshika, 2 tolas each of the tuber of langali, lead and tin, and 16 tolas of roots of tribrit, are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana for 7 times each, with the juices of bhumi, amlaki and danti. Pills are then to be made, 3 raktas in weight each, to be taken with honey and ginger juice. Diet, curd with boiled rice, to be taken after the bowels are cleared. This medicine cures all sorts of shulam. Banimuka rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, copper, pyrites, copper, mica, sulfur, orpiment, realger, rock salt, aconite, hingu, roots of chitraka, chukrika, gold, red tenduliaka, nirgandi, maharashtra, basaka and nuxvomica, are to be rubbed together with the juices of banga and jayanti. The compound is then to be dried and heated by kukuta putami. Dose, 8 raktas each, to be taken with a few drops of clarified butter and a little of powdered shunthi, or with hot water mixed with hingu and subarshala. This medicine cures gulma and shulam. Mahisha rasa. 1 part of mercury, 3 parts of copper and 9 parts of sulfur are to be rubbed together with lime juice and made into a lump, which is to be dried and burnt by putam. This medicine cures all sorts of shulam if taken, in doses of 1 raktai each, to be taken with ginger and rock salt, or with honey and castor oil, or with rock salt hingu and jira. This medicine cures kapha and vayu also, if taken with suitable accompaniments. It cures pakti shulam, if taken with the ashes of deer's horn, gold, borax clarified, butter and honey. Udaya bhaskara rasa. 1 tola of purified mercury and 4 tolas of sulfur are to be rubbed together to form a kajali or black powder, which is then to be rubbed for 12 hours with lime juice and turned semi-liquid. 2 toles of fine copper foil are to be smeared all round with this substance, and the whole thing is to be immersed in lime juice in a stone mortar, which is to be kept in the sun and dried. The product is then to be confined in a crucible and heated by a kukuta putam inside an oven, filled in with cow dung cakes. The contents of the PNTane are then to be taken out, rubbed with lime juice, and again burnt in the same way. The process is to be repeated for the third time. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases, and especially all sorts of shulam. It is to be taken, or with a piece of betel leaf. Things forbidden at the time of taking mercury should also be avoided at the time of taking this medicine. Shulagaja Kashari Rasa. 4 tolas of mercury, 8 tolas of sulfur, and 12 tolas of orpiment are to be rubbed together for 3 days to form a black powder. 4 tolas of pure copper are to be made into a putum containing 2 pots, in such a way as the upper one covers the lower one, which is to be provided with a hole. The black powder is then to be put into the putum, through the hole, which is now to be closed carefully by means of a piece of copper foil. Surrounded by salt on all sides, the putum is now to be kept inside an earthen vessel, filled up with salt, the month being closed by an earthen vessel and the joint closed by mud and rags as usual. When dried, the vessel is to be burnt by gaja putam. When cooled, the medicine is to be taken out, powdered finely, and sifted by means of a piece of cloth. The powder, thus prepared, is to be kept inside a hole made in a lump of rock salt, the mouth of the hole being covered by means of a piece of the same salt. Dose, 3 raktas each, to be taken with powdered haritaki, ginger juice, and a few drops of honey. This medicine cures all sorts of shulam, krashara suryam. 4 tolas each of incinerated copper and purified sulfur, and 32 tolas of kshara prepared from the bark of tamarind, are to be mixed together. This medicine, taken in adequate doses with hot water, cures all sorts of shula, tamrastakam. Equal quantities of hingu, trikatu, justimadu, sovarchala salt, kshara prepared from the ashes of bark of tamarind, and incinerate copper are to be rubbed together and reduced to a very fine powder. This medicine, taken in adequate doses with a little of hot water, cures all sorts of shulani, pralayanala rasa. 1 part each of haritala, swarna, makshika, kanta, iron, sulfur, copper, and purified mercury are to be rubbed together to form a kajali black powder, with which are to be mixed 23 parts each of bark of red arka. Sarabati. 1 part of aconite, 2 parts of mica, 4 parts of incinerated conch shell, 8 parts of ksara prepared from the ashes of bask of tamarind, 16 parts of copper, and 31 parts of trikatu are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana with the juices of tulasi, bringaraja, matulunga, and ginger. Dose, 1 rakti kash to be taken. With honey, this medicine cures all sorts of shulam, dullness of the digesting heat, grahani, piles, shulam due to gulma, and aversion to food. This medicine cures thinness. As well, kasara tamram. 1 part of very thin foils of pure copper, cut into pieces, is to be smeared with a paste made of 1 part of mercury and 2 parts of sulfur by being rubbed together into a black powder and then rubbed with water or lime juice. The lump, thus formed, is then to be wrapped up in a piece of cloth, which is to be coated all over with a paste made of rock salt of akshara, sarji, kshara, and borax. Another coating of mud only is then to be applied upon the first coating. When dried, the lump is to be confined within a putam, made of 2 earthen basins and heated as usual. When cooled, the copper is to be taken out, powdered, and then rubbed for 3 days with the juices, or decoctions of datura, roots of chitraka, ginger, and trikatu. The product is then to be mixed with 1/16 its weight of aconite. This medicine cures colic due to an excess of vaya, if taken in doses of 3 raktas a day rubbed with a few drops of honey only. Lahagura. 1 part each of iron, haritaki, amlaki, bibitaki, 8 parts of molasses, and 32 parts of cow's urine are to be boiled together by a mild heat in a pot made of earth or iron till the whole thing turns softly solid. Dose, 1/4 of a tola to be increased gradually to half a tola. This medicine cures waste and parinama shulam. Koladi manduram. 1 part each of chavia, roots of pipali, ginger pipali, and javakshara, 5 parts of incinerated mandura, and 40 parts of cow's urine are to be boiled together in the same way as in lahagura. It is to be taken in 3 equal parts, viz. at the beginning, middle, and close of a meal, diet, milk, and boiled rice. This medicine cures all sorts of shulam. Gura manduram. 4 tolas each of molasses, amalaki, and haritaki, and 12 tolas of incinerated manduram are to be rubbed together with honey and clarified butter and taken in doses of 1 tola a day, in 3 equal parts, one of them being taken at the commencement, the other at the middle, and the third at the close of a meal. This medicine cures anadrava, shulam, jaratpitam, raktapitam, and parinamashulam of 1 year's standing. Kesira manduram. 32 tolas of incinerated manduram, 128 tolas of cow's urine, and 64 tolas of milk are to be boiled together by mild heat in a pot made of 159 iron or earth till the whole thing turns soft solid. This medicine cures parinamashulam, manduragura. 9 parts of incinerated mandurum, 18 parts of cow's urine, and 9 parts of old molasses are to be boiled by mild heat in a pot made of earth or iron. When the whole thing turns semi-solid, 1 part each of the powder of the following is to be thrown into it, and the boiling continued, till the whole thing gets well mixed and turns soft solid. Biranga roots of chitraka, chavya, haritaki, amalaki, bibitaki, shunthi, pipali, and maricha. Dose half a tola a day, to be taken in 3 equal parts, at 3 different times, viz. At the beginning, middle, and close of a meal. This medicine cures parinama shulam, jaundice, anemia, swelling due to anemia, dullness of the digesting heat, piles, grahani, wormus, gulma, udara, amlapita, and obesity. The following are to be avoided at the time of taking this beta high food: pungents and sours, dried pot herbs, shutu hari manduram, 32 tolas each of incinerated mandara, juice of roots of shatabari, and curd, and 16 tolas of clarified butter are to be boiled, by means of mild heat in a pot made of earth or iron, till the whole thing turns soft, solid. This medicine is to be taken either at the beginning or at the middle of a meal. This cures parinama shulam, and shulam due to vayu and pitam, narayani manduram. 64 tolas, each of the juice of shatabari, cow's urine, goat's milk, sugar, and juice of amalaki, 32 tolas of incinerated mandura, and 16 tolas of clarified butter are to be boiled together, as in the preceding cases, till the whole thing turns semi-solid, when 1 tola each of the powder of the following is to be mixed with the substance: baranga, triphala, trikatu, jamani, gaja, pipali, white jira, black jira, and musta. The heat is still to be continued till the whole thing gets well mixed and turns soft solid. This medicine is to be taken at the beginning of taking a meal. It cures all sorts of shulam, especially that due to an excess of pitam, pain in the heart and sides of the chest, discases affecting the stomach, intestine, and rectum, cough, asthma, swelling due to anemia, chronic diarrhea, enlargement of spleen and liver, consumption, flatulence, mucus, indigestion, and weakness. Shatabiria manduram. Manduram is to be heated highly and immersed at once in the decoction of triphala. It is then to be powdered very, lauhamritam. Purified sheets of iron, as thin as a sesamum seed, are to be coated all over with a paste made of the roots of kashika or of mustard seeds. These are then to be dried in the sun and immersed in a decoction of triphala. This process is to be repeated over and over again. The sheets are then to be reduced to a very fine powder, sifted by means of a piece of cloth. Dose, 6 ractus to 24 ractus a day according to the power of digestion, to be taken with a little of honey and clarified butter. Goat's milk, 64 times in weight of the medicine taken daily, is to be drunk after taking the medicine. If goat's milk is not available, the same quantity of cow's milk, mixed with a little of clarified milk prepared from cow's milk, may also be drunk. This medicine cures parinama shulam in a month. Articles of food, stuff commencing with K, and meat of those animals which are called anupa should be avoided, so long as this medicine is taken. Akshati lauham, incinerated iron boiled with 4 times its weight of the juices of haritaki, amalaki, and bibitaki and powdered. Cures shulam due to an excess of the 3 doses, if taken with a little of molasses in doses of 6 ractus a day. Suptamrita loham, 1 part of powdered jastimadan, 1/3 part each of powdered haritaki, amalaki, and bibitaki, and 2 parts of incinerated iron are to be mixed together, and taken with a little of honey and clarified butter. Cow's milk in suitable quantities is to be drunk after taking this medicine. It cures vomiting, decline of eyesight, shulam, amlapitam, fever, fatigue, anaha, obstruction of urine, and swelling due to anemia. Datria di loham, 8 palas of powdered amalaki, 4 palas of incinerated iron, 2 palas of jastimadu, all finely powdered and sifted through a piece of cloth, are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana for 7 days with the decoction of amrita, after which the substance is to be dried by the intense heat of the sun, and then powdered. 6 ractus of this medicine is to be taken with a little of honey and clarified butter thrice a day, viz., at the beginning, middle, and close of the first meal. This medicine cures shulam, jaratpitam, defects in eyesight, premature grayness of hair, and diseases due to an abnormal excess of kapha and pitam. Some are of opinion that amrita here means amalaki. Mandura loham, 24 tolas of incinerated mandura, 8 tolas of the decoction of barley prepared from boiling 16 tolas of barley with 32 tolas of water, 32 tolas each of the juice of shatavari, juice of amalaki, curd and milk, and 16 tolas each of the juice of bhumikuzmanda, clarified butter, and juice of sugar canir to be boiled together by heat in an iron cauldron till the whole thing turns semi-solid. At this time, 1 tola each of the powder of the following is to be mixed with the substance, and the boiling continued, till the whole thing gets well mixed and turns soft, solid. Jira danya, trijata, gaja pipati katuki, justimadu, rasna, aswagandha, sandalwood musta, haritaki iron mika trikatu renuka, triphala, talisha, and naga kishara. Dose, 1 tola a day to be divided into 3 equal parts. and taken at 3 different times, viz., at the beginning, middle and end of a meal. Milk is to be drunk after taking this medicine. This medicine cures all sorts of shulam. Triphala lauham, 6 ractus of incinerated steel, and the same quantity of powdered triphala, mixed together and taken with milk, cures shulam. Sharkara lauham, 6 ractus each of incinerated black iron, powdered triphala, and powdered amalaki are to be mixed together with 18 ractus of sugar. Taken once a day, this medicine cures all sorts of shulam. Baishwan nara lanam, 8 tolas, each, of alkali prepared from bark of tamarind, alkali prepared from apamarga, incinerated snail shell, and rock salt are to be rubbed together with 32 tolas of incinerated iron. All sorts of shulain are cured by this medicine if taken, in doses of 12 ractus each, as soon as the pain begins to be felt. Chatus, Sama, Lauhan. 4 tolas each of mica, sulfur, mercury and iron, and 48 tolas each of clarified butter and milk are to be mixed together, and boiled as usual by mild heat in an iron cauldron, till the substance turns semi-solid. At this time 4 tolas, each of the following, finely powdered and sifted, are to be thrown into the cauldron and mixed by means of an iron rod with its contents, biranga, triphala, roots of chitraka and trikatu. Heat is to be continued till the compound turns soft, solid. It is then to be rubbed very well in a mortar, and then kept in a clean pot. Dose, 6 ractus, to be gradually increased to 48 ractus a day, to be taken with coconut water or milk. Diet, boiled shali rice, soup of mugga and good meat mixed with clarified butter. This medicine cures all sorts of shulam, pain in the heart and sides of the chest, rheumatism, lumbago, shulam caused by gulma, headache, enlargement of spleen and liver, indigestion, consumption, leprosy, cough, asthma, eczema, Bright's disease and stricture. Shulara jalaham, 1 tola of kanta iron and 4 tolas each of mica, sugar, honey and clarified butter are to be mixed together and rubbed by means of an iron rod. With this compound is then to be mixed 1 tola each of the powder of the following: trikatu, triphala, musta, biranga, chavya and roots of chitraka. This medicine is to be taken in the morning with cold water. It cures all sorts of shulam, pain in the heart and the sides, amlopidem, piles, grahani, spermatorea, and cholera. Pania bhakta rasa, 1 tola each of trikata, triphala, masta, trivrit and roots of chitraka, half a tola each of mercury and sulfur, and 2 tolas each of iron, mica, and biranga are to be rubbed together with a decoction of triphala, and made into pills 1/4 of a tola each. 1 such pill is to be taken every morning with a little of jali. This medicine cures shulam, pain in the sides of the chest, diseases affecting the stomach, intestines and the rectum, asthma, cough, leprosy and grahani. Shula kari, kishari rasa. 1 part of mercury and 2 parts of sulfur are to be rubbed together steadily for 1 day, and then to be confined in a putam or covered crucible made of 3 parts of copper. The putam or crucible is then to be put inside an earthen vessel filled with salt which surrounds the putam or crucible on all sides. The vessel is then to be covered and dried as nasuul. It is then to be heated by gajaputam. When cooled by natural radiation of heat, the crucible is too and powdered very fine. This medicine is to be taken in doses of 2 ractus a day, kept on a piece of betel leaf. A little of hot water is to be drunk after taking this medicine, mixed with 1 tola of the combined powder of hingu, shunti, jira, bacha and maricha. This medicine cures shulam, however malignant, be taken out. Shula bajra rasa, 2 tolas each of mercury, sulfur and iron, and 1 tola each of borax, hinga, shunti, trikatu, triphala, shathi, guratwak, ella, tijapatra, talishapatra, jatifala, lavanga, jamani, jira and danya are to be rubbed together with goat's milk, and made into pills, 6 ractus in weight, each to be taken with cold water or goat's milk. This medicine cures 8 kinds of shulam: enlargement of spleen, gulma, udararoga, fever, astila, anaha, spermatorea, dullness of digesting heat, aversion to food, amlopida, rheumatism, jaundice and anemia. Shulanisudana rasa, 1 part each of trikatu, triphala, musta, trivrit and roots of chitraka, half a part each of mercury and sulfur, and 2 parts each of iron, mica and biranga are to be rubbed together with a decoction of triphala, and made into pills to be taken with jali in the morning. This medicine cures all sorts of shulam including pariwama and anadrava, amlopidem and vomiting. Tripura sudana rasa, 12 parts of thin foils of copper are to be smeared with a paste made of 1 part each of mercury and sulfur. These are then to be burnt by putam. This medicine cures parinama shulam if taken in doses of 6 ractus a day with a little of honey and clarified butter. In other cases of shulam, this medicine is to be taken with a little of castor oil mixed with hingu, shunti and jira. Bidyadhara bra rasa, 1 tola of purified sulfur is to be rubbed with 3/4 of a tola of parified mercury, and made into a black powder with which are to be mixed 16 tolas of mandura, incinerated with cow's urine, 4 tolas of mica, and 1 tola each of the powder of the following: biranga, musta, triphala, guruchi, roots of danti, roots of trivrit, roots of chitraka, and trikatu. All these are then to be rubbed together with the juice of mandukaparni and a tittle of honey and clarified butter. Pills are then to be made 6 raktas, 12 raktas or 18 raktas in weight each, to be taken with cow's milk or cold water. This medicine cures all sorts of shulam, including parinama and anadrava, consumption, amlapitan, grahani, jirnajwara, raktapitam, and loss of power of digestion. Shula sanjamana rasa, 1 tola each of mercury, sulfur, triphala, trikatu, biranga, musta, trivrit, danti, roots of chitraka, akoparni and roots of pipali. 4 tolas of mica and 16 tolas of iron are to be rubbed together with honey and made into pills, half a tola in weight each. A little of cow's milk or coconut water is to be drunk after taking this medicine. It cures all sorts of shulam, emaciation, discolor of the skin, lethargy, drowsiness, and aversion to food. Diet and deeds beneficial in shulam: vomiting, fomentation, fasting, purgative pills entered into the rectum, application of douche, sleeping, purgation, digestive medicines, boiled shali rice of more than 1 year's standing, barley, hot milk, soup prepared from the meat of jangala animals, patola, shobanjana, carabella, brinjals, sweet and ripe mangoes, grapes, kapitha, citrus, pila fruit, leaves of shalincha and bastuka, salt, niter, hingu, shunthi, bira salt, shatapaspa, garlics, cloves, castor oil, cow's urine, hot water, lime juice, custom and powdered alkalis. Articles of foodstuff and deeds injurious in shulam: food and drinks incongenial by combination, keeping late hours at night, taking meals at irregular hours and in unusual quantities, food not softened with clarified butter or any other animal fat, bitters, astringents, cold food, heavy food, physical exercise, sexual intercourse, wine, pulses, excess of salt, sesamum seeds, suppression of calls of nature, grief, and anger. Gulma. Causes and indications of gulma. Gulmas are a kind of tumor growing in the belly. They are due to an abnormal excess of the 3 doses, caused of course by unhealthy food and deeds. These tumors may grow within the space between the heart and the lower extremity of the abdomen. Some of them are movable and some immovable. They are capable of increasing or decreasing in size and are generally globular or semi-globular in shape. They grow in 5 different places, viz., the sides, the heart, the navel, and the intestines. They are of 5 different kinds, according as they are caused by an abnormal excess of each of the 3 doses separately, and of all the 3 combined, and by the condensation of the men's blood of women in the uterus. Both men and women may be affected by the first 4, but the 5th, which is called rakta gulma, is a disease peculiar to women only. The following are the general symptoms of these tumors: aversion to food, difficulty in the passing of stool, urine, and fruit is to be drunk after taking this medicine. Diet: boiled rice with curd, gulma bajra rasu, 4 tolas each of mercury, sulfur, copper, bell metal, borax, and orpiment are to be rubbed together, and taken in consideration of strength and power of digestion. This medicine cures all sorts of gulma, especially rakta gulma, enlargement of spleen and liver, udara roga astala, anaha, jaundice, anemia, fever, and shulam. Gulma nivarana rasa, 2 tolas each of mercury, sulfur, orpiment, copper, and borax, 10 tolas of javakshara, and 1 tola each of mustapipali, shunthi, maricha, gajapipali, haritaki, bacha, and kusta are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana with the juice or decoction of each of the following: parpada, musta, shunthi, apamarga, and patha. This medicine, taken in doses of 4 raktas each, cures all sorts of gulma, and especially that due to an abnormal excess of vayu. Gulma kalanala rasa, equal quantities of mica, iron, mercury, sulfur, borax, katuki, bacha, javaksara, swarjiksara, rock, salt, kusta, trikatu, devadaru, teja, patra, ella, guratwak, naga, kashara, and exudation of kadira are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana with the juices of each of the following: jayanti, chitraka, datura, and leaves of kesharaja. Pills are then to be made, 4 raktas in weight each, to be taken in the morning with a little of water or milk. This medicine cures 5 different kinds of gulma, enlargement of spleen and liver, udara roga, jaundice, anemia, swelling due to anemia, raktapitam, slowness of the digesting heat, aversion to food, grahani, weakness, emaciation, remittent fever, and visamajwara. Gulma nisudana rusa, equal quantities of sulfur, orpiment, copper, and steel are to be rubbed together with the juice of kanya, made into a lump and confined in a samputam, which is to be burnt by gajaputam. When cooled by natural radiation of heat, the medicine is to be taken out. Dose: 2 raktas each, to be taken with juice of ginger. This medicine cures all sorts of gulma. Gulma shardula rasa, 4 tolas cash of mercury, sulfur, iron, gugulu, bark of ashwatha tree, trivrit, pipali, shunthi, shathi, danya, and jira, and 2 tolas of croton seeds are to be rubbed together with clarified butter and made into pills, 3 raktas in weight each. 2 such pills are to be taken in the morning with ginger juice only, a little of hot water being drunk thereafter. This medicine cures all sorts of gulma, including rakta gulma, enlargement of spleen and liver, jaundice, and dropsy. Nageshwara rasa, Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, lead, tin, realgar, salt, ammoniac, javakshara, swarjakshara, borax, iron, and mica are to be rubbed together with the milk of snuhi and decoctions of roots of chitraka, basaka, and danti for 1 day each in succession. This medicine cures gulma, enlargement of spleen, jaundice, swelling of limbs due to jaundice, and flatulence. Dose, 6 raktas a day to be taken with a piece of betel leaf. Vidyadhara rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, orpiment, copper pyrites, gold, and realgar are to be rubbed together for 1 day with a decoction of pipali and milk of snuhi. This medicine cures gulma due to an abnormal excess of phlegm only, if taken in doses of 12 raktas a day, rubbed with cow's urine. A little more of the same prine is to be drunk after taking the medicine. Pranaranjana rasa. 1 pala each of iron, copper, cowrie shells, copper sulfate, hingu, triphala, roots of snuhi, javakshara, croton seeds, borax, and roots of tribrit are to be rubbed together with goat's milk and made into pills, 4 raktas in weight each, to be taken with water or honey. This medicine cures jaundice, anemia, spermatoria, especially hiccough, malignant senapata, rakta gulma, leprosy, and some of the skin diseases. Mahamrila rasayanam. 1 tola each of trikatu, triphala, musta, biranga, white jira, black jira, jamani, ajamoda, kiratet, tikta, roots of tribrit, roots of danti, salt potre, rock salt, and mica. 16 palas of khanda, 1 prastha or 64 tolas of decoction of triphala, the same quantity of juice of jambira, and 8 tolas of iron are to be boiled together till the whole thing turns soft solid. 16 tolas of clarified butter is then to be mixed with the product. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases, especially 5 different kinds of gulma, enlargement of spleen and liver, jaundice, anemia, swelling due to anemia, and remittent fever. Bangadhara rasa. 4 tolas each of incinerated mercury, tin, sulfur, and copper are to be rubbed together for 1 day with the milk of arka made into a lump and burnt by the Budharajantram. This medicine cures enlargement of spleen, and gulma, dose 2 raktas a day to be taken with a little of clarified butter. 1/4 of a tola of white punarnava or turmeric rubbed with cow's urine is to be drunk after taking the medicine. Shikhibaraba rasa. Equal quantities of incinerated mercury, copper, mica, sulfur, and copper pyrites are to be rubbed together for 1 day with the juice of ginger mixed with javakshara and made into pills, 3 raktas in weight each, to be taken with a few drops of honey and juice of betel leaves. This medicine cures gulma due to vayu. The following is to be drunk after taking this medicine: baranga, pomegranates, hingu, rock salt, ila, and salt petre, pestled with the juice of matulunga and dissolved with 1 tola liquor. Diptamara rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, and copper are to be rubbed for 3 days with the decoction of the 5 different parts of shaka tree and for 1 day with the juice or decoction of sarpakshi. The product is then to be confined in a crucible and burnt by Gajaputam in an underground pit for 5 times. When cooled, the medicine is to be powdered and mixed with an equal quantity of powdered croton seeds. Dose 2 raktas each to be taken with a little of clarified butter. This medicine cures gulma due to an abnormal excess of pittam. Decoction of grapes and haritaki is to be drunk after taking the medicine. Vidyan kusha rasa. Equal quantities of sulfur, orpiment, copper, pyrites, copper, realgar, and mercury are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana with a decoction of pipali and milk of snuhi. Dose 12 raktas a day with a little of honey. A little of cow's urine is to be drunk after taking this medicine. This medicine cures gulma and enlargement of spleen. Chinta hara rasa. 1 part of sulfur and 2 parts of mercury are to be rubbed together for 1 day with the juice of jujube and lime fruit, and for another day with a solution of the alkali prepared from the bark of tamarind. The compound is then to be made into a lump, confined in a putam made of copper, which is to be coated all over with mud and dried well. This putam is then to be again confined in a crucible, the mouth of which is to be duly closed and heated by putam. When cooled, the medicine is to be taken out, mixed with sulfur, equal to 1/4 part of the mercury, and with the same quantity of aconite. This is then to be boiled in an iron pot with a decoction of roots of chitraka, till the whole thing is just dried up. Dose 3 raktas a day, to be taken with a little of castor oil and honey. Sours, oils, and cold articles of foodstuff are to be avoided at the time of treatment by this medicine. It cures gulma, flatulence, and lumbago. Vaishwanara rasa. 1 part each of Bishnukranta, croton seeds, langali, devadali, and mercury, and 2 parts of sulfur are to be rubbed together for 15 days and heated by a very mild heat for some time. Pills are then to be made, 3 raktas in weight each, to be taken with a little of hot water, clarified butter, and rock salt, in gulma due to vayu with a little of honey and ginger juice, in gulina due to kapha, and with sugar and honey, in gulma due to pittam. Agni kuthara rasa. 1 part each of croton seeds, sulfur, mercury, haritaki, amalaki, bibitaki, shunthi, pipali, and maricha are to be rubbed together for 3 days with 16 parts of cow's urine. and made into pills of the size of the stone of a jujube fruit, to be taken only once a day with a little of hot water. This serves as a very good purgative. This cures gulma, enlargement of the liver, anemia, intestinal obstruction, colic, slowness of the digesting heat, fever and dropsy. Pranadhara rasa. Equal quantities of mica, mercury and sulfur are to be rubbed together with the juice of tala muli, and made into a paste which is to be put inside a glass bottle, the mouth of which is to be closed by means of a piece of chalk. The outer surface of this bottle is then to be coated all over with that kind of mud, which is used in making country-made earthen pots. When dried well, the bottle is to be subjected to putam by the Buddha Rajantram. When cooled after the heating is completed, the bottle is to be powdered very fine with its contents and the chalk. With this compound is to be mixed 1 part each of the powder of the following: Javakshara, Sarjikshara, borax, the 5 salts, Trikatu, Triphala, Hingu, Gugulu, Indrajava, Gunjakini, roots of Chitraka, Ajamota, and Jamani. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases, especially gulma, diseases due to an excess of vaya, parinamashulam, sanipatika fever, enlargement of spleen, jaundice, anemia, indigestion and grahani. It is to be taken in doses of 6 raktis a day, to be taken only once in the morning with 2 sips of hot water. Cold water is to be drunk by the patient, at least once a day, even if he does not feel any thirst any time. The following are to be avoided: pot herbs, sours, pulses, sleeping in daytime and, whatever is injurious to health. The body should be anointed with oil, and sexual indulgence is to be avoided altogether. Gulmanashana rasa, 1 part each of sulfur and mercury, 2 parts of rock salt, 3 parts of borax, 4 parts of copper sulfate, 5 parts of cowrie shells, and 6 parts of conch shell are to be rubbed together for 3 times with the juice of each of the following, each active rubbing being followed by an active putam decoction of the roots of chitraka, juice of karanja. The product is then to be mixed with an equal quantity of powdered marisha, dose 12 raktis each. This medicine cures 5 different kinds of gulma, waste, asthma, and dullness of the digesting heat. Diet and deeds considered salutary in gulma: fomentation of the region affected, after rubbing it with oil, purgation, application of douche, letting out of blood from the veins in the arms, fasting, application of some medicine through the rectum such as phalabardi, anointing the body with oil, surgical operation on commencement of suppuration, wheat and red shali rice of 1 year's standing, kala juice, soup of kulatha, soup of the meat of deer, hare and game fowls, wine, milk of cows and goats, grapes, parushaka fruits, dates, pomegranates and malaki, oranges, amlabetasa, buttermilk, castor oil, garlics, green carrots, shalincha, bastuka, shigra, javakshara, haritaki, hingu, matulunga, trikatu, cow's urine, and all those articles of foodstuff which are mixed with butter and clarified butter, warm, nutritious, light, increaser of appetite, and pacifier of vayu. Articles of foodstuff and actions considered injurious, in gulma, everything which serves to increase vayu, food incongenial by combination, dry meat, stiff radish or carrot, fish, sweet, worms and bacilli, fruits, dry pot herbs, pulses and beans, food causing flatulence, and not easy to digest, suppression of calls of nature in respect of the downward passage of wind, stool, urine, quick respiration due to physical labor, and tears, vomiting and drinking of water. Those people are generally the victims of worms who take their meals before the previous meals are properly digested, eat too much of sweets, sours, eatings and molasses, avoid physical exercise, sleep in daytime, and eat articles of foodstuff, incongenial by combination. Their causes and indications. Worms are of 2 different kinds, viz., internal and external. They are also subdivided into 4 different kinds according to the place of their origin, viz. External dirt, phlegm, blood and stool. They are altogether of 20 different kinds. The external ones grow only on external dirt and are of 2 kinds, viz. Juca and lixa. Of these, the first are of the size of a sesamum seed, and have the same color as the place of their abode, viz. Hair and clothes. The second have several feet and are very small in size. They are called lixa. Both of them give rise to itching and boils. Worms in the stool are due to taking in excess of masha grams, pistaka, sours, salts, molasses and pot herbs. Those which grow in phlegm are due to taking in excess of meat, fish, molasses, milk, curd and shuktam. Those which grow in the blood are due to taking of articles of food stuff incongenial by combination, food not properly digested, and pot herbs, etc. The following are the general symptoms of worms: clattering sound produced by the patient, while asleep, by the unconscious rubbing of some teeth against some other, itching sensation inside the nostrils and in the nails, fever, discoloration of the skin, pain in the stomach, fatigue, vertigo, aversion to food and diarrhea. Those worms which grow in phlegm have the amashaya as the place of their origin. When sufficiently grown up, these worms move all over the body. They are of 7 different kinds. 1. Some of them are thick, some like tapes made of leather, some like earthworms, some like sprouts of paddy, some thin, some long, and some of these are very minute in body. Some of them are white in color, whereas the others are copper-colored. They are named Antrada, Udarabesta, Hridayata, Mahaguda, Churu, Darba Kusuma, and Sugandha. They cause nausea, discharge of saliva from the mouth, indigestion, aversion to food, occasional loss of consciousness, vomiting, fever, anaha, emaciation, sneezing and pinosam. Those worms which grow in blood have their place of origin in the blood-carrying veins and arteries. They are very minute in body, are devoid of feet, globular in size and copper-colored. Some of them are too minute to be seen by the naked eyes. They are of 6 different kinds and are named Kashada, Roma Bitwancha, Roma Dwipa, Urumbara, Sarasa, and Mata, respectively. They give rise to leprosy. Those worms which grow in stool have their place of origin in the pakvashaya, or the lower part of the stomach. They move downwards. When sufficiently grown up, they sometimes proceed upwards towards the amashaya, causing odor of stool coming out of the mouth, belching, and respiration of the patient. These worms are of 5 different kinds, viz. Those which are thick, globular, and plump in shape, those which are blackish-red in color, those which are yellow, those which are white, and those which are black. They are named Kakaruka, Makaruka, Sasurada, Sashulakia, and Lilia, respectively. At the time those worms leave their original place of abode and move in the other parts of the body, they give rise to the following ailments: diarrhea, shulam, flatulence, emaciation, coarseness, anemia, standing of hairs on ends, loss of power of digestion, and itching sensation in the rectum. Treatment of worms. Some simple herbal remedies. The patient is to take in the morning some Persian jamani with water kept in a pot on the day preceding. This makes worms come out of the stomach. Worms are destroyed by drinking with honey the juice of paribhadra leaves or the juice of roots of kabuka, or the juice of leaves of shalincha, or powdered biranga. Worms are destroyed if the juice of the seeds of palasha is drunk with honey. The same purpose is served by taking the same seeds pestled with buttermilk. Worms are destroyed by the juice of the leaves of date palm kept overnight and drunk in the morning with honey. Worms in the stool are destroyed by drinking green betel nuts pestled with juice of lime fruits, or by drinking the juice of leaves of date palm mixed with juice of lime fruits, or by drinking the seeds of alabu pestled with buttermilk, or by drinking coconut water mixed with honey, or by taking half a tola of powdered kampila with some molasses. Jamani, mixed with rock salt and taken in the morning, cures indigestion, rheumatism, and ailments due to worms. Juice of the leaves of gantakarna, or of the leaves of pineapple, taken with honey, cures worms. Seeds of somaraji, taken with water, cure all sorts of worms. Decoction of the roots of pomegranates kills small worms. Lice are killed by besmearing the hair with the juice of leaves of datura, or betel, mixed with camphor. All the lice are killed if the hair is besmeared with the seeds of naricha, pestled with kanji. The name kampila is given to 2 different things, viz. To a herb named Melotus philippensis, and to a mineral. Iatro-chemical treatment of worms. Krimikalanala rasa. 2 palas of biranga, 1 pala of aconite, 2 tolas of iron, 1 tola of mercury, and 1 tola of sulfur are to be rubbed together with goat's milk and made into pills, 16 raktas in weight each, to be dried in the shade. 1 such pill is to be taken every morning with a little of honey and decoction of dhanya and jeera. This medicine cures worms, grahani piles, swelling of the limbs due to anemia, gulma, enlargement of the spleen, and loss of power of digestion. Creamy mudgara rasa, 1 part of mercury, 2 parts of sulfur, 3 parts of ajamota, 4 parts of biranga, 5 parts of nux vomica, and 6 parts of seeds of palasha are to be mixed together. Dose 1 niska or 24 raktas a day to be taken with honey. Decoction of musta is to be drunk after taking this medicine. This medicine cures worms and ailments due to them. It increases in 3 days power of digestion. Krimi, binasharasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, mica, iron, realgar, dataki flour, triphala, lodra, biranga, haridra, and daru haridra are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana for 7 times with the juice of ginger, and made into pills of the size of a chanagram each, to be taken in the morning with the decoction of triphala. This medicine cures all sorts of worms. Krimihara rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, indrajava, ajamota, realgar, seeds of palasha, and sulfur are to be rubbed together with the juice of devadali for 1 day. This medicine cures worms, if taken with the juice of shalaparni, mixed with sugar. Creamy, rogari rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, iron, maricha, aconite, dataki flour, triphala, shunthi, musta, rasanjana, trikatu musta, patha, balaka, and bilva are to be mixed together, and subjected to bhavana with the juice of bringa raja, and made into pills of the size of a small cowrie shell each. This medicine cures all sorts of worms. Kitamarta rasa. 1 part of mercury, 2 parts of sulfur, 3 parts of ajamota, 4 parts of biranga, 5 parts of nux vomica, and 6 parts of seeds of palasha are to be mixed together, and taken in doses of 1/4 of a tola, each, to be taken with a little of honey and decoction of musta. This medicine cures worms.
Krimina rasa.
Equal quantities of biranga, seeds of palasha, seeds of nimba, and incinerated mercury are to be rubbed together with the juice of akuparni, and made into pills, 3 raktas in weight, each, to be taken with a little of honey and the juice of akuparni. This medicine cures worms. Biranga lauham, 1 part each of mercury, sulfur, maricha, jatifala, lavanga, pipali, orpiment, shunthi and tin, 9 parts of iron and 18 parts of biranga are to be mixed together. This medicine cures worms in the stomach and intestines, piles, aversion to food, dullness of the digesting heat, cholera, swelling due to anemia, shulam, fever, hiccough, asthma and cough. Krimi-bigatana rasa, 1 part of mercury, 2 parts of sulfur, 3 parts of ajamoda, 4 parts of biranga, 5 parts of seeds of pala, shah and 6 parts of tinduka are to be mixed together. It is to be taken with honey. To quench thirst, it is necessary to drink the decoction of musta, or akuparni, mixed with sugar. This medicine cures worms. Krimishulari rasa, equal quantities of ajamoda, kernel of karanja, kshirini, mercury, sulfur and copper are to be rubbed together with the juice of akuparni and made into pills. This medicine cures pain in the abdomen due to worms. Agni, tunda rasa, 1 part of mercury, 2 parts of sulfur, 3 parts of ajamoda, 4 parts of biranga, 5 parts of seeds of palasha, and 1 part of nux vomica are to be rubbed together with 2045, honey and made into pills. Juice or decoction of musta is to be drunk after taking this medicine, and juice or decoction of akuparni is to be drunk every now and then. Amalaki with sugar is also to be taken, if there be fever due to worms. This medicine cures flatulence and all sorts of udara rogas. Snuhi parpati rasa. Juice of snuhi is to be drunk after taking any of the parpates. Juice of snuhi is a sure killer of worms. Kita shulari rasa. 1/4 tola each of mercury and sulfur, and 1/8 tola of copper are to be rubbed together with the juice of the 5 different parts of shaka tree, for 24 hours. The product is again to be rubbed for 24 hours with the juice of kshirini. It is then to be heated by laguptutam. When cooled, the product is to be powdered very fine and mixed with 5 croton seeds. Dose 2 ractus to be taken with clarified butter. This medicine cures pain in the stomach due to worms. Krimi shula nashana rasa. Equal quantities of ajamoda, seeds of palasha, kshirini, mercury, sulfur and copper are to be rubbed together with the juice of akuparni and taken with a little of honey and juice of akuparni. This medicine cures pain due to worms. Rajabhadra rasa, incinerated mercury, taken with honey and essence of leaves of nimba, cures worms in 3 days only. Krimi patana rasa, equal quantities of purified mercury, indrajaba, ajamoda, realgar and seeds of palasha are to be rubbed together for 1 day. This medicine makes worms come out with the stool. A little of the decoction of akuparni mixed with honey is to be drunk after taking the medicine. Diet and deeds salutary in worms. Application of douche with decoction of suitable herbs, mixed with milk and oil, purgation of the intestines by means of a laxative, purgation of the brain by means of mild and medicated snuff prepared from salutary herbs or by pouring into the nostrils a little of mustard oil or some medicated oil, or milk mixed with a little of powdered shunthi, smoking of suitable herbs, everything having the property of pacifying phlegm, massaging the body, eating of rice, of 3 years standing, prepared from the seeds of bamboo and red shali paddy, such vegetables as patola, tender leaves of the cane plant, garlics, bastu, leaves of chitraka and paribhadra, mustard seeds, green banana, fruits of brihati, bitter leaves of naricha, meat of rats, biranga, leaves of nimba, haritaki, oil prepared from sesamum and mustard, savira, shuktam, tusodaka, honey, ripe palm fruit, ripe balataka fruit, cow's urine, betel leaves, urine, musk, camel's urine and milk. Clarified butter prepared from camel's milk, hingu, alkalis, ajamda, kateku, seeds of kutaja, lime juice, black jira, jamani, exudations of trees named devadaru, aguru, pungents, and shinshapa, bitters, astringents and articles of foodstuff and deeds injurious in worms, vomiting, suppression of vomiting, articles of foodstuffing congenial by combination, sleeping in daytime, drinking of liquid food, food pestled and baked, indigestion, clarified butter, mashagrams, curd, peapot herbs, meat, milk, sours and sweets, pandu, kamala, etc. Classification of anemia. This disease is of 5 different kinds, according as it is due to vayu, pitam, kapha, combination of the 3, and eating of earth. Symptoms of anemia, discoloredness, swelling of the limbs, emaciation, loss of weight and fatigue, are the symptoms of the disease. If a man suffering from anemia takes such food or performs such acts as increase pitam, his blood and flesh are burnt as it were, by the abnormal excess of pitam giving rise to kamala or jaundice. The eyes, skin, nails and face of such a patient grow highly yellowish. His urine and stool become reddish yellow, his color becomes yellow like a frog of the same color, and his sense organs are enfeebled. He also suffers from a heating sensation, indigestion, weakness, fatigue, and aversion to food. Jaundice is a disease due to a profuse excess of pitam. It affects the intestines as well as the nerves, arteries, and the other passages carrying blood and the other fluids. Cause and symptoms of halimaka. When the color of a jaundiced patient becomes partially blackish-red mixed with yellow, and he suffers from loss of strength and enthusiasm, drowsiness, dullness of digesting heat, slow fever, lack of desire for sexual indulgence, pain in the limbs, sensation of heat, thirst, aversion to food, and vertigo, it is to be considered that he has got an attack of Halimaka. Causes and symptoms of Kumbha Kamala or jaundice is due to any of the two causes, viz. Burning or putrefaction of the flesh and blood by excessive pittam, and rakta pittam or hemiptosis. Jaundice is indicated by vertigo, thirst, putrefaction of food before it is digested with the formation of acidity, and yellowishness of the eyes and stools. If neglected, it is followed by swelling of the limbs, and is termed Kumbha Kamala. Treatment of Pandu and Kamala. The treatment of Kamala may also be Kumbha Kamala. The treatment of Panad, applicable to, and Kamala, may also be applied to Halimaka. Simple remedies. Jaundice is cured in a month if 1/4 of a tola of the powder of the 5 different parts of Devadali, mixed with milk or water, is taken every morning. Half a tola each of the roots of Apamarga and Shami, pestled together with buttermilk and taken every morning, cures anemia, jaundice, and swelling. Haritaki, mixed with molasses, taken constantly, cures anemia. Cow's milk, drunk with powdered shunthi, cures jaundice. 1 tola of powdered turmeric, mixed with 4 tolas of curd, taken every morning, cures jaundice. Juice of any one of the following, mixed with honey and taken every morning, cures jaundice, triphala, guruchi daruharidra, and nimba. Jaundice is cured by any one of the two used as a collyrium, a juice of dronapuspi or powdered turmeric, red ochre, and a malaki, taken in equal quantities. Anemia, jaundice, and halimaka are cured by sniffing the roots of karkota, or the fruits of devadali, powdered or pestled with water. Jaundice is cured very quickly by sniffing the juice of kanya. Jaundice is cured by taking the leaves of guruchi, pestled with buttermilk. Jetro-chemical treatment of Pandu, Kamala, La. Lauha, Basmu, incinerated iron of excellent quality, taken with a little of honey and clarified butter, cures anemia and jaundice. Hansa Mandura. 1 tola of this manduram is to be taken every morning with an equal quantity of clarified butter. Bisadi Loham. Jaundice is cured by licking every morning any one of the following 2, mixed with a little of honey and clarified butter, Iram, Trikatu, and Biranga, mixed together in equal quantities. Haridra mixed with Triphala, in equal quantities. Shibadi Lanam. Jaundice is cured by licking every morning any one of the 2 following. Equal quantities of iron, haritaki, and haridra, mixed with honey and clarified butter, or haritaki, mixed with honey and molasses. Aksa Manduram. Manduran, burnt for 8 times with the fire made of bibitaki wood, and immersed after each act of burning into cow's urine, is to be reduced to powder and taken with a little of honey. This cures Kuniba Kamala. Jalata Loham. Equal quantities of incinerated iron and powdered musta, mixed with the decoction of kadira wood, cures halimaka. Baladi Loham. 1 part each of sugar, katuki, bala, justi madu, triphala, haridra, and didaru haridra, and 7 parts of iron are to be mixed together and taken with honey and clarified butter. This medicine cures halimaka. Joga Raja. 3 parts of triphala, the same quantity of trikatu, 1 part each of roots of chitraka and biranga, 5 parts each of shilajatu, silver, copper pirates, and iron, and 8 parts of sugar, all finely powdered, are to be mixed together and smeared with honey. Dose 1 tola a day. Kulatha, kakamachi, kapota, and other articles having K at the beginning of their name should be avoided at the time of taking this medicine. It is a curer of pandu, poison, cough, consumption, crony fever, and other diseases. It retards senile decay. Nabayasa churnam. 1 part each of shunthi, pipali, maricha, haritaki, amalaki, bibitaki, musta, biranga, and roots of chitraka is to be mixed with 9 parts of incinerated iron. This medicine cures anemia, heart disease, leprosy, piles, and jaundice, if taken with honey and clarified butter. Nisha Loham. 1 part each of haridra, daru haridra, haritaki, amalaki, bibitaki, and katuki is to be mixed with 6 parts of iron. This medicine cures anemia and jaundice if taken with honey and clarified butter. Trika Trayadi Loham. 1 pala each of mandura and sugar, and 1 tola each of kanta iron, shunthi, pipali, maricha, haritaki, amalaki, bibitaki, roots of chitraka, musta, and biranga, are to be rubbed together in a pot made of iron or earth with 1 pala each of clarified butter made of cow's milk and honey, and exposed to the rays of the sun in daytime and to open air at night. This medicine is to be taken at 3 different times, viz. At the beginning, middle, and close of a meal. This medicine cures jaundice, anemia, halimaka, acidity, shulam, cough, spleen, asthma, fever, epilepsy, insanity, gulma, indigestion, etc. Sapati Loham. Equal quantities of amalaki, iron, trikatu, turmeric, honey, clarified butter, and sugar are to be mixed together. This medicine cures jaundice and halimaka. Birangadi Loham. 1 part each of biranga, triphala, and trikatu, and 3 parts of iron are to be mixed together. This medicine cures anemia, jaundice and swelling due to anemia, if taken with old molasses for 7 days only. Astadashangaloham, 1 part each of kirata, tikta, devadaru, daru baridra, musta, guruchi, katuki, leaves of patola, duralabha, parpata, bark of nimba, trikatu, roots of chitraka, triphala, and baranga, and 14 parts of iron are to be rubbed together with honey and clarified butter and made into pills to be taken with buttermilk. This medicine cures pandu, halimaka, swelling due to anemia, prameha, grahani, asthma, cough, ractopidum, piles, rheumatism, boils, gulma, leukoderma, and leprosy. Darbia dilalam, 1 part each of daraharidra, triphala, trikatu, and biranga, and 4 parts of iron are to be mixed together. This medicine cures pandu and kamala, if taken with honey and clarified butter. Bajra manduram, 2 tolas each of panchakola, maricha, devadaru, triphala, biranga, and musta, and 24 tolas of manduram are to be boiled in 288 tolas of cow's urine, till the whole thing turns semi-solid. Dose 1 tola a day to be taken with buttermilk. Diet: buttermilk. This medicine cures anemia, indigestion, aversion to food, piles, grahani, indara, urostamba, worms, spleen and diseases affecting the throat. Punarnava di manduram, 1 part each of powdered punarnava, tribrit, shunthi, pipali, maricha, biranga, devadaru, chitaka, puskara, triphala, haridra, daru, haridra, danti, chavya, seeds of kutaja, katuki, roots of pipali, and musta, and 36 parts of incinerated manduram are to be boiled together with 432 parts of cow's urine till the whole thing turns semi-solid. The product is then to be kept in an earthen pot, the inner surface of which is besmeared with clarified butter. Medicine cares pandu, swelling due to it, udararoga, anaha, shulam, arshas, worms and gulma. Panchamrita, luuha, manduram. 11 parts of incinerated manduram are to be boiled with 44 parts of cow's anrine and 88 parts of the decoction of punarnava, till the liquid portion is much dried up. 1 part each of the following is then to be mixed with the product, and the heat is to be continued mildly till the whole thing turns semi-solid. Iron, copper, sulfur, mica, mercury, trikatu, triphala, musta, biranga, roots of chitraka, kiratat, tikta, deva, daru, haridra, daru, haridra, puskoa, mulam, jamani, jira, black, jira, shathi, danya, chavya, and iron. The product is then to be mixed with 4 tolas of honey, to be taken in the morning with the juice of kokilaksha. This medicine cures chronic grahani, swelling due to anemia, jaundice, indigestion, jirna fever, enlargement of spleen and liver, gulma, udararoga, kong, asthma and catarrh. It inereases beauty and nutrition. Triusana di manduram. 176 tolas of incinerated manduram is to be boiled with 8 times its weight of cow's urine till about 1/8 of the liquid is dried up. 8 tolas each of the following are then to be mixed with the product, and the heat to be continued mildly till the whole thing turns semi-solid. Trikatu, triphala, musta, biranga, chavya, chitraka, daru, haridra, guratwak, swarna makshika, roots of pipali, and devadaru. Dose: 1 tola a day to be taken with buttermilk. This medicine cures pandu, leprosy, etc. Bubana sundara rasa. 1 part of mercury, 8 parts of iron, and 5 parts each of sulfur, triphala. Exudation of kapok tree, mushali and essence of guruchi are to be mixed together, and subjected to bhavana with the decoction of triphala for 20 times in 10 days, and for 8 times each, with the juices of the roots of shigru and chitraka. Dose: 1/4 of a tola, to be taken with sugar and honey. This medicine cures swelling due to anemia, pandu, consumption and fever with diarrhea. Chandra Suryatmaka rasa. 4 tolas, each of mercury, sulfur, iron, and mica, 2 tolas each of incinerated conch shell, borax and cowrie shells, and 4 tolas of the seeds of gokshura are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana in a hot mortar with the juice or decoction of each of the following. Separately: patola leaves, parpata, parji, bidari, Shatapuspi, Guruchi Basaka, Danti, Kakamachi, Indra Baruni, Punarnava, Kasharaja, Shalincha and Dronapuspi. Pills are then to be made 1 rakti in weight each to be taken with goat's milk. 14 such pills are to be taken every day. This medicine cures halimaka, pandu, kamala, jirna and bisama fever, raktapita, etc. Pranatoshana rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, iron, copper, cowrie shells, copper, sulfate, hingu, triphala, roots of snuhi, javakshara, croton seeds, borax and tribrit are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana with goat's milk. Pills are then to be made, 4 raktis in weight each to be taken with water and honey. This medicine cures kamala, pandu, shlipada, etc. Shabasana rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, copper, mica, gogulu and seeds of croton are to be rubbed together with clarified butter and made into pills, 3 raktis in weight each. This medicine cures pandu and swelling due to pandu sudana rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, copper, croton seeds and gogulu are to be rubbed together with clarified butter and made into pills, 1 rakti in weight each. Drinking of cold water and sours are to be specially avoided at the time of taking this medicine. Pandu Pancha Nanarasa, 54 tolas of incinerated manduram, are to be boiled with 8 times its weight of cow's urine and reduced to about half its quantity, when the following are to be mixed with it. And the heat continued mildly till the whole thing turned semi-solid. 4 tolas, each of iron, mica and copper, and 1 tola, each, of trikatu, triphala, danti, chavya, black jira, roots of chitraka haridra, dara haridra, roots of tribrit, tuber of mana, seeds of kutaja, katuki, devadaru, bacha and musta. This medicine is to be taken in the morning with hot water. It cures halimaka, pandu, etc. Anandodaya rasa. 1 part each of mercury, sulfur, iron, mica and aconite, 8 parts of marisha and 4 parts of borax are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana for 7 times each, with the juices of bringaraja and sour pomegranates. Dose, 2 ractus a day, to be taken in the afternoon with a piece of betel leaf. This medicine aversion to food, etc. cures pandu grahani.
Kalabidanshana rasa.
1 part each of purified mercury, gold, silver and copper are to be rubbed together for 1 day, with juice of big lime fruits. The lump, thus prepared, is then to be mixed again with 4 parts of purified mercury and rubbed with the same juice, the whole thing being made into a sort of paste, which is to be put inside a datura fruit and boiled for 3 days by means of dola jantram, filled up with the juice of datura leaves. Fresh juice of these leaves is to be poured again and again into the jantram as soon as the juice in it is sufficiently reduced by heating. The lump is then to be taken out of the dola jantram, wrapped up in a piece of cloth, and put into an istaka jantram. Purified sulfur, equal in weight to the lump, is to be rubbed with lime juice and made into a paste, with which is to be coated the whole of the surface of the lump, which is now to be heated qi lagupatam. Purified sulfur, 6 times in weight, in aggregate of the lamp, is to be consumed by heating in the above way. The lump is then to be powdered and rubbed for 1 day with an equal quantity of incinerated iron. The compound is then to be rubbed for 1 day with the janice or decoction of kantakari and made into a lump, which is to be dried and subjected to heat by means of cow dung cakes by kapota putam. The product is again to be rubbed and subjected to bhavana for 3 times with the same juice or decoction. For 2 times each, with the juice or decoction of roots of chitakra, arka and karanja, it is then to be subjected to heat by kapota putam. The product is then to be taken out, powdered and mixed with 1/10 its quantity of aconite. Dose 1 rakti a day. A little of haritaki, pestled with cow's urine, is to be drunk after taking this medicine. This medicine cures anemia. Deva de deva rasa. 2½ tola cash of mercury and sulfur are to be rubbed together and made into a kajali or black powder, with which is to be rubbed 1 tola, each of kanta iron, gold, copper, silver and mica, all very finely powdered. All these are then to be rubbed together with 10 tolas of copper pyrites. In a crucible put 8 tolas of powdered haritala, upon which is to be put the powder mentioned above. Upon this powder put 8 tolas of realgar. The crucible is then to be duly closed, dried and heated at night by gajaputam. When cooled by itself by radiation of heat, the product is to be taken out and powdered. It is then to be weighed. These 35 tolas of the product is to be mixed with 35 tolas of kajali, or black powder formed out of 7 tolas of mercury and 28 tolas of sulfur and rubbed together with the juice of matulunga, and heated by krora putam. Such an act of rubbing with the juice of matulunga and heating by kapota putam is to be performed for 10 times. The product is then to be powdered, mixed with a powder, formed by rubbing together 7 tolas of mercury and 28 tolas of orpiment, and rubbed together with the juice of matul. Unga. It is then to be put inside a putam dried and heated by kapota putam. This act of rubbing with matulunga juice and then heating by kakapota putam is to be performed for 10 times. The product is then to be powdered and mixed with 1/16 its weight of incinerated vikranta. This medicine is equal in its properties to the maharasas. It is the best of all ordinary iatro-chemical preparations. It cures all sorts of anemia, if taken with haritaki, shurana, shunthi and clarified butter. Moreover, it cures phthisis, udarogas, jaundice, paralysis and other diseases due to an abnormal excess of vayu, constipation, leprosy, grahani, fever with diarrhea, asthma, cough, aversion to food, piles, slowness of the digesting heat, spermatoria, gulma, etc. Bilva fruit is not to be taken at the time of taking this medicine. If a man, having no disease, takes this medicine, he need not observe any restrictions about diet, but a diseased man should observe the restrictions peculiar to his disease. Arogya sagar arasa. 1 pala each of sulfur and mercury is to be rubbed together to form a kajali or black powder, with which are to be rubbed together 2 palas of copper pyrites, 1 pala of orpiment, 1 pala of realgar, 1 pala of mica, and 1 karsha of borax. The compound thus formed is to be put inside a crucible which is to be turned upside down upon a thin piece of pure copper foil, 3 tolas in weight. By means of this copper foil the crucible is to be covered on all sides, the mouth of the crucible being kept inwards. The crucible, thus covered, is to be coated on all sides with mud and rags. It is then to be dried and heated by Gajaputam. When cooled, the crucible is to be freed from burnt mud and rage, when it will be found in the state of a lump. It is then to be powdered very finely and mixed with an equal quantity of a powder comprising equal quantities of sulfur, orpiment, and realgar. The compound is then to be heated by Krura, Putam for 10 times. The product is then to be rubbed with 1/20th its weight of incinerated garnet and duly sifted by means of a piece of cloth. The medicine thus prepared is to be kept in a silver pot. It is to be taken in doses of 2 ractus each, with a little of powdered maricha and clarified butter. This medicine cures anemia, aversion to food, diseases affecting the rectum, an abnormal excess of vayu, pitam, and kapha, gulma, flatulence, swelling, asthma, head diseases, vomiting, slowness of the digesting heat, malignant uda barta, strange fevers, etc. Pandu shosana rasa. Equal quantities of copper, incinerated mercury, sulfur, and aconite are to be rubbed together with a decoction of roots of chitraka and heated by a mild heat for 45 minutes. This medicine cures swelling due to anemia and anemia itself, however malignant. Dose 2 ractus each. Pitta pandu nashana rasa. 4 parts of incinerated mercury, 2 parts of iron, and 1 part, each, of roots of chitraka, musta, biranga, trikatu, triphala, and bark of kutaja are to be rubbed together with honey and made into pills. This medicine cures anemia due to an abnormal excess of pitam, Brahmanda Sundara rasa and Sunetra rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, iron, mica, essence of guruchi, sukari, triphala, and roots of shigru are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana with the juice of bringaraja. This medicine is to be taken with a little of clarified butter, honey, and sugar. It cures anemia and consumption. Diet, as at the time of taking mriganka rasa. If this medicine is mixed with a little of clarified butter, honey, molasses, soup of the meat of titiri bird, and gugulu, it is called Sunetra rasa. It cures consumption. Bharadwaja rasa. 3 palas, each of haritaki and roots of chitraka, wotolas, each of ela, gurutak, tejapatra, musta, and renuka, 1 tola of nagakeshara, and 1 pala each of trikatu, roots of pipali, aconite, marinri, abud sulfur, all finely powdered and mixed together, are to be thrown into half a tula of boiled old molasses contained in an iron cauldron put upon mild fire, so that the whole thing turns soft solid as soon as the powder mentioned above is mixed with the molasses. When cooled, pills are to be made, half a tola in weight, each, by means of the palms of the hands smeared with clarified butter. 1 of such pills is to be taken every night for the cure of anemia and swelling due to it. A little of borax, mixed with the juice of meghanada, is also to be taken for the pacification of poison. Jayapala rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, copper, croton seeds, and gugulu are to be rubbed together with clarified butter and made into pills to be taken once a day. This medicine cures anemia and swelling due to it. Sindura busana rasa. 1 pala each of purified mercury and sindurum are to be rubbed together for 3 hours with the juice of basaka and made into a lump. A strong crucible is to be made, flat-shaped and half a cubit in circumference, in which is to be put, first of all, 4 palas in weight of sulfur. The lump referred to above is then to be put into the crucible, and heat applied by lagu putam. After the consumption of sulfur, by this process the lump is to be taken out and powdered. Mix with it iron, 10 times in weight of this powder. Rub the whole thing with the juice of garlics and make pills 3 ractus in weight each to be taken with honey. Roots of apamarga and aranda, half a tola each, are to be pestled together with buttermilk and drunk after taking this medicine. It cures jaundice and anemia, due to an excess of vaya. Kamalari rasa. Equal quantities of steel, copper, pyrites, kanta iron, mica, copper, mercury, and orpiment are to be rubbed together with the juice of davat dali, and subjected to heat by the 3rd kind of baluka jantram. The product is then to be mixed with 1/4 its weight of each of the following: guruchi, tuber of kamuda, tuber of kalhara, and grapes. These are then to be rubbed together with the decoction of justimadu. Taken in adequate doses with a little of honey and sugar, this medicine cures jaundice. Trijoni rasa. 4 parts of very fine copper foil are to be smeared with a paste made of 1 part of incinerated mercury pestled with lime juice. This amalgam is then to be dried by the rays of the sun. Confine this amalgam in a crucible with sulfur put below and upon it, and dried hilamochica put on all sides of the amalgam. The crucible is then to be closed by means of mud, and then heated by putam for 6 hours. Dose, 1 rakti, to be taken with haritaki and molasses. This medicine cures anemia with swelling.
Undergadikare. Masta. Mastamatse gade trafularia tataram. Cherna sihiara jis siet samakshaka parnagadapaham paramhi, mastariluam.
1 part of musta, 2 parts of guruchi, 3 parts of roots of chitraka, 4 parts of jastimadu, 5 parts of pipali, 6 parts of biranga, 7 parts of shunti, 8 parts of triphala, with 36 parts of incinerated iron are to be mixed together. To be taken with honey. This medicine cures anemia, Kameshwara Rasa, 1 pala each of mercury and sulfur, 3 palas each of Sahundu and Haritaki, 1½ pala each of Musta, Ila, and Tejapatra, 1 pala each of Trikatu, roots of Pipali and aconite, 1 tola of Nagakeshara, and half a pala of Renuka, are to be boiled together with half a tula of old molasses. The product is then to be rubbed for 3 hours with the juice of kanya and clarified butter. Dose 6 raktis each to be taken at night. This medicine cures anemia with swelling. Kansyati rusu, equal quantities of incinerated mercury, bell metal, purified realgar, incinerated steel and copper are to be mixed together. This medicine cures halimaka. Deeds and diet salutary in anemia. Vomiting, purgation, barley, wheat and shali rice of more than 1 year's standing, soup of mudga, araki and masura grams, soup of meat of animals called jangala patola, ripe kusmanda, green banana fruit, such pot herbs as jivanti, gokshura, hilamochika, guruchi, tandalia, punarnava, drona puspi, bartaku, garlics, onions, ripe mango, haritaki, bimbi, shringi fish, cow's urine, amalaki, buttermilk, clarified butter, sesamum oil, sabira, tuzambu, butter white, sandalwood, turmeric, nagakeshara, javakshara, incinerated iron, astringents and saffron. Deeds and articles of food stuff injurious in anemia. Letting out of blood, smoking, suppression of vomiting, fomentation, sexual intercourse, beans, pot herbs, hingu, mazagrams, drinking of water in excess, paste or cake of sesamum and mustard seeds, wine, eating of earth, sleeping in daytime, articles of food stuff acrid and saline in taste, drinking of water of rivers issuing out of the Saya and Vindhya ranges, sours of all sorts, impure water, food incongenial by combination, food considered heavy and beta high. Aroshaka. Its causes and indications. This disease is due to an abnormal excess of vayu, pittam, kapha, combination of these 3, grief, fear, greed, anger, disagreeable food, spectacle and odor. Aroshaka, due to vaya, is indicated by tickling sensation in the teeth, and astringent taste in the mouth. The due to pittam is indicated by pungent, sour, warm, insipid, and stinking taste. That due to kapha is indicated by saline and sweet taste, slippery tongue, heaviness and coldness of the limbs and constipation. Arochaka due to the combination of the 3 doses is followed by 1 or more of the symptoms mentioned above. Arochaka due to grief and the other causes is accompanied with aversion to food only and not any unnatural taste. Arochaka due to vayu may also give rise to pain in the heart. That due to pittam may give rise to thirst and sensation of heat and dryness. That due to kapha may give rise to expectoration, catarrh and other diseases. Arochaka due to the combination of the 3 doses may give rise to distraction, bewilderment and dullness of the mind. Treatment of aversion to food. Simple remedies. In aversions due to vayu, pittam, kapha, and agitation of the mind, the following are to be resorted to, respectively: purgation by douche, purgation by laxatives, vomiting, and such actions as tend to please and cheer the mind. A little of ginger and rock salt may be taken every day just before taking the morning meal. This removes aversion to food, increases appetite and cleanses the throat and the tongue. Powdered bira salt, mixed with honey and juice of pomegranate, kept in the mouth for some time every day, removes aversion to food, however malignant. Iatro-chemical remedies. Sulochana Brahm, 1 pala of bajra abra finely incinerated, and 10 palas, each, of tejabati, kola, ushira, pomegranates, amalaki, changeri, and juice of bijapura are to be rubbed together. This medicine cures aversion to food, and many other diseases. Nidhi Rasa. 1 part each of mercury and sulfur are to be rubbed together, made into a black powder, and then subjected to pavana for 1 day each, with the juices of the following: lime fruit, ginger, matulunga, and kernel of its fruit. When dried, the compound is to be mixed with an equal quantity of purified borax, 5 parts of lavanga, and 1/4 part of aconite. Dose, 6 radis a day to be taken with powdered shunthi or molasses. This medicine cures all sorts of aversion to food, shulam, rheumatism, cholera, and other diseases. Diet and deeds salutary in Arochaka. Application of douche, purgation, vomiting consistent with the strength of the patient, smoking of medicated herbs, keeping in the month such medicinal drugs as have the property of removing the disease, such as the one stated in page 241, cleansing the teeth by means of thin branches of trees bitter in taste, varied and healthy preparations of food and drinks, wheat, mugagram, red shali rice, sasti rice, meat of wild hog, goat, hare, deer, egg of fish, such fishes as chung, madurali, hilsa, prosthi, kalisha, and rohita karkaru, tender leaves of cane plant, tender, radish, egg fruits, shopanjana, banana, pomegranates, bavia fruits, patola, matalunga clarified, butter, milk, tender palm fruit, garlics, sharana, grapes, mango, lemon fruits, kanji, wine, rasala, curd, buttermilk, ginger, kakola, dates, piela fruits, tinduka, ripe kapitha fruits, vomiting, badara, bikankata, kernel of the stone of a ripe palm fruit after it puts forth its sprout, camphor, sugar, haritaki, jamani, black pepper, hinga, sweets, sours, bitters, and rubbing the body. Articles of food stuff and actions injurious in Arashaka, suppression of calls of nature in respect of cough, yawning, hunger, and tears, food not palatable, letting out of blood, anger, greed, fear, grief, bad odor, and unpleasant sight. Vomiting. Vomiting is due to 5 different causes, viz. Vayu, pittam, kapha, a combination of the 3, and abominable sight, odor, and taste. This is generally the outcome of some of the following: drinking in excess of liquids, taking in excess of food mixed or prepared with fat or oil, or unpalatable, or mixed with much of salt, taking meals at irregular hours, food taken in excess, food not accustomed to, physical and mental exertion, fear, anxiety, indigestion, worms, conception in the case of women, taking of food hastily, and abominable sight, food, and odor. The following are the symptoms preceding vomiting: nausea, stoppage of belching, saline water coming out of the mouth, and aversion to food and drinks. Treatment of vomiting. Simple remedies: 4 tolas, each, of amalaki, grapes, sugar, and honey, and 16 tolas of water, pestled together and sifted through a piece of cloth, is to be drunk for stopping vomiting. Stems of guruchi are to be cut into pieces, pestled a little, and immersed in cold water for several hours. This water, drunk with a little of honey, pacifies vomiting, even of a troublesome nature. Dried bark of ashwatha tree is to be burnt and immersed in water while still burning. Drinking of this water stops vomiting of a serious nature. Vomiting is put a stop to by drinking the real juice of kapitha, mixed with pipali, maricha, and honey. Jastimadu and red sandal are to be pestled with milk. Drinking of this liquid puts a stop to vomiting of blood. Iatro-chemical remedias. Incinerated intercury. Vomiting is stopped by incinerated mercury mixed with jira, dhanya, haritaki, honey, altrikatu, bamanamrita rasa. Equal quantities of sulfur, seeds of lotus flower, jastimadu, shilajatu, rudraksha, borax, horn of deer reduced to ashes, white sandal, arrowroot, and gorochana are to be rubbed together for 3 hours with a decoction of the roots of bilva. Pills are then to be made, 3 raktis in weight each, taken with suitable anupanam. This medicine cures vomiting. Brishadwaja rasa. 1 part each of mercury, sulfur, iron, jastimadu, sandalwood, amalaki, small ela, lavanga, tangana, pipali, and jatamansi are to be mixed together and subjected to bhavana for 7 days, each, with the juices of bidari and ikshu. The compound is then to be rubbed for 3 hours with goat's milk. Dose, 2 raktis each, to be taken with the juice of the tuber of bidari. This medicine cures vomiting due to an excess of vaya or pittam or both, and even vomiting of blood. Shardihara rasa. Equal quantities of iron, incinerated with sulfur, orpiment, and copper pyrites, mixed together and reduced to ashes, cure thirst and vomiting. Diet and deeds salutary in vomiting: purgation, vomiting, fasting, bath, rubbing the body, paste prepared from fried patty devoid of husk, shastika rice, shali rice, mugga grams, kalayograms, wheat, barley, and honeyol, these of more than 1 year, but not more than 3 years standing, except honey, which should be as old as possible. Soup of the meat of the following: hare, peacock, titiri, laba, beasts and birds called jangala, syrups, fruit juice, and other drinks of agreeable taste, smell, and appearance. Sharabaraga, kara juice, kambalika juice, wine, tender leaves of the cane plant, dhanya, cocoa nut, ripe lemon fruit, amalaki, ripe mangoes, ripe kola fruits, ripe grapes, ripe kapitha, haritaki, pomegranates, citrus, jatifala, balaka, nimba, basaka, sugar, shatapuspa, nagakashara, and other articles of foodstuff. Healthy and pleasing, washing the face of the patient with cold water and smearing his face with musk and sandal after he takes his food. Enjoying the rays of the moon, smearing the body with sweet scents, pastes or unguents, inhaling sweet-smelling flowers, being treated with sights, sounds, tastes, smells, and touches pleasing to the mind. Diet and deeds injurious in vomiting: taking of snuffs, application of douche, fomentation, drinking of clarified butter and other fatty substances, taking out of blood, cleansing the teeth by brushes made of wood sticks, new rice, unpleasant sight, fear, anxiety. Food of the following description: hot, fatty, unaccustomed, disagreeable, and incongenial by combination: beans, bimbi.f roots, koshataki, maduka frates, indrabaruni, ella, inisturd seeds, devadali, physical exercise, mushrooms, and application of collyrium in the eyes. Thirst. An abnormal excess of pittam, combined with an abnormal excess of vayu, caused by such agencies as fear, physical exertion, and loss of strength, accumulate in the upper part of the body and affect the palate, and thus gives rise to an intense thirst. The fluid carrying passages in the system, polluted by the 3 dashes, may also give rise to thirst. Treatment of thirst. Simple remedies: decoction of the leaves or bark or kernel of stones of mango and jambu fruits mixed with honey puts a stop to vomiting and thirst. Decoction of dhanya mixed with sugar and drunk in the morning cures thirst. Kernel of matalunga mixed with honey and juice of pomegranates, kept in the mouth for gargling, cures thirst. A little of honey, as much as is contained in the hollow of the palm, is to be kept in the mouth for pacification of thirst and heating sensation. Iatro-chemical remedies. Mina, Diraja, Rasa. 1 part of mercury, 2 parts of sulfur, 3 parts of camphor, 4 parts of shilajatu, 5 parts of ushira, 6 parts of maricha and 7 parts of sugar are to be rubbed together and made into pills, 3 raktis in weight each, to be taken with a few drops of clarified butter. Cold water procured on the day before is to be drunk after taking this medicine. Thirst. Mahasagara rasa. Equal quantities of copper, tin, mercury and copper sulfate are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana with the juice of the hanging shoots of banyan tree. Dose, 3 raktis each. 4 tolas of the decoction of the barks of mango and jambu, mixed with a few drops of honey, are to be drunk after taking this medicine. A little of powdered pipali mixed with honey is also to be licked after lying down upon a cool bed. This medicine cures thirst. Kumudeshwara rasa. 2 parts of copper and 1 part of tin are to be rubbed together and subjected to bhavana with the decoction of justimadu. This medicine cures vomiting and thirst if taken in doses of 3 raktis each, with the accompaniment given below. 1/5 tola each of white sandal, shariba, musta, small ela, nagakashara, and 1 tola of fried patty devoid of husks are to be boiled as usual, with 32 tolas of water, which is to be reduced thus to 16 tolas. This decoction is to be cooled and mixed with a little of sugar and honey. Diet and deeds salutary in thirst. Suitable medicines, baths, sleeping, suitable drugs for gargling and wetting the mouth, burning the 2 nerves in the lower part of the tongue by means of a piece of turmeric, burnt by the wicker of a small lamp lighted with vegetable oil. Kodrava and shali rice, paya, bilepi, fried patty divested of husks, and then reduced to powder, paste prepared from boiled rice, game fowl, sugar, raga sharaba, soup of fried mugga. Medas, masura or chanaka grams, banana flour, powdered sesamum prepared with sugar or molasses, grapes, leaves of parpata, kapitha, kola, tamarind, kusmanda, upadika, dates, pomegranates, amalaki, karkati, lemon fruit, lime fruit, karamarta, matulunga, cow's milk, flour of matuka, balaka, bitters, sweets, water contained in a tender palm fruit, cold water, coconut water, sugar or molasses dissolved with water, honey, cold water of tanks, shatapuspi, nagakeshara, ela, jatifala, haritaki, danya, borax, camphor, sandal paste dissolved with water, moon's rays, cold air, embrace with dear wife smeared with sandal paste, wearing of gems and ornaments, and cold unguents. Diet and deeds injurious in thirst, drinking or eating of fatty articles, application of collyrium in the eyes, fomentation, smoking, physical exercise, use of snuff, exposure to sun's rays, cleansing the teeth with sticks, heavy food, sours, saline food, astringents, pungents, sexual intercourse, impure water, and food acrid in taste. Medas, its causes and symptoms, insufficiency of physical exertion, sleeping in daytime, and taking of food increasing phlegm are causes which increase sweetness in the rasa or chyle, making it generate more fat than is actually required for the proper maintenance of the body. Fat thus accumulates in the system, and the fluid-carrying passages having been blocked by fat, the other datas stand a very little chance of being developed. A fatty man thus becomes inactive. The following are the symptoms of obesity: shortness of breath, thirst, bewilderment, sleepiness, difficulty in breathing, weariness, hunger, perspiration, bad odor coming out of the body, loss of strength, and loss of power of sexual intercourse. The belly and the bones are the natural seat of fat, which therefore accumulates in those places. The proper passages for the movement of wind in the stomach having been blocked by fat, the confined wind increases the digesting heat and consumes food very quickly. A fatty man, therefore, hankers after food more quickly and oftener than a man in a normal state of health. In case he does not take food at the time he craves for it, he is attacked by several ailments. Treatment of obesity. Simple remedies. Obesity is cured by physical exercise, disturbing thoughts, sexual intercourse, walking by foot, drinking of honey, avoidance of sleep as much as possible, taking of barley and shama rice. Obesity is cured by drinking, in the morning, honey mixed with water and paste of boiled rice while it is still hot. Obesity is cured, and digesting heat is increased by the drinking of fried and powdered barley dissolved with the watery portion of curd, and mixed with the following: shave, jira, trikatu, hingu, saltpeter and root of chitraka. An excess of kapha, fat and vaya is pacified in 6 months by taking triphala, trikatu, oil and salt. Obesity is cured by taking paya prepared with pestled leaves of badari and kanji, or by drinking shilajatu, dissolved with the decoction of agnimantha. Orpiment, pestled with cow's urine and applied on the place affected, cures leprosy. It cures bad odor coming out of the armpit and other parts of the body, if pestled with milk and applied on the places concerned. It serves as a charm for attraction of other people, if applied on the forehead after having been rubbed with milk, haridra. And daru, haridra. Bad odor coming out of the body is removed by smearing the affected parts with the juice of the leaves of tamarind and rubbing those parts with turmeric, burnt by putam. Skin disease and perspiration are cured by rubbing the affected parts with the powder of or paste prepared from the following: bark of shirisha, lamajaka, nagakishara, and lodra. Bad odor coming out of the body is cured by the application of the paste prepared from tejapatra, balaka, agaru, haritaki, and chandana. Bad odor coming out of the body is cured by the application of the paste prepared from the juice of leaves of basaka or bilva, mixed with powdered conch shell. Iatro-chemical treatment for obesity: amoga dialoham, 1 part each of biranga, triphala, musta pipali, shunthi, bilva, red sandal, balaka, patha, ushira, and bala, and 11 parts of iron are to be rubbed together with water and a little of clarified butter, and made into pills, 6 ractus in weight each, to be taken with half a tola of water. This sorts of obesity, diabetes, and many other diseases. It increases appetite, beauty, and longevity. Medicine cures all. Jatayulanham, 40 tolas each of gugulu, talamuli, triphala, kadira, basaka, tribrit, mundiri, snuhi, nirgundi, roots of chitraka, and shati are to be boiled with 5 adakas of water, which is to be reduced by boiling to 320 tolas. This decoction is to be mixed with 12 palas of steel, 1 prasta of old clarified butter, and 8 palas of sugar, and boiled together in a copper pot till the whole thing turns semps isolid. It is then to be cooled and mixed with 32 tolas of honey, 8 tolas of shilajatu, 2 tolas of the skin of ella, 12 tolas of biranga, and 2 tolas, each, of maricha, anjanam, pipali, triphala, and kasisa, all finely powdered and rubbed together. The compound thus prepared is to be kept in a pot, the inner surface of which has been smeared with clarified butter. Dose: 1 tola a day. Milk or soup of meat juice is to be drunk after taking this medicine. This medicine cures an abnormal excess of vayu and kapha, leprosy, fever, jaundice, anemia, swelling due to anemia, fistula, epilepsy, bewilderment, insanity due to poison, all sorts of artificial poison, and especially obesity and fat in the belly. It is a tonic and aphrodisiac. The following are not to be taken at the time of taking this medicine: banana, tubers, kanji, karamarta, karira, carabella, and other articles named with K at the beginning. Bijaya dialoham, 1 part each of banga, trikatu, chavya, roots of chitraka, rock salt, and sovarchala, and 6 parts of iron are to be mixed together. Dose: 6 to 12 ractus a day, to be taken with honey and clarified butter. This medicine cures spermatoria, leprosy, obesity, etc. Orbanala are. Equal quantities of incinerated mercury, orpiment, iron, and copper are to be rubbed together with the juice of arka plant and taken in doses of 3 ractus, each, with honey, or with honey and clarified butter if there is an excess of phlegm. This medicine cures swelling, shulam, and obesity, or bagni rasa. Equal quantities of mercury, sulfur, copper, and orpiment are to be rubbed together with the milk of arka for 1 day. Dose: 3 ractus each, to be taken with honey. This medicine cures obesity. Krishna lauham. Equal quantities of incinerated black iron, biranga, shunthi, and javakshara are to be rubbed together and mixed with a meal containing powdered barley and amalaki. This cures obesity. Agni bila suraza. 2 tolas, each of mercury and sulfur are to be rubbed together for 1 day to form a fine black powder. This is then to be rubbed gradually with 8 tolas of the juice of the leaves of hansapati, and made into a lump. This is to be dried and put into a glass bottle with 1 tola of powdered aconite put below and upon the lump. A tube made of thin copper foil is to be fitted to the mouth of the bottle in such a way as a portion of the tube approaches the inner neck of the bottle. The outer surface of the bottle is then to be coated with rags mixed with mud, the total thickness of the coating being 1½ inch. When dried, the glass bottle is to be turned upside down in a baluka jantram, which is to be duly filled with sands. The mouth of the vessel containing sands is then to be closed as usual, and heated for 36 hours by fire, gradually increasing in intensity. When cooled, the medicine is to be taken out and powdered with the copper tube, 2 tolas of maricha, and half a tola of aconite. Dose: 1 rakti. This medicine cures all sorts of diseases, especially anaha, obesity, astila, grahani, consumption due to vayu and kapha, jaundice, asthma, cough, shulam, throat troubles, and fever. Dose: 1 rakti a day. The medicine is to be taken with a little of powdered pipali, sugar, and clarified butter, all these being kept in half the portion of a betel leaf. In case of a sensation of heat being felt by the patient, his head should be wetted with cold water, and the remaining parts of the body sponged with the same. Bath in cold water may also be taken, if considered necessary. His body is then to be smeared with paste prepared from sandal and camphor. He is also to be exposed to soft wind. Fresh curd, coconut water mixed with sugar, and other sweet and cold drinks are also beneficial to him. In case of troubles arising out of taking a rasa medicine wrongly prepared or taken in excess, tusambu is to be drunk, mixed with tankana, pestled roots of meganada, sugar, jastimadu, and sandal. In such cases the following may also be prescribed: smearing the whole body with the juice of kania, drinking of milk with honey and sugar, drinking of the decoction of guruchi and piala. If there is vomiting or thirst, ripe kapitha fruit mixed with sugar may be taken by the patient. Deeds and diets salutary in obesity. brooding, exertion, keeping late hours at night, sexual intercourse, rubbing the body with pestled turmeric or amalaki, fasting, exposure to the sun's rays, riding on horses and elephants, walking, purgation, vomiting, taking distasteful food, old rice of koto, shama, nibara, and kanguni, barley, kulatha, chanaka, masura, mudga, adaki, honey, fried patty divested of husks, pungents, bitters, astringents, buttermilk, liquor, chingada fish, roasted egg fruit, trifala, gugulu, kakamachi, trikadu, rubbing the body with mustard oil, ila, taking of everything rough and devoid of fatty substance, rubbing the body with oil extracted from sesamum seeds, pot herbs, smearing the skin with paste prepared from aguru, drinking of hot water, shilajatu, and drinking of water just before the commencement of taking meal. Deeds and articles of food, stuff injurious in obesity, taking bath, taking such medicines as are called rasayanam, shali rice, wheat, everything yielding comforts, food prepared from milk and juice of sugarcane, masha grams, nutritious food, drinking of clarified butter, marrow and fat of animals, fish, meat, sleeping in daytime, wearing of garlands, using of perfumed oil, etc., taking of sweets and drinking of water after completion of the whole meal. Vomiting is injurious to a highly fatty man. Thinness, its causes, an abnormal excess of vayu, food and drinks coarse and unmixed with clarified butter, etc. Fasting, insufficient meal, excessive use of purgatives, vomiting, etc. Grief, suppression of calls of nature and sleep, frequent illness, sexual intercourse in excess, physical exercise, regulated diet, fear, and brooding over loss of riches, etc. The following are the symptoms of a very thin man: dryness of the buttock, belly and shoulder, prominence of the nerves all over the body, dryness of skin and bones, swelling of the joints in the face,